your manicure, so you choose the true crime.
I want you to choose too.
I know that I'm gonna be so happy with anything that we choose.
Well, those are like really new. Okay,
So we're going through Crime Weekly for anybody that's joining. What were you gonna say, honey?
So we could do something where it's not well, but like there's one victim or there's like a massacre.
It doesn't sound bad at all. That's a part of the true crime.
I know.
We can definitely. So basically, do we want massacre or do we want single?
Especially if there's anything that you're comfortable with listening to.
No, I'm completely. I've heard some really out there cases. So there's the only thing that gets me is things with like babies because I lost my brother. So.
Okay. We'll avoid that.
So this beauty queen here with the gorgeous natural nails, we're gonna be doing a manicure for her.
Show the other hand too.
Look at this. These are gorgeous.
Thank you.
Absolutely beautiful. Okay, let me quickly.
Ooh, we could do a deep one that enrages us.
I was like, choose.
Haley Anthony.
Oh my gosh, that whole case got me. I followed that.
They go deep into it. It's eight videos. So they go over everything, and they're also both parents. So like
right. I am honestly, honey. Anything you want to choose, I am down.
That one I would definitely be like one of those ones where it's like, especially if you know it, you know it.
Oh, I've followed the case very much.
Okay. Here's part one.
You're probably gonna have to like turn it up because the fan. It's very hot in here, guys. So we're sorry if you hear the fan. Try to move this over. So let's see. Yeah, because I have to be able to get, so I'll move this over here.
Agatha Christie once said that a mother's love for her child is like nothing else in the world. It knows no law, no pity. Dares all things.
Oh, her voice is so beautiful. So if you feel any kind of pain or anything, you let me know instantly. Yes, especially heat spikes. We try not to linger anywhere for too long so that we don't have.
Children of the future, they deserve a fighting chance. 2-year-old Kaylee Ray Anthony had this chance stolen from her.
So I'm going to be flipping your hand around like this, like that. We're going to do all sorts of magic.
And it would take 6 months for the world to find out what had happened to her. Her skeletal remains were found inside a laundry bag, discarded in a wooded area. There was evidence that little Kaylee's mouth had been duct taped at the time of her death. And all eyes were on her young mother, Casey Anthony, who had failed to report the toddler missing for 30 days.
That's what got me. Which mother, right?
Oh, they get into it and the whole family dynamic to this.
Did you watch the documentary that just came out?
I don't even want to. I watched Stephanie's reaction.
Her narrative is crazy.
Yeah. So this is Stephanie Harlow, and I watched her reaction to that documentary and watched her rage at it and go through every little bit. It was good.
Sponsor of today's case, and that is Magellan TV. So if you're like us, you've probably gone through all of the true crime content on most or all of the streaming platforms that you have. Magellan TV is a documentary streaming service.
We'll learn each other's ways, and it'll get easier.
Oh, of course, as it continues. But it's like when you're trying to get into these sidewall areas, you can't exactly like go over here naturally without potentially hurting somebody. Hi, Dawn. How are you doing, honey? We are doing a little true crime and nails, so you guys are going to listen along with us. This is Stephanie Harlow, and is it Derek?
Yeah, Derek Sylvester.
Oh, I love Big Brother, so I definitely.
and there's just a bunch of new stuff
Breaking
every time.
Homicide
You
too,
hope
that
one
show.
will get.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, right now, it's not really a true crime recommendation, but I've been loving this series on Magellan. It's called Super Senses: Wild Feats of Evolution, and there's multiple episodes. It looks like
Did
there's
you have
so
like a
many
base
episodes,
code
which I
on
like.
here before?
There's 13.
Yes,
I'm
well,
about
that's what you're
halfway
breaking
through.
off.
They talk about
That's what I
how
thought. Don't worry, we're gonna be putting a new base coat and everything else, but if I do not rough this up, it's gonna all slide off.
So
Especially for these enhancements that we have to fix.
I've noticed also I have typically oily nails sometimes, and things don't stick properly.
And that's why I have a non-acid primer that we're gonna use and some other things to really help with the retention.
Featured genres like history, science, space, travel, and more. And it's really important to know that Magellan TV can be watched anytime, anywhere. You can watch it on
Magellan
your phone,
TV, I've never heard of that.
laptop,
Oh,
your Roku
documentaries.
smart TV, whatever you have.
And then we're just gonna
wherever you
flip
are,
ya?
enjoy Magellan TV.
You're gonna flip the screen off there.
$59.88. You'll only pay $4.99 a month with 3,500 hours worth of documentaries. It's honestly
Yeah, you truly got
really good
beautiful
deal. I think that
nails.
they can charge more. I think it's an
Makes my
excellent
job a
service.
lot
I've been
easier.
watching it for 2 years
So
now,
we're
and
gonna-
I've
sorry,
loved
honey.
it. Watch.
No worries.
I love it.
Yeah, Stephanie and I both really enjoyed Magellan TV.
So we're gonna be careful
It's
here
almost
because
the
I
beginning.
see we have
Right
your
now they have a special holiday
a
offer
little
just for
spot
you,
that's broken.
especially that you're
We'll repair that.
to support you because you guys support us. So if you buy an annual membership, you're going to get a free gift card for a second annual membership. Again, all you got to do is click the link in the description below. Buy one
I
membership.
love Derek's voice.
you
I
get a
know
free
him
gift card
right
for a
away.
second annual membership
His
that
new
you can
show
give
is
to a
really
loved
good
one this
too
holiday
on
season.
YouTube because
Birthday
it
Magellan
only
TV
covers
is sponsoring
missing
this
and
week's
murdered
episode.
people
Let's dive into
or
it.
Oh,
unsolved.
wow.
So today
It's
we
all
are covering
unsolved or
a
missing.
case that
I'm Dawn said, I'm doing okay. I just moved to Washington State from Florida. Oh, doing very well. We just did a big cross-country move ourselves, but wow, I hope your move went good.
for this case, right?
We have a very special wedding we're preparing for right now for our beautiful model here. So we are going to make her nail dreams come true, hopefully. Thank you, love. I was like doing the roll and making sure we got all the other baddies there.
Investigate the case in smaller segments. By no means is it like it's deep dive into the case itself, but you do have to do your research before you go on TV.
How's
so,
everything feeling for
I'm
you?
familiar with it, for
Great.
sure.
Well, hopefully
Good,
some
that
of the
makes me
details we
happy.
talk about over, the next.
I take my stuff as well that I learned in healthcare, like with my clients. I was known as the softest hands in the West.
Needed in this case.
Yeah.
But I know with this kind of stuff, because obviously I can't feel what you feel. Everyone has different sensitivities. So that's why I was saying if you feel a heat up or anything like that. It's also why I'm using a sanding band on your natural nails and not something like a carbide bit, because it would just,
Right through.
that part.
The show must go on.
We do not want any of that.
Deep dives on any and all cases here on Crime Weekly, but some cases they demand a deep dive to understand the people at the center and to attempt to understand the true motive for why any of this.
I love how I just went right into this, and I should be wearing a mask, but this isn't really too dusty, so we're okay.
Claim to be innocent.
Your next hand, honey buns?
Murder of Lacey Peterson and her unborn child was one of these cases.
Lacey Peterson's case drove me crazy
To get
too.
into the mind of Scott Peterson and to understand who he was and where he came from, that was very important for us. But, Scott never came clean or confessed what he had done. So we were left to wonder, what was his
I can tell no
what was
matter what
going
you do
on
to your
in
nails,
his head
you treat them
before,
very
during, and
well.
after. What actually went
I
down
can see
the day
that.
that Scott
Sorry,
Peterson
honey.
transformed from
Yeah.
a loving and attentive husband to a brutal killer? The death of 2-year-old Kaylee Anthony is another one of these
I just can't
cases.
wait. I'm
Her
waiting.
mother, Casey, was put on trial for
I work with a
murder.
company called
She was
Melody
found not
Susie,
guilty.
and
But
I'm waiting
we
for
all
them
know
to
that's
send
not
like
what
these
do.
small
That doesn't
sanding
mean
bands,
she's innocent.
and these will be like the most amazing things to get into the cuticle and everything.
Conversations I've had
But
about
it's
this case,
I don't have
very few
You can
people
stuff on
that I talk to
Amazon.
believe
Oh,
that she's
they're
innocent.
absolutely
Casey
lovely.
Anthony
We'll
never
do a
told us
flippy
what
flip.
happened to her daughter.
Yeah.
And so we're left with the pieces
Perfection.
of this puzzle together to try and figure out what actually happened. And because Casey is such a complicated
Yeah.
person, she's
You're doing
a complex
amazing.
liar, very much like Scott Peterson. We have to go back to the beginning and use
Pardon, honey?
I'm
history
getting a
and
hand of
all
it.
the evidence that we can muster in order to
It's
try and understand
especially
how
with nails, there's so many like
Yeah, in this
interesting.
case, I agree with
There
you.
we go.
Many people out there, many
Like,
experts believe
you have to flip this way, this way, this way. But you're going to see, especially with the gel, the structured manicure, we do have to flip your hand softly for a small period of time just for it and for it to level. So like that's really important, and we try not to put too much product on these sidewalls because like naturally the product is going to begin to flow down.
And that's
So-
always where it starts to chip and break off.
That's-
Critical areas like overfill.
Yep, and anytime you do that, there is certain things you can do to fix it before you continue. But like if you don't, that's when you're gonna have all that peeling and not fun stuff.
So she made these allegations during the trial.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And she also accused her brother.
I love that we can bond
of
over
molesting her.
our love of true crime and stuff as well. Like
Yeah.
it's actually really nice to be able to go through a case and have some girly time as well.
That some of the allegations made against her father and brother, I guess, could be true.
Good
It is
friendship
hard
and
to
have
believe.
similar
It
interests.
is, and we can also bond and like me being able to do this for you just like brings me joy as well. And thank you for trusting me.
Part of the reason I think
Thank you,
most
honey.
people believe that Casey was involved was because there was really nothing ever that came out that was
Usually I would like film, but because this could be over the course of a couple of hours, it's a lot of footage to go through. So I do like to do the lives as well, so people can also see all the steps. So maybe if they want to do something themselves, they can try because they know all of the steps and the things.
As far as I know, from the
Because
limited
honestly, this whole thing just started for me with the pandemic. And I couldn't, obviously none of us could go to the salon or do nails or anything like that. And I had like these horribly long enhancements that were like chipping and all of this stuff. So I was watching a few nail artists and they were talking about a company that did like polygel. So I thought, I could get this and try. And then it was a house on fire after that. I realized like, I love this. This isn't just a,
Said, don't tell anyone, and we're gonna take care of this.
oh,
separately."
it came
And
out
that
like
really-
big
that's-
time. And I
that's
was just like,
basically what-
okay.
what Casey said. Now, like you said,
And then
there's
we
no
have this
evidence.
wool now
There's nothing
of
to back that
polishes
up. That's
because
just
the
a
love.
claim. And it was used in court, I believe, to cast reason.
Rita! Oh my gosh, Rita just came in. She said the most beautiful natural nails. These are beautiful, Des. Are you kidding me? They're stunning. Do you see this natural curve here? You're getting all the hearts. They love your nails. Right, shucks. Thank you.
Dr. G got really, annoyed, and she said there's no evidence to prove that Kaylee died from an accident. I mean, there was duct tape on this child's mouth.
Yeah.
That was still there when her.
Now, why would there be
skeleton
duct tape?
was found. It still had her
That's
hair
a huge thing.
in the duct tape.
And a
So
sticker
it's just
on
a
the
very-
duct tape
it's a
that was
strange
found in the mom's
case.
room.
I think that you're right. There's no evidence to show.
Also,
that
who like gently just
George
chloroforms their
molested
child so that they
Casey
can
when she was
sleep?
a child. She
Churches of
claims
course.
this.
Who does
That
that?
doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Like,
And I think
Who
maybe
does
as
that?
we go through the background
It's
of this
not-
family,
not
you
normal.
might start to believe that it is more possible when we introduce you to George Anthony and Cindy Anthony and even Lee.
I think it's fair to say that you're more tapped into the true crime community. And is it correct to say that when you compare this case to Lacey Peterson, it's not as polarizing in the sense where there's
Still
not as
okay?
much of a dissension between communities as far as like she did it, she didn't do it. Where Scott
I am gonna
Peterson,
go back
there's
to that one in just a second just to make
will
sure.
show how he's innocent. Is that the case here,
Do
or
my
is it more
cuticles need done at all?
one-sided?
No, but I thought they would. But you, like, I don't understand. Like, do you clip your own cuticles?
I don't clip them, I just push them back.
I can tell. They're beautiful. And that's why, like, honestly, when they are this lovely, I don't like to do too much because they're also there for a reason.
Yeah.
So I don't, that's like your first way to get infection and other things. So no, these are absolutely
Read the
perfect.
text messages she was sending people and what her main concern was in those 30 days when her child was gone.
But like if you do enjoy this and you end up wanting another service, that's probably when I would have to push back your cuticles for sure. I'm also on a lower speed, just gently pushing back. So like this also helps just push back a tiny bit, but not something so hard because we don't want to have a chance of like cutting or going to, but there's this Susie the nail educator. She was the first one that talked about like using the sanding band to gently push back, but like you have to be very careful because you can cut. It's so sensitive there. Aren't her videos so satisfying?
And she's on the island too, and she does courses.
Stop.
It's something you should look into.
Really? Okay, I'm gonna have to definitely look into that. Okay, yeah, so we can have the
If you're
side
talking
then.
about Susie Career Nail Education, yep.
Sure.
She's on the island.
I did not know that.
Fixing issues.
I didn't think she was
And I
that
know
close.
she offers
As a
courses
result,
every once in a
Anthony's
while.
were secretive,
Oh, I don't
detached,
want that.
avoidant, and disingenuous. And these
Perfect.
are
Okay, could I have the other hand for
traits
just a
they share
second?
with members of Scott Peterson's family and Scott Peterson himself. The way the Anthonys would handle a problem would be to pretend it didn't exist, deny, lie, and justify, and then go on to act as if everything was okay and normal, even though it rarely was. As we go
Oh,
through this,
go ahead. I can mute.
so many
We just got a phone call in, so privacy is key. We just muted that, but we are back. And if the podcast is too loud and that's distracting anybody, just let me know, but we are enjoying this very much.
Parents had been very strict, but the parents also seemed to favor Cindy. They went a bit easier on her, so she would kind of get away with more, she would get yelled at less, etc. And because
So
of
see
this,
how that was like a
Cindy's
gentle
brothers,
push,
they
but we
were
just don't want to go
princess in
too
the
much
sense
over
that
here because that's when like burning
resentment
and
Yeah.
cutting can happen, and I definitely don't want any of that for you.
Just sanding off like the dead skin.
That part, because like the eponychium and the skin here that builds up, that also will affect lifting and all of those other things as well. So I am trying to get as flush without hurting you as possible, because once we go in with the gel, that's going to depend if we have lifting or anything like that. We don't want that.
I can't take care of these kids, and he put them in an orphanage.
The other side?
Alexander himself was not
Yeah,
adopted, and when
that's
he aged out
amazing.
of the system, he left high school and enlisted in the Navy. Even though
Because again,
Alexander
these are the
was
areas that if
house,
these
his
aren't
wife,
prepped,
Shirley,
then you're having that
Nancy,
pop, right? And that's, we
their
don't want
son,
any of
Cindy's
that.
older brother Rick said, quote, she would just tell him what to do and he would listen. He
Yeah,
was
this
quiet around
area
her
here is
because he was
very
a boy
snatched
who
and
controlled by
beautiful.
her. He could be talkative
sorry, honey.
and laugh one-on-one.
Okay,
When he
there
was
we
with my
go.
mother, he was almost silent, end quote. Now, Shirley had also been
So let me
abandoned
just
by
see
her
the broken
father, who left
ones.
his family for another
So that
woman
would be
when
this
Shirley
one
was about
here.
3.
So wait, let's just put that down. I don't want to possibly hit any of those. Yep.
She couldn't stay home with the kids, and the kids kind of, raised themselves. Shirley was also known to run a tight ship, and her children said she would verbally berate them if they showed up even a few minutes.
Yes. Clear out stuff on June 17th, 2019. My mom.
Okay, we're skipping that.
Right. Thank you. And then is there any other broken ones here? Yeah, perfect. Just, yeah, loosen that girl.
People she didn't like behind their backs. She would maliciously gossip about these people to her husband and children, and it left them all with the
We're also going to be
impression
comparing
that they
these,
felt
but I'm just trying to kind of prep
Shirley
them for
was
the
listening to them. One of Cindy's
extension.
brothers said, quote, "It gave us the idea that you
Okay,
were
and then is there
supposed
any
to
broken
fight
ones
for
on
her,
here?
or
No,
else
this
he
one
was in control."
is like
That's where my
fragile
sister
state,
Cindy
but
had
You were,
met.
yeah, but we're gonna
In
be
the
able
early
to.
days,
Okay,
Leslie and Emily
perfect.
had very little
Build on
money,
top
but when
of it.
Cindy was
Yeah.
about 4, her father had a better paying job, and
Okay,
her mother
so
began
I'm just gonna give a slight
working
bath.
at the hospital, so
Oh,
they were
yes,
able to
okay.
move to a better house
So
in a
can I just have
slightly
you flip?
nicer area.
Yeah.
When Cindy finished school, she began
What I'm
working
gonna
as a
do is once
registered
we put
nurse.
the base coat
That
and
was where she
everything,
met
it's
her
gonna
future
strengthen that
husband,
area, and then I
George
can give it a
Anthony, who was at the
proper.
hospital visiting his sister
I'll
who
take
was
this
sick,
hand.
and Cindy happened to be her nurse. At the time, he was
Oh,
still married to his
Cindy.
first wife, Terry Rosenberger. George and Terry had dated all throughout high school, and then when
Ew.
Terry got
Family
pregnant,
is
George
crazy.
proposed to her, and they got married in 1972. Sadly, this pregnancy ended in a miscarriage, and Terry claims that George filed for divorce secretly, a fact she didn't know until a friend called her because they had read about it in the court filings published in the local paper. Terry felt that George
So
had
these
been
are all
angry
single
because
use,
he
this
wanted
and
kids.
that.
He apparently wanted a lot of
Make
kids.
sure we
He
don't
wanted a house
mess
full of
around
kids.
with that
He
kind of
was
stuff.
known to
Yes.
really enjoy being
because that's where, like, I've actually seen at salons where they've repeatedly used standing bands and things that are single use. There's a reason why they give you a pack 100, right? It's not meant to be repeatedly used on clients, and that's also really dangerous. Like, polish is like, you know, alcohol based and everything else, so you don't have that same issue. But like even things with dip and stuff, you can't just be dipping people's hands and things like that. You should be taking out a section and pouring it. Like there's tons of things that they do that they really should not do.
Or they already separated?
No, they were together.
That's an interesting conversation over breakfast.
I mean,
As of reading the newspaper,
that's what I'm saying, man.
there's got to be more to that story.
Casey Anthony's, not that we know of, not that Maria said.
know of, but there's
Next
gotta
one,
be,
honey.
I give
right?
George Anthony so much credit, man. He's a creep, alright? George Anthony is a creep.
He was a cop, right? I mean, I
I
know
mean,
the
we're
range.
gonna talk about that.
Okay, I don't want to go there, but it's like, I mean, I'm not giving the guy credit.
That's another thing too, is that he was in law enforcement. So it's like that just adds so much.
He has to know he's gonna
And then the narrative, because like I did watch like the court, like as it was in like and the narrative that they were doing and everything else, and I was just like,
apple doesn't always fall
And the
far from
story's
tree,
changing.
you know?
The apple didn't even fall off the tree in this situation.
But
The
there's
apple stayed
definitely
on the tree and
parts
became its
where
clone. And remember, I
Casey is
said the
in
Anthony
prison
family
and
deals
her
with
parents
things
are
by
talking from the
avoiding,
phone and you
by
can tell
lying,
they don't
like
know.
confrontation,
Yes.
don't like
Where their
handle things
granddaughter
directly,
is.
yes.
and
No, I
everything's
do believe
I don't
that.
think they had a part in it, but I think they helped cover it up
Mhm.
after the fact.
Because now it's on your property and all this other stuff
It's
and
definitely, you know, kids do usually are a product of their environment, and it doesn't.
sorry,
appear
is this
just
sensitive?
from the initial
Okay.
impression. Yeah, you're right. The apple never
left it, never left
fell
it.
off the
Run
tree.
your
It
thumb.
just got absorbed into the trunk, became a clone.
Well, you know, Terry and George, they like patched things up for a little bit because she. You know,
So what we're
probably
gonna do is we're first gonna
out.
do
It's
the
like,
primer
well,
and then the
they
base coat,
made us stupid
and then I'm gonna
mistakes,
go
patch
in with an
things up.
actual
But,
form and try to build out those nails. If the form doesn't work exactly how we want, I also have a dual form that we can try. Are you getting loved on by Kovu?
I had a lick on the foot that kind of was like,
It scared you?
yeah.
If he wasn't
He loves
so
to
in the
keep.
mid-80s, when he was 22, George had been
Oh,
working as
boy.
a sheriff's deputy for the Turnbull County Sheriff's Department.
Okay,
And
let's
his
just
wife,
get a
Terry,
little
basically said, like, he loved the uniform.
alcohol in the
That's why he
chat
wanted
here.
to be a police officer.
The
And his
alcohol
source
that
close to
doesn't
George Anthony said,
affect
well, he was
lives.
interested in
ISO
law
rubbing
enforcement because of
alcohol.
wearing his uniform and driving around
shouldn't.
in his cruiser. It was like
I mean, nobody should be guzzling that. I mean, that
No.
could definitely affect some lives if you
Yes.
did that.
Do when you pass a psych, huh?
Oh my gosh.
This George
I'm also using, if anybody is interested, these are lint-free, which me and Des had a giggle about. These are lint-free wipes, and these are really amazing when you're doing nails so that you don't get anything in the sticky, tacky inhibition layer. Because you won't realize how many things actually have like a lint, like a fuzz that rolls off of it. And then you can't with nails. It's a hot mess express.
So it's
When you mentioned that, I thought you meant dryer sheets.
You're so cute. When you're like laundry, I was like, no, honey, but I get how you would think that. Perfect. Next. That was too cute.
Oh, there's more to it than that, you know? Like,
oh yeah,
yeah.
oh yeah. There's definitely more to it. But I would say, like, I mean, there are people still getting on today, not to make it about current events, but there are still individuals in
This is like my favorite hand right
that
here.
are able to
It's like,
slip through the cracks and get on, even though
it's singing
it's a lot harder than
songs.
it once was.
I think the
But
curves
you
on
have
that one are
individuals
better
like this
too.
who come in.
It's crazy how they're different, but that's how the customization part happens, right? So I'm like, if it's not perfect, we's okay. We'll go in and we'll shape the girl.
Drive around in a
So
cop
let me
car.
grab the,
Plus, well,
we
basically be
need
a
the
public
primer.
servant. But you know, you can't really, most of the time, figure
Here's
that
the
out
base
until they're already
coat.
on.
Yeah, we're not saying that in their interview.
Yeah,
Why do you want to be a cop? I love the
I
uniform,
also
guys.
have these
Like,
that
if
I wanted to
could
show
right
you.
away,
Like after I put the foil and stuff, there's these little like, and abalone and stuff has like these like shimmers.
Yes.
So the reason why I wanted to use black as the base and then build it up is because we have like purples and teals within
Yeah,
here,
I think
and then
you're
there's
right with that.
also these that build it. So like the blues and teals and stuff. So it's completely up to you, but I thought that these might be a fun addition.
I think
These are
that
the
would be
peacock gels. For anyone that's interested, they're very beautiful. But I just thought like if we kind of stack it up, and I also took out some, these are chromes that end up adding like a shimmer.
Okay.
like pearlescent as well. So there's like, we have a lot of options, so we can play around, and there's even these guys here that are like chromes powders. So there's tons of options that we have. So this is the base coat, and we need the non-acid primer.
Went on to say that George was secretive and detached. He either had a tough time connecting to other people. Or
Okay, so first of all, let me make sure these are on.
People,
About
and he never
60
let anyone get
seconds.
close or let anyone actually get to know him because, quote,
So we have
there
two
was
lamps
nothing
going
to
here.
know. At least there was nothing he would
One
let
is
you
the
know.
beautiful Madame Glam, and the other one is Kiara Sky. So we're going to be testing out the Madame Glam for heat spikes and things of that nature, because beautiful, when we are doing the structural, I am going to switch it over to the 90-second, which is like the low heat mode, so that we don't have any heat spikes or burning happening.
Similarities there. So I'm sure there's something to it. I'm sure there's.
We definitely don't want that for you.
Developed, experiments and kind of looked into the research.
So this is just an air dry,
between these types of individuals
and this
that
is just
involved
meant to
these
essentially
situations,
prime these nails.
how their previous environments with their families, contributed to their actions and their behavior. But again,
But we don't want it getting on your skin, so it's just meant for the
Listen,
nail.
Scott Peterson's family is exactly like this. Concerned with the outside appearances, didn't care that the foundation was crumbling from the inside as long as nobody outside saw it. And I do not understand people like this. I don't understand them. This is something I always try to be, unbiased, try to put myself in people's shoes. But I do
Because
not
what we're trying to do is create a bond, and like this is the original foundation, and that's why that buffing is so important. And I also like to use it like having the freedom of the e-file, because if I was to use like the buffer, I have a chance of tearing up your skin on the cuticle, because you really have to get deep in there. So the other ones I'll show you later, there's like a large buffer, and I love those because I know you do natural nail care. So I'll definitely show you that because it's beautiful.
when we later ask ourselves,
trying
has
to do
Anthony
natural
turned out the way
nail
she
care.
did?
Well, you are like with
No role
how
models.
gorgeous
To
these
answer
are.
that
We want to
question,
upkeep them.
Cindy knew very well.
But I'll be very like anxious to know how these enhancements go for you, how they feel if they re-break all of those things. I want you to be like painfully like honest, because different things are going to work for different people. But I do want to try to see what works with you.
Peterson's father's name too, wasn't it?
And who knows, if you enjoy this, maybe you'll want to come back.
100%.
It's almost like we're in some weird like Mandela
Carl was
effect
telling me,
universe. For a
because I
few
showed him
years,
inspiration
the Will
pictures,
family
he was
lived
like,
normal,
you need to
happy,
keep
middle
those
American
things
life,
away and
but
like
in
get covered up.
1985,
You don't want to
years
break
ago
them.
now,
Like, you know,
Right after all of that, you're like, you don't want to hurt them. After we work hard on these bad girls, that's why I love, like, I wanted to go the extra mile for you, and that's why I pulled out a lot of stuff, because I really want to make sure you're happy. And as well, with the design portion, we can play around, like, it's, before I cure, there's a lot of things that we can do just to finalize, see if, as you were saying, like if you want the accent nail to be more of like a wiggle, and then the rest to be more of the perfect French, like we can be open to many things. I just want what
open to trying different stuff out. Like, so if you want to try like the chrome and the sparkle things too, like I'm not a perfectionist or like I don't need symmetry. Like we can have different
Ooh,
nails.
okay. Because that's also something that can bother certain people.
Yeah.
So,
I'm good with trying things out on different nails and seeing.
okay, I like that.
Make up about 1/3 of all those students. And here's the question they have: Canada, and not only sells Canadians on Amazon.
I was like, yeah, we do not need that commercial up in here.
I was wondering what happened.
Late for dinner. Now, those close to her, to Cindy, they feel compelled to hide things from her in order to protect themselves from her disapproval.
So for anybody that wants to follow along with us, we're listening to the Kaylee Anthony case, with Casey being the, I don't even know what you want to call her, the non-mom.
That's why I like this channel. It's Kaylee.
I like that, and we're not focusing on Casey.
Exactly.
And this is Crime Weekly, if anybody wants to look up on YouTube.
This is emotional abuse. It's abuse. So
I love Stephanie Harlow, though, so I'm really glad that we are, that we're listening to her.
Because remember, Cindy can be very intoxicating.
And the focus
Make
is
you feel
always on
very
the
loved,
victim, which I
very
really
accepted.
appreciate
The
with
second you
Stephanie and
challenge
Derek.
her,
It
or
should
say
be.
no, all of a sudden
I think
she's
anybody that
accused of showing
glamorizes that kind of
George
stuff, it
joined
just
his
it's
father
like
Lee at the
all kinds
dealership
of
as a
wrong.
salaried employee and reportedly skills, and he had no desire to schmooze potential customers into buying vehicles.
What's
A
about
source
this?
close to George Anthony said, quote, George wasn't
Oh,
interested
there
in
was a
dealing with
piece of
customers. He
stuff.
didn't want to talk to people.
I was wondering, I was like,
He's
what is that
He's
cold
very
in my
excessive.
hand?
George's father even enrolled
Let me
him in
switch
Dale
these
Carnegie
out
course
here.
and paid for it to try and help him warm up, but he just couldn't. End quote. Now, of course, we're talking about the Dale Carnegie who wrote the book How to Win Friends and Influence People. Carnegie's writings were turned into courses, which were actually offered at prisons. And Charles Manson, the cult leader, actually excelled in this course, and it said that he used what he learned to transform into the charismatic cult leader he would become. Because it makes sense.
That's quite the endorsement, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. I
It's
don't.
a very popular book. I mean, a lot of people have a lot of success stories because of that book. I know it was a book that
Okay,
I
so
read
we're gonna
before
move
anybody
into
wrote
the
my
base
minds. So there's
coat.
a couple books that I read, and that
So
was
what I'll
definitely
do
one of them.
is I'm going to do this hand and then you could pop her in and then we're going to do the other hand. But I'm not going to do the thumbs. I'm going to do those separate.
Okay.
So these four first in and then we can switch off on the thumbs.
He's social.
Because
the angle.
thumbs actually, when you put them in like this, it starts to free flow. So if you can either place it in directly like this or directly like this. The placement is really key. We don't want the gels to cure in any wonky ways. Just make sure we can see all this goodness.
I would say that an adult who prefers the company of children and can't communicate with other adults is definitely a non-sociable person. Like you were stunted somewhere when you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, you're the psych major. You know, it's like I find all this stuff very fascinating, and it's interesting. Again, that I'm assuming his father asking him to, or paying for him to go to these courses can be. This isn't something you're pulling out of thin air. This actually happened. So there's definitely proof.
That's expensive too, by the way. Those courses are not cheap.
But you know, it's one thing for someone to say, like a source, to say, "Oh, he wasn't a sociable guy." It's another thing to see that his father literally paid for courses to try to help him with
So
his
this part
personal
too,
skills,
like for some of
communication
those
skills.
areas,
That really backs up what
like
you're
this
saying.
one
Again,
here, I'm actually going to add a
for me,
tea
it
bag
ties back to
just to
being the type of
reinforce.
person who really isolated himself from other adults, and there's no way down the road. I know she's not there yet, but that Lee and Casey, this type of behavior would rub off on them. Usually, you emulate your parents, and George was her father, so I'm sure a lot of
The
things that
angle of your
we're going to
finger is
talk about
everything
when it
as
comes
well
to
because then that
Casey,
stops it from
we're probably
flooding
gonna find, again,
backwards.
those parallels
So when
to
you're
George's
actually like
behavior
hand
prior to
painting
her.
yourself, if you're using
Yeah, I
gel,
find with kids it can go one of two ways, right? You either turn out exactly like your
Oh.
parents or the exact opposite because
are you able to run down or?
and you're like, I never want to do that.
That's weird. Thank you.
Yeah, like you have someone who grew up in a home.
Oh,
like,
Taryn.
take a sip
They
of
won't
alcohol.
drink.
I was like, what? It's probably the alcohol.
Like,
I was like, a delivery. It's the rubbing alcohol.
That sucked.
You just tripped me out so hard.
Great point.
I'm sorry. Unless you're not feeling well, I can run down.
That or
The exact opposite of that.
yeah, like literally, you become to hate anything that even resembles.
He just made it sound
or
professional because he's in.
conduct themselves in a similar manner. You're like, nope,
Exactly.
can't mess with you.
You're triggered by that, or you see it in yourself. And you
No, I
think
know,
that
but I was
for
saying he was
yourself,
probably
try
being
to
professional and saying a
make sure
delivery's
it
here
doesn't
to her.
rear its ugly head.
But it's definitely Taryn with the
Casey,
rubbing
she
alcohol.
leaned into it, man. She leaned into it. She wasn't like, I don't want to be like my parents. This is horrible.
That like made my heart go. I'm like, I'm not scheduled to have anything come today.
This is awesome. Let's do it, guys.
But like with different companies, like it's a possibility. So I was like, what?
Uniform. George Anthony figured out a way to put on his armor. Tim Gibbon, he was a business owner who his business was near the car dealership, and he came to know George and his father Lee. He said, quote, George's hair was like a mannequin's, not a hair out of place. He wore his clothes like a uniform, perfectly pressed, end of quote. Now, of course, since George didn't really want to be there at the car dealership, and his father was trying to push him into becoming a better salesperson,
Just
the
one
two men
moment.
argued
I should have cut
constantly
this ahead of
for
time,
years that
but
they worked together. And it all came to a head one day while they were shouting at each other in the showroom
Could
of
be
the
a good
dealership. A
lesson for
witness
the live.
claimed that Lee pushed his
right
son.
as to like what
George
to
pushed
do
back,
because it sounds so
throwing
funny,
Lee
but a tea bag
backwards
is your
and
best
through a
friend.
plate glass window, and Lee had to
And
be
it smells
hospitalized for
great.
this.
Right? It smells so good. We got our aromatherapy. I don't know if you guys can see this.
To get to that point where
Just gonna
you're
quickly give it a
pushing
cut
your
and then
own
I'll make a
thought
better
glass
cut in a
is
second.
It's pretty extreme.
It's gross.
Regardless of the reasoning behind it, right?
Right, I agree.
there's no justification for it. But for our purposes, right, it's not just sensationalizing it to make a good story. What we're talking about later is
Thank God I thought of all the things.
again,
Okay, so it's so funny because this is kind of like the inspiration.
behavior.
We're like wanting all of this beautifulness,
Yeah.
abalone shells, all the
Predispositions,
things.
to violence or whatever it may be. I'm not saying that's the case, but again, as we're trying to get the
So
whole
shiny.
60-degree
Right?
perspective,
It's so shiny,
not only
I'm gonna
Casey, but her
die.
family and what influenced her. These types of stories.
So you
are
want to
very
go like
important,
as
'cause
small,
guarantee you,
even if the
most
crack's
people
larger, and
just
do
looking at
multiple ones
articles
because
or
it will
reading the
begin to
news,
curl upwards.
They didn't see these types of stories, right? I mean,
No.
unless you're really involved with the case, you probably didn't know about this, but when you're trying to understand an individual and what they're capable of, this is something that's extremely valuable to know.
Very, and are you kind of suggesting that maybe Casey could have inherited short fuse?
And that is going to
and
act
her
as like a fiber
father
to
from her
be
grandfather?
like
Remember
strength
they said
for that nail.
that
So like if
Cindy's
stuff like
father
this
was
happens,
an odd little guy with a
you
hell
can
of a
fix
temper,
it.
and her mother Shirley would also just go off on you if you showed up 2 minutes late for dinner. So this is not necessarily a genetic thing, but it's what you grow up seeing that makes an impact.
Right, and I'm a believer by no means. Again, I
See
was
how
qualified
seamless
by
that
saying
is?
like, I'm not a
Yeah.
scientist, I'm not a
See it
psychologist, but I
anymore.
do believe.
So
yeah, a
then
lot of
you
it
can
is
just
through your parents. or
actually
your
just have you
brothers
flip
and
this for just a
sisters.
moment.
There might be something inside of us too that you have a switch. For me
But you see how I
personally,
worked
and
really
always
thin
been
there?
keeping it
Yeah.
So the
controlled as
reason why, because
as an adult.
everything you do
My
is going to
dad
create
wasn't
more
really
bulk.
someone who was a
So I
fighter,
try to
but
work it
always
as thin
had
as
that
possible
ability
because
where
we're going to be
it took
going
a
in
lot
with
to
those
get me
layers
there, both
so that
once
you
I
don't
got
just have
there,
all of
I
this
was
sweating
the
and
average
grossness
temper
at the
of a lot of
cuticle
me.
and all of
And
that
that's
stuff.
something where my mother
So this
would
is
tell me my
perfect, and you
grandfather
can
was the
just,
same way, and yet
actually I
never
want
witnessed
to,
that
Yeah.
with my grandfather. I never saw it
there's
with
like a
my own
teeny
eyes.
glisten I see at
She
your
said she
cuticle,
saw
so
a
I'm
lot
just
of
going
evil,
to
so I do think there's some
remove that.
genetic hereditary type thing there where it's ingrained in you. And
Also,
that
we're
may be a
probably
good
going to end
thing,
up doing
or
a small bit
in
of
some
like
cases it can be a
buffing so
bad
that that
thing
would go
where
away anyway.
you're a product of the people who your relatives that you may not even know that well, but something that you inherited from them. And you
A
don't
cleanup
realize
brush
it
is
until
one of
you
like
put into a
the
similar situation,
most important
and
things you
can't believe
can
the levels you can go to.
get.
I
Go ahead,
never got there,
pop
but
that
as we
in.
get further in the series and we're looking
Thank
at
you.
what Casey
You are a
was
goddess. Thank you
capable
so
of,
much.
this is something
We got a delivery. This is essential.
she had lost her temper in the same
The
way
good
that
stuff.
George
Got
lost
the
his
good,
temper.
good,
I think
good
that's fair to say
stuffs.
that could happen, right?
Absolutely.
You have
Okay,
this
so I'll take this beautiful hand
research that
here.
you can look back at and say, yeah,
Let's just pop
not
this
only
back
could
good
it happen,
in.
it
hands.
did happen.
And
The
there's
good
evidence that went
hands.
over that Casey did
Trust
have
me,
a
we
temper.
all
That
have.
Casey had a temper, Cindy
We
had a
all
temper,
have
Lee had a
one.
temper, George had a temper. And it's that old nurture versus nature thing, right? And I think the answer at the end of the day is it's 50-50.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I agree.
So later, George would tell law enforcement that the reason he stopped working for his father was because Lee had been given the opportunity to sell the business, but in actuality, he was fired after this assault. And there was a wedge driven between father and son. So after this,
Also,
George
because you
was
have this
reportedly very
natural
depressed.
curve,
He
if
attempted
you were
to
ever
take his
scared
own
and you were
life.
trying to like
Cindy's brother
build
Rick
out your
said that
nails,
George took a
if
whole
you
bottle
did
of
a
aspirin,
few
his
thin
stomach
coats
had to
of
be
like a
pumped.
builder
And the
gel,
reason Rick felt
you'd
George
be
was
so happy.
despondent
You wouldn't be
that he
having
had
any
attempted to take
breaks,
his own life
any
was because
anything.
of the
It's just
domineering
because
and
no matter
controlling
what, our
tactics
natural
used
nails
by
are
his
not
wife,
strong enough
Cindy.
to deal
Rick
with
said, quote,
hits
"We
and
knew
stuff, and that's
he
why
was
I really
weak
love
and
rubber
weak-minded.
base
He
coat
was being
because
molded
it'll
by
have
Cindy
your
into
nails
doing things
bend
he didn't
but
want to
not
do.
break,
She took his
and that's the
life."
huge thing. It
End
adds
quote.
like that
Alright,
strength.
so George Anthony gets fired by his dad.
Usually
He's
my
not
nails
a cop
would
anymore. He has
bend
no
in
uniform
certain
or
ways, but
freshly
now that
pressed
they're so
clothes to put
thick
on in the morning.
Mhm.
Not only
strong,
was
they
this
just
taxing him
snap.
mentally, but
Yes.
obviously financially
And you
as
want
well.
like a natural
The
bend is
Anthony's
okay,
money
but when you
problems
have that
started
like where
in
it
1985,
fractures,
and that was
sorry,
when
please
Cindy
place this
basically said,
straight
"Quit
down
being a cop
there.
and go work at this car
Yes.
dealership." They started having
You
some
just
issues
don't
with money
want
because George wasn't a good salesperson.
want to
And the
accidentally
following year,
hit
they
that
welcomed
while it's
another
wet.
child into the world, Casey Marie Anthony, born March 19, 1986.
Did that go for
She
the full
was
60
described as a
seconds?
spirited and
Yes.
energetic
Perfect.
child who was full of personality and loved
Sometimes
to
you'll
make others
see,
smile
especially in
and
this
laugh.
lamp, it's very
Casey would go on
sensitive,
to attend
so we just have to
Colonial
keep
High
a
School in
mindful eye that it
Orlando,
didn't
where she
turn
had
off.
a large circle of friends
Oh,
and
like
Because it's-
boyfriends
it
throughout high
resets.
school. Her favorite subjects
Yeah.
were math and physical
So, like,
education.
that's really
She was
important.
an excellent student throughout most of her high school career. She even won an award for best helper and another award for exemplary citizenship. When she wasn't in the classroom, Casey was busy with a plethora of other activities. She ran track, she played volleyball and soccer, she was part of a travel club, and her favorite hobby was photography.
It's so hot in here that evaporated that fast. This is just some acetone. I really like using acetone for like cleanup purposes. It works better. Sometimes the alcohol, you can use it, but if you have a color, it will like begin smoking it out very quickly. So if you're trying to do like a French on yourself, you can actually carve out the lines with an not alcohol, sorry, acetone. You can like carve things out and do all sorts of things.
Yeah, that makes
What he
sense.
basically means is she'd be in a relationship with someone and then she would tire of that person. But before she broke up with that person, she'd have somebody else lined up so that she could just jump
Serial
from
dater.
one bed to the other, essentially like a serial monogamous.
Wow, called it.
With
Called
your background, is it? I'm sure it's not always the case, but is it?
I also really love, because like we've dehydrated the area and stuff as well, so it's really foolproof to make sure that the product is going like where it needs to, because then you see it rehydrating. And there's something called like the band of light that you can watch follow when you have like when you're working with gels, so you can see that to ensure that like you've covered all of the areas that you need to.
Now that doesn't mean that it always is. Yeah, doesn't mean it always is. So it doesn't mean that every girl out there who just likes to be in a relationship or doesn't like to have gaps between relationships, that's the case for them. But yeah, that's a known side effect, I would say. They call it daddy issues sometimes.
I haven't had. I can tell you personally that I haven't had a ton of examples of it, but there were, in the limited amount of experience that I did have with it, where we had a young girl, usually that was a wayward child that was constantly running away.
I'll have to show you my practice hand that I have. You'll be like, it's scary realistic. You probably see it under there.
Conversations that they were sexually involved with each other. It wasn't just friends.
That stuff's drying fast. I'm glad I'm only putting a little bit in there, because damn. Damn, Daniel. Can Popper, wait, let's do the little foot. Yeah. I was going to throw you in, but I was like, actually, let's wait a second. To the beautiful humans that are in, thank you so much for spending a part of your day with us. For our true crimes and nails, this is the first episode and the first session, but this can be something that we do more often if you enjoy. You can pop that in, beautiful. Yeah. Okay, so I can take your thumb, if that's comfortable. Do you want the, yeah.
But that's always what I found, like, they use their bodies to get them in the door so that they could stay there and feel protected, when it was never really about them being promiscuous or wanting to have sex. It was the only currency they had in order to be there, which is fucking horrible. But that was the reality. When we got to the root
I
of the
love
issue,
him so much.
that was usually the problem.
I actually watched him on Big Brother, and he did so amazing, because like it was like the biggest undercover ever. Like nobody knew that he was
Police officer.
And then they try to find a replacement for that father figure.
But
Try
now
to find a
he's
replacement for that male
retired
figure
from
in
that.
her life.
He
So it
runs
can
up
happen
TI
for clever
like
reasons,
firm and
but
stuff.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he does private investigations, and he still does true crime on TV shows. And
Oh, I've seen him on TV with Nancy Grace
yeah,
and
around the charm, just like her mother Cindy, she could shower you with love and affection and make you feel like the most special
they
person
have
in the
criminal
entire
coffee,
world.
which I was telling you about.
So that
I want to check out Criminal Coffee, because I'm a huge coffee.
And the proceeds go to solving crimes.
The fact that it goes, I just thought that was so amazing.
Yeah, we're not setting up excuses for the long term as far as the series goes, but
credit where credit's due, right?
This is also something I never see at salons, them using like a detail, and I think that really is that key for like not overflooding, not doing all of that.
This is some of the stuff where it's like, okay, let's
Yeah,
really look at
and
this
also your
pragmatically.
cuticle there.
Try to
Can pop her in.
evaluate each piece of evidence in and of itself.
So see, you're gonna notice, yeah, that's why usually I'll do that. And yeah, if you have any issues, just let me know and I'll press it if you're placing it and it's not turning on. Perfect. Thank you, honey.
Later, in trial that she was molested by her dad. Well, there's no way in high school she knew that she was going to be in a position one day where she was going to have to pull that card out to try to save herself. So I do think this type of behavior, the fact that it can be you can go back and kind of cross-reference it and determine whether it's true or not is valuable because her behavior is indicative of somebody who's had a traumatic experience. So I take it, I'm noting it because I do think it's important.
Yeah, there's bad people that do bad things, but it doesn't mean bad things didn't happen to them.
Of course. And that's a great way of saying it.
Oh, I
Absolutely.
love that
Does it
she said
justify
that.
it?
Did it restart?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll go 30 seconds just to make sure it was fully
And how they
cured.
contributed to where they are as far as we know.
Exactly. So her friends in high school.
Because technically,
even
a
after high
base
school,
coat, like,
said that
it's
Casey
very
was a
thin. It will
very
cure in 30.
agreeable person.
But
She
one
was
of the
not
biggest
aggressive,
things in
she was not
allergies is
opinionated,
from things
she
not
was
curing
very
properly.
pleasant.
So I like to
Somebody
just
said
put that in for a
hard
minute
pressed
just to
did
ensure
not
that
like her.
100% we're
Casey did
good.
have a tendency to avoid
And it's not so
conflict
long
at
that you have to
any
worry
cost.
about
Michelle
overexposure or
Murphy,
anything
who
like
had
that.
friends
Even
with
the
Casey
90
since
seconds
they
is
were
okay when
teenagers.
we're dealing
She
with
said,
like
quote,
the really
"There's
hot. I'm just
no
about to change it
conflict,
actually to that
no
for
contentiousness, no approaching her with an issue and getting her to argue
for
about
when
it.
we're doing the
She would
builder gel
simply
because that's
not
going to be
engage.
thicker and that
If
will
you were
have
going to
a
confront
heat.
her
It's
on an
it's
issue,
impossible
she would
not to.
already go.
The
If you were to
molecular
call her on something she
like the
had
actual
done,
molecules are
or be
moving
angry
so
with her,
fast
she
that
would
it
sense it
creates
and
heat.
know where to
So when
turn.
you're using like
She
a
would
low
diffuse
heat
things,
mode, that's
there's
when you
no
don't
way
experience
to
as
make you
much.
feel
But
like
if when you
maybe
put it
you
in, you feel
misunderstood her.
immediate heat,
I
just
remember
gently
talking to her
take it
about
out
some guy that
and then put
maybe
it back
she
in
had
and we're
shown her
good.
interest
The
in when
faster
I
you
was
pull
looking
it, the
at
more
him.
likely
She
you
made me
have of
feel
like the
bad
product
for thinking
potentially
that. She
wrinkling
was
or
like,
something like that.
never. You have to believe me.
This
And
is all new
that's
information
called
for me.
gaslighting.
Oh, honey.
That's called
I really
gaslighting. When
like
somebody
to
feels like, yo, I
to
think you're
talk
doing this to me,
about
and the
the
person's
science
like,
of it. You
no,
can pop her in.
no, and they turn it around on you, and they're like, how could you even think that about me? Like, now all of a sudden you're the
Okay,
bad
I'm just going to
person for thinking
disinfect
that,
this
when
again
there's
because we're going to
plenty
be
of
using a
evidence
different
that it's
product.
happening, and then the person's like, no,
So like I
Mary,
said, there's so
that's
much
what Casey
alcohol
did.
and I'm like, I got to do my
Michelle
nails
also spoke
tomorrow.
of
We're just going to
Casey's
be like
relationship
through
with her
this
older
damn
brother,
alcohol.
Lee, who apparently would get very protective of his sister if
Scared
anyone
the
did
ish out of me.
Michelle said, quote, we were all very familiar with her.
We're listening to a true crime. Oh, thank you. We're listening to a true crime podcast as the door slams. You already know I done thought I had to go get the machete. If you wouldn't mind putting them on the just the counter.
Surprised about this? You can't just let her be. You know.
Try to put them like deep.
So what do you think about
Deep in there.
I can see how someone would take it and not see
Okay, so we have all of your nails have been base coated. Now,
I think this one might have also.
did it? Do you want me to press it?
Yeah.
We get into situations. My younger sister would
Do you see what I mean? The thumb is the area, so if you could just keep an eye out for that. Did it do it again?
Yeah, it's not. There's no light.
No light?
Without knowing the true context
None?
of what he was defending her for.
Okay, maybe we have the.
I mean, sensor issue.
I don't want to
No, it could be battery. One second.
I'm guilty of doing a variation of that. So it doesn't
I love that. You're like, I see
some
nothing.
of the other things we've talked
If you
about,
want to just pop that one in there for now and then.
for sure.
Yes,
She
please.
was wrong. It looks like there was someone there that making
Can I
spaces
give you
for
a
her.
That's why it's important. It's the lack of accountability. Yes, the lack of accountability. There's always somebody there to make an excuse for her case. Like, she's out of pocket. She's acting, a fool. And her friends don't even feel comfortable to confront her and say you're acting like a fool because they know he's going to get their face. Like, you just know this is how she is.
Right, it's in their name.
Let's hope I have another plug here.
That's what I take away from that.
And Michelle had more to say about Casey, which I think personally is incredibly relevant and telling since we know how this
Love you.
ends.
Thank you for bringing
Casey's
that.
friend Michelle said that Casey had an on and off switch for her emotions, and that, quote, either one of us could get to a stage where we would be like, that's enough worrying or being upset, so I'm over it. Let's go out, flip the switch. It's over, forgotten, time to move on. In high stress situations, I think we could both disassociate, just shut it off, period. She never really had long-term intimate friendships. They were all short and passionate, just like her romantic relationships, where she'd be very observant and affectionate and offer lots of words of affirmation.
So I love this one because it's a rechargeable, but when it dies, it dies.
All through school, and we became
There we
friends.
go.
But it's like a butterfly. You see her, and then she's gone. End
Do you
quote.
approve,
Well,
Kovu?
Casey's circle of friends, they called her
He
mom
actually
because she
watches
was
me
always
the
the one to
entire
make sure
time I'm doing
everyone
my
got
nails,
home
which is so
safe.
freaking
She
cute.
wasn't a drug user, and she didn't really drink a lot. She never drank to get drunk because she didn't like to be out of control, and she never.
Did I hurt you?
wanted to find
No,
herself in a
I'm
conversation
feeling
with
myself,
someone
and I think I
where she
need
would end up
to
talking
Go!
more
Okay, so
real things, like
Yes.
I'm going to have to take the sticky layer off of that or you're going to stick to
what
everything.
described Scott Peterson,
That's why I said,
smiling
like,
and happy on the outside,
the alcohol
nothing
is
was
key.
wrong, everything was always copacetic. No
Okay,
one
so
could get a peek
we're just going to take this
actual
off.
turmoil that was happening
just for that, because we don't want, when you go to the bathroom, the world will stick. We'll also have to do a re-cleanse afterwards. If you could not wash your hands,
Okay.
because I can't have the soap, but what I'll do is I'll give you some alcohol when you get back so you can
Disinfect.
still, right? But yeah, washing at this point's not the best.
If
we can avoid that.
Family's home in Ohio. And in 1987, he used this money to start his own
This
car
might be a
dealership
regular
that he
occurrence.
named
I'll try to do
George
my
Anthony's
best.
office.
Oh, it's okay, honey. This is why I like working with gel,
I need to
because we
stay
can cleanse.
hydrated
However
and-
often you need to go to the bathroom is a-okay. I love that I'm actually getting like a client that is with a bubba, because then I'm doing service for two. So you can pause as much as you need to.
Or a people person. So it's
I'll stop our podcast. Oh, thank you. Paper towel. You know, paper towel is God over here.
Face masks
Oh, thank
and
you.
black.
You are
They look
amazing.
cool.
Thank you so very much.
And I don't know if you want these. I don't know if they're good quality or
Thank you.
not. but
No, these are amazing.
They came with my
Stop.
with the gel polishes, but I can't use them in gel polish,
You,
right?
you know what? I'll actually show you how you can.
Okay. But I don't know what to do with those.
Okay. Thank you so much. You're so sweet. Yeah, these masks are golden. Sunshine nailed it. Hi, sweetheart. We are doing a set for my beautiful friend. She has a wedding and she kind of wanted like an abalone shell look. So we are doing a really fun design for her. So it's all going to be freestyle. So if we have to switch up anything, we will. But just cutting these to prep. So you guys know how important paper towel is. I wish I had like longer scissors because this just isn't it. We also, it's very hot here, so we have a fan going. So it's like that supermodel hair blowing in the wind. But it's okay, we make it work. It is way too hot. So I do apologize. We have a fan going and the true crime podcast, but we wanted to do a little true crime and nails. And if you guys enjoy this, we can do it more often. Doing different cases. We're doing the Kaylee Anthony case. Hi, basketball. How are you doing? Oh my gosh, this is gonna like fly away. I also wanted you to smell these for when we're finished the service. This one is the Glam Booster. It's lime, basil, and mandarin. Oh, you can hold it.
I
Oh,
need to disinfect.
You're so cute. Oh yes. Oh my God, you're amazing. You're like, there you go, honey. You see, this is when you have somebody thinking ahead. They're like, we've got to do disinfection here. And then this one is jojoba oil and vitamin E. It's a very light scent. So I don't know which one you'd prefer, but at the end, these are really good. I also have a nourishing balm if you don't like either of these, but it's very good because all this alcohol and stuff is drying.
Yeah.
So it's like important to rehydrate. So, have you heard of the Sebastian Rogers case? No, we haven't. Have you heard of it? Well, we'll definitely, that can be the next case that we go through if you'd enjoy. The way this is drying is like getting me. It's like, damn, that's happening fast. That's why we only pour what we need. Okay, so we are going to actually, before I do like your full overlay, I want to work on the broken girls just to create that little bit of structure. And then that way I can do like the full service on all of them.
Okay.
So I'm going to first try with a paper form. And if that doesn't work to our liking, then I'm going to move into like a dual form. I just had them, they're right here.
Oh, they're so cute.
So I really like these because they're like a little butterfly. I might need my one hand here.
really not the smartest decision if you're
Tiana, we are doing a full gel manicure on my beautiful model here, Des. And as you see, we've done the base coat, but there's a few nails that are broken and we want to make sure her natural nails are as strong as possible. So I just had to take gloves for a second because things with stickers and
She was
gloves
just shocked
ain't
one day
it.
when her husband came home and told her they were broke. So psychiatrist Dr. Keith Aplow.
So this here is just for added strength.
He has a theory on why George
in that
kept
area.
withheld this information from his
So
wife
what I want to
led
do
Avery into
first
bad
is kind of see where
financial
this falls on
situations.
you.
In his book,
Because we're
Outlaw
going to have
wrote,
to cut
quote,
this.
maybe George hadn't told Cindy about their
Okay.
looming financial problems because he was too afraid of pulling the needle filled with Cindy's
gonna cut
special
this.
brew of neediness,
You
sex,
want it to be like as
criticism,
flush to the
control,
nails as possible
and
so that we
to
don't have
drive
too
passion out of
much
his arm.
overflow
That
here.
would have been the same as him not
So I'm
getting
gonna
high
quickly
by
cut
gambling,
this.
the same as heroin addicts quitting heroin cold turkey. It would have brought on terrifying feelings of anxiety and paralyzing despondency connected to all of the suffering he had been trying to keep a lid on by trying to keep his hair perfectly in place. And his
Tiana's like,
arms
okay, we didn't know what we
perfectly
were doing here.
pressed
Just
above
saw
the live on
phalanges.
internet gaming sites.
Yes,
His
we
mind
are
focused on
doing
female body
nails.
parts. It would also have been his only chance to save himself from a life spent not truly alive, enslaved by his fear and self-loathing to a woman who behaved as though she embraced both those qualities in him. End quote. So after losing basically everything, the Anthonys wanted to start fresh. So they moved from Niles, Ohio to Orlando, Florida in 1989. Now Cindy's parents had already relocated to Mount Dora, Florida a few years prior, and Cindy wanted to be closer to them. She got a job working for an orthopedic surgeon, and she purchased a home
So
at
that should be a pretty good
4937
fit
Oak
there.
Spring Drive in Orlando. The way she was actually able to purchase this house, with the state of her finances and the state of their credit after bankruptcy and everything, she did this by assuming the high interest loan of the family that had been living there. So George and Cindy, they closed on this house on
We want
October
it as
4th,
tight
1989.
under
They
there
took
as
their two small
possible.
children to Florida for a fresh start. Casey was just about 3 years old and Lee was almost 7. George Anthony began working at the Orlando Centroplex as a security guard. He left that job. He began working at Snappy Car Rental as a salesperson. He quit that job.
So we're gonna see how
and he
this
began
enhancement
working at
goes,
the
and then that
Orlando
will be
Sentinel,
the
where he
determining
apparently
factor
injured
if
his
we
knee
continue
on
this
the job.
route
So
or
some
if we
people
go
say
the
he was
other
security
route.
for the Orlando Sentinel, but some people also say he was like a paper boy for the Orlando Sentinel, and that's when he hurt
So
his
this
knee.
is builder gel.
We're going back. I see that
So this would be like a bio
that this happened in
thicker
1989.
gel
At this
for
point,
structure.
Casey was only 3 years old when they made this move to Florida, right?
Everything is
Just in case
sticky.
anyone is a little lost with it, we were talking earlier about some of the behavior that Casey displayed through high school. Obviously, we're going back and forth in the
There
timeline.
we go.
So when we're talking about Casey and the things that she did later in life.
It's like we'll definitely need those little gooseneck scissors
How
again.
this all came to be.
The
I like
skizzers.
Right,
They
gotcha.
remind me of a
After
grandma's
he
sewing
was
kit.
Right? They are.
not
They're
Sentinel
so
anymore, George
classic.
began working at Falcon, Termite, and Pest Control. But his inability to hold on to a job and actually stay there long enough to advance in that company and get raises and better
Still
benefits.
didn't give us
this
enough
left
what we
Cindy to
need.
be the main breadwinner
I'll have to check
while
the other
George
one.
racked up
Has
online
more in it.
gambling debt and credit card
There we
debt.
go.
But Casey Anthony, she was growing up in Florida. She became a beautiful and outgoing young woman who had an active social life and an active social media life. Casey Anthony loved social media. She spent so much time on social media. She communicated with so many people on social media, and we're going to get to that. But I think that it says something when somebody's that invested in social media. Don't you think? Like, it's kind of very emblematic of someone who wants to present a certain face and a certain image to the world, and they can do that.
Like
on social
this,
media.
that's
No one
not,
can get close
it's
enough to
not
you.
giving us what we
They
need.
just see what you choose to show them. So it's very symbolic.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and that goes with a lot
So I was
of
like,
people
that,
haven't
I'm
done
not going to be able to
accused
build
of
out
things that
anything with
Casey's been
that.
accused of, where we see it on social media all the time, and it's gotten even worse with like the ability to alter your face and make yourself look a certain way and profile pics. It's crazy, but yeah, you're right. You can present the narrative that you want, the image that you want through social media, that you want individuals who are maybe friends from high school, whatever people you're associated with, to see you in a certain light.
I'm going to mute this just because we got a phone call.
film him at the park and stuff, and I won't have to go anywhere tomorrow. They're gonna do it all at the apartment, but they wanted to film the enclosure at someone else's house, so he was just going over that.
And pop that in. So did you experience any heat? Because if you do, I can switch that over to the 60. Sorry, the 90, because it's on 60 right now, which is like regular high heat,
I'm not
and we're
feeling
doing.
any discomfort. I'm feeling warmth, but
Okay, so if you start feeling discomfort, you let me know instantly, and we'll go over to that 90 seconds.
yeah, if it starts to burn, I'll let you know.
Right? Please. So we're just going to, as soon as that is fully cured, I'm going to pop that off and just see how the enhancement is going, and just make sure if that is the way we want. The only other option is something called a dual form, in which you literally just build out some of that tip, cure it, put some wet, pop that on, and then I'd use an actual flash cure to cure it and then pop that off, and that would also extend it. So there's a few ways that you can extend.
We will see. Only issue that might have with those ones is that it might not be the right curvature of the nail, or
So this, like, luckily this does have like a pretty decent curve to it, but we would only really know once we have it on
That's
the
just-
nail. So you see like the curve to
Yeah.
it there. So like, for
just-
instance here, so you'd like add on and then you'd shape it to whatever
I
you'd
see,
want.
yeah.
It's just kind of to create a rigid area for
I only
that.
say that because I've tried press-ons in the past and they don't really work for me.
Oh yes, it's not a press on at all. It's the way that you create the enhancement. There's just two different ways that you can kind of go. Okay, well that looks good. That looks like what we want. So perfection. So the other one we have to build out is your thumb, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm excited for having these nails done because then my natural nails will be able to grow
And that's
out
the
and be
thing.
nice.
So this will only work as like a help, and as soon as you're fully grow and we shorten that, you're gonna have all of your nails, right? And like that's the fun part. But
And then
this is
you
kind of a
can
way to
help me
customize it.
nice.
You're like, we can work together, Mama, and do all this beautifulness. Okay, I might need my hand again. It's just this. It's so funny. Like, some things are so awkward with the gloves, like so very awkward. You're just like, can you work with me, please, not against me? How are you feeling so far?
Good.
Good.
I do feel like product on the nail now, but that I think that's
Oh yeah, there's going to be, because you feel product on the nail.
like on the underneath.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to buff some of that and do all of that, finalize, but it's when you're building out, it's kind of inevitable. But we will make sure that there's no product on the sides here or anything like that once we're done.
I'm also now looking at this long nail like, ooh, it's nice.
We're gonna make sure we set them up, so I'm gonna put both of these together and kind of look and make sure that they're as uniform as possible so that you're not having one that's like so much longer than the rest. We will also do that, but I want to first make sure I build out all of your nails before we start getting into shaping and all of that, because I don't want to potentially harm any of your natural nail. Could I have your thumb for a second, honey? I want to see where this falls.
And then when they grow out, we'll do more with them and have them longer and protected by thick product.
The product is the huge, like, the apex is here, like, really help, like, you keep those natural nails long. Because other than that, I don't know many people that can actually keep their natural nails for very, very long, because inevitably they break and then they gotta cut them and regrow them. And
I had them a little longer than this, and then I broke one, but I was able to file them all down to the length and
yes,
keep them at this length. But then, again, things started to snap, and then I'm like, well, I don't want to have to cut them all off.
right? I wish I knew you beforehand, because then I could have just helped you. Okay, so I'll need you to kind of, yeah.
Yeah,
Stay down.
It was right before I met you. that I had them just a bit longer.
Oh. Yeah, I would have loved to see. But we can grow them out. Don't you worry. Snug as a bug in a rug. So like there's inevitable, sometimes you won't have like, you'll have a teeny bit of seepage, but what you don't want is like the nail enhancement and then a whole hunk, which you can go with the e-file and go in there, but you just don't want too much because you don't want to be filing in there too much and all of that stuff, just for your like own natural nail. Looking like pretty snug enhancement there. So I'm going to begin building it out, and you can start the magical podcast again.
You control that narrative. It allows you to kind of to do that, and that's a common theme we see with a lot of people, especially a lot of kids nowadays, where nothing.
So
is
the only reason, on the
what it
other
appears to be
hand, where
about
you were saying that
celebrities
you have that
standing
area
in front
that's
of
here,
private jets that
is the
look
one thing that
no
you don't want to
representing
happen
as if
is
they-
that
they
I
do.
don't bring this out
Crazy
enough.
world with
And then
crazy
when I'm
times.
filing, you only have products here, and there's nothing on those sidewalls. So I need like that little bit of extra area, so when I do buff it and file it, you have like that full extension.
That's not what I'm going for, but if you
You're
want
talking
that,
about
then
this
that's
middle
what
finger where there's like a bit missing
Uh,
inside.
oh no, not even that one. Once I start building on that, it will be like completely good. I'm talking about this nail actually. So the product that you said you have a little bit here. So once you built, like, that's gonna get filed. But if I didn't go all the way over here, once I'm filing, you're gonna have a spot here that you're gonna miss. You won't even have nail here because you're building out that full area. So it's really interesting when you're doing it. You're like, what? But there's all a reason for everything.
You weren't keeping up with the Kardashians?
Not keeping up with. Well played, Stephanie Harlow. I tip my cap to you. That was well
These
done.
guys are so
That was
fun.
well
Felt good.
They like
That
to
was a good
move a
one.
lot.
You're gonna hang your cap on that
Yeah,
one for a
I
while.
feel
That
it
was
like
good.
For a while.
Right, trying to pop open.
That was witty. Yeah, I got nothing after that. We'll just leave it.
We're gonna leave it on that note.
Yep, let you go out on a high note right there.
So, really for Casey, anyone looking from the outside in, they would have thought she had a really bright future ahead of her. She was
There
smart,
we
she was
go.
beautiful, charismatic, lots
There
of
you
friends,
go.
nobody
Right?
disliked her.
Please don't
She had a
move.
lot
And then
things
of course
going
then
for
my
her.
hair
Behind closed
decides
doors,
to enter the
things were not
chat. We're
good
just gonna
and
put
real.
this up
And
so
they
we don't have to deal with none of that.
Casey was a lot of things.
It's nice to have curly hair. It just kind of settles together.
Years before she became a mother, Casey was stealing, lying, and hiding from almost everyone she knew. In fact,
So I'm
I would
still
say
gonna go
everyone
down to
she
like your
knew.
cuticle
I don't
area,
think
but
that
right now I'm just trying to
point
focus
one
on
person in
getting,
her life that she
just so
was
that we
ever
can work on building out all of them together.
Casey was supposed to graduate with her class, her high school class in 2004. And she'd been doing great in school, right? But in her senior year, she started skipping classes and not handing assignments in. And because of this, she was informed by the school that she would not be walking the stage with her classmates. But Casey failed to mention this to her parents. Now, let's be honest, she didn't fail to mention it. She didn't forget to tell them. She doesn't want to have any confrontation. She doesn't want to come clean about anything. She doesn't want any repercussions, so she just didn't tell them. So Cindy and George planned a big graduation party. They sent out invitations. They invited her grandparents to, come and watch the ceremony, watch Casey graduate. They had no idea what was going on.
It's funny, the first time I was ever at a
honestly am
salon
gonna
and
say
saw
this
someone
several
do
times
this, I
during the
was like,
series. I think a
what
lot of
is
the
this
times that
witchcraft?
Cindy and George were like, we had no idea. I think they did have an idea. I think they
No,
chose to
just
ignore it
building out
because
a
it
nail
didn't
with a
fit
dual
with what they
form,
wanted to believe.
like a
So,
paper form.
a few weeks before graduation,
It's like that
Casey's parents were like,
customization,
hey,
though.
where's your cap and gown? When you
Yeah,
graduate from high
compared to
school, did
tips.
you order that stuff?
Pardon,
Then
honey?
you get it,
Compared
they
to
send it
tips.
to you,
Mhm.
and then you have it for graduation. But she didn't
I
have
also
her cap
find
and
that
gown
it's
yet.
like
So
stronger
Casey was
and
like,
just more
the
natural
school
too.
made a mistake, and they forgot to order my cap and gown. But don't worry, I'm handling it.
I wouldn't
It'll
have
be
mine
here.
tips
But then
if
a
I
few weeks
didn't
before
have
graduation,
longer
the school
natural
called
nails,
Anthony's
because then you just glue it
and
right
they were
onto
like,
a short nail.
did you know your
I
daughter's
have
gonna
like
graduate,
natural tips
And
too that are
Cindy
kind
and
of
George were
like
"What?
more
That's
off
crazy." Well, they
white.
did not cancel the graduation party. They didn't inform their friends and family that the graduation ceremony was not happening. They didn't even send gifts and money back to the out-of-town relatives who had mailed them to Casey. So you got all these people with invitations who are like, we can't
So
come,
just
we're
flip
out of
her.
state or whatever. We'll just send money.
Mhm.
They didn't send that money back. With the
Butterflies
Anthony's,
trying to
the
fly
show
off.
Right,
must
butterfly
always go
fly
on.
away,
It would
no,
go
no,
on,
no,
it did.
stay.
When Casey's grandparents sat in the audience at Colonial
I just don't want to go too pinched because then it's going to affect the whole curvature of everything. And it's, I think we're good. Turn again, honey
When
bun.
they asked why
Yeah,
Casey was walking
pop
the
her in.
stage, Cindy lied, just like her daughter. She said that the school
I was like, I can
messed
press it if
something up.
we
Don't
need.
worry, Casey is graduating. She did graduate.
Take it
She
out
just
'cause
wasn't
that
able
was
to
Burn?
hot, yeah.
Okay,
Then
so
they all
I
went to
did
this
your 90.
grand graduation ceremony, and
You
Dad
can
did
see
his
the
own
difference
Casey had
when you feel that burn, and just be honest, don't sit through it. It just the low heat mode on 90 seconds is so much better. And it's not in that like,
Butterfly open.
did it open? Okay.
Okay.
You could slowly take her out, and I'll just close her up.
what it looked like from the outside. And Cindy's brother Rick said, quote,
She's just like,
"Cindy
pop,
didn't
pop,
want any
pop.
negative news."
See what I mean about the
End quote.
my
Now,
gloves?
for Casey,
So I like to
this
take them
must
off
have sent a
sometimes.
very problematic message, right?
There you go.
Mess up.
It just basically, it will make you have more of a wider flare, but since we're actually shaping it into an almond, it won't be like the end of.
You just lie away out
The
there.
biggest thing we want is that she's as flat as possible and we have that extension. We can work with everything else afterwards. We just need that foundation.
What I originally wanted to ask, we talked about how
So you only had the 2 broken ones and then the one that I
she was loved by
repaired?
everybody. She was
with the thing?
Well, this one
one of the top
had a
students in
break
class in
right
her senior
through,
year.
but
Okay, but you did the super glue.
Yeah.
Okay. So hopefully when we add the builder gel and everything, that will give the
Yeah.
extra strength. But technically with that gel as well, it did fuse, so everything should be fused together.
Nothing that we know of.
Other than that, I think this one is a little bit uneven. There's a little bit of like a notch in it.
So hopefully when I'm doing that full overlay, we can just build out that. We should be able to just naturally, even without a paper form, we should be able to get that little extra with the viscosity. I should be able to just put some on that side and we should be more than good.
Cigarettes around her, so she kind of had this like straight laced
I wonder
attitude,
if it
but
reset.
also
It
I
feels
think
like
that
a
was
long time.
Yeah, because it's 90 seconds versus the 60, so it's so much more.
These kids your age and they're all drinking and smoking and experimenting, and you want to be set apart,
me
you
see
want to be
these.
different, you want to stand out in a way. She's gonna be the one who's like, oh,
Yeah,
no, I
that's
don't do that
so
stuff,
perfect.
you
So
know,
we're just
people
going to be
are
doing the
like,
gel
"This is
overlay on
there's
that. So I just wanted to finalize these. So then basically we can be switching in between the two. So I can do like the 4 fingers and then go over just so that we're maximizing. But right now I just want to make sure we iron that out. And then it will be smooth, easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Forever. I think it was probably a guy or probably just her saying, I'm sick of school and I don't feel like going today. And then that just kind of snowballed.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, again, it doesn't change where we're
Nice
going with this, but I
to have
wonder, you know,
fully
it's just,
shape them too,
it's hard
because-
not to wonder
Yes.
what
Gonna
happened.
make sure that the shape is as uniform on all of them. We're also
Some
gonna
of
go
them
through and
I-
like put your 2 thumbs together, etc., and make sure everything's as close to
Some of them are
perfect.
made a little more pointy, some of them are a little rounder.
Right? Don't worry. We'll make sure we got some uniform Bettys up in here. But just I don't like to do too much filing in this process because your nails are still tender. So I like to try to add as much and then kind of go from there.
If it wasn't for her doing so well in school up to that point, I would say, you know, maybe this was just something that was in the home from the time she was very young, and she
It's
just
like
never
I
was
think
able
it's just the
to get
heat
out on her
that's
own and
causing
become
them
who
to
she was
just
meant
like
to be
pop,
in a
pop,
good way.
pop.
I think
The
so.
fact that she
But
did
as
so
soon as
well
we
all the way
have
through
a
her junior
bigger,
year,
I just want to make sure we have like decent.
influences and
Here
temptations that
here,
you
and
have
then I
in
can
high
just
school,
work
we've
on
all
it without.
experienced it. For her to do so well for so
That's why I
long,
popped
and
the other one
last
off
year
as
kind
well
of just
because then we can kind of
stumble
go
at the
from
finish
there.
line. That's unfortunate.
Now that I'm thinking about it, and I have to double check and fact check myself and look at the dates and stuff, and we're gonna get more into this in the next part, but
So
there
that's why I
was a
said like you
point,
have like a
and it
teensy
may
bit
have been
here
right around this
because
time
those
Casey's
sides are so
senior year,
important. That's like
where
technically on like the
Cindy and
tip
George,
area
Casey's parents,
is where you're
were in
missing.
real bad-
But if you didn't
their
have stuff along
relationship
those
was
sides
really
too, it
bad.
can become
And Cindy
a big
actually like
issue.
kicked George out of the house. And
You can
he
always
filed for
customize
divorce,
things
and then
as well
she
before we
found out
go
that he
in with
filed
the
for
final.
divorce, and then
But we
the
just want
lawyer
to make
told
sure
her,
we
like,
have as
if
much
he
to work with
divorces
as
you, because
possible.
he's not working right now because he was like had a knee injury and he was kind of in and out of jobs. He's not only gonna ask you for alimony, but he's gonna ask you to sell the house and he's gonna take half of it. And you know you're gonna be in a really bad position. So then Cindy was like, "All right, George, you can come back home." This may have been right around Casey's senior year, and I'll have to double check myself in the dates and everything. But that could be traumatic, and I mean, I'm
Could
sure
pop
there was
around.
fights happening at the house around this time, and Casey may have just wanted to escape, and she probably didn't feel like going to school, and maybe she was being kept up late because her parents were fighting, and
You're
then
good,
she just
honey.
said, screw it, who knows? But
And yeah, we'll get into like a really good cadence once I have them kind of shaped and good to go.
She was on this path, and for some reason,
Yeah,
she really got to
the
her.
bad
And it just
girls.
affected her mentally and threw her off her game.
Claws.
It is nice.
That may have changed her perspective.
Well, it's like you also
May have changed
appreciate
based
your
on
natural
things that she
nails,
was
so you
seeing,
can see
things
like
that
where you're
she
like,
was
oh,
hearing.
I can already
A lot of
feel the
times
strength becoming
in the
infused.
household. Now that doesn't mean it could have been something that happened with, like you had said earlier,
Hard to get it
boyfriend
low
or
enough.
friend.
Oh, it's okay, honey. That's the thing. We're gonna have sensor fun. That's why I just said like, if you could also be mindful, because sometimes like I'll be so into it I won't realize that turns off, and then we have an issue because you want to make sure everything's curing for sure.
Do you believe that when it comes to Cindy and George, they were doing this more as trying to be supportive parents, or they were doing it
I love how he laughed because he's like that uncomfortable, like, oh no.
knows what's coming.
When you lie and let your daughter take money for graduation that never happened. That's not being
But I love
supportive.
Stephanie
And then
because
you
she
don't even
just
have her go
tell
back
it,
to school and
tells
actually
it like it
graduate
is.
to legitimize
Cuss
it in
people
some
out and
way. Like
stand
that's
up
my
for
kid. I'm gonna be like,
what
what
she
you're
believes in.
gonna leave school now? You think you're gonna leave school now, bitch? Oh no.
But that's what you
I
want,
lied to everyone.
right?
You
Right?
took money,
That's what
and
you
you're gonna
want,
graduate,
though.
And I don't care what the hell you do after.
And Derek is more so like, okay, let's give benefit of the doubt. Let's try and understand everybody.
Right?
And she's
And
like,
I love that.
she's just like, nope, I'm not. Not doing that.
She felt she had these big shoes to fill, and she
Now you want to
think
stick?
less of her, look down on her.
Really?
So, yeah, 100% self-preservation.
Annoying.
the self-preservation, the things they were doing for their own personal
So
gain, for their
perfect.
own
So you
personal
see here,
gains,
this we would just
was
bring
essentially
down like
enabling
that
Casey
and
to say,
then
hey, this is acceptable.
match them like we would take both of these and then
I'd
match
also
these as like close as
straighten
possible.
out some of my nails too, right?
Of course.
Some of them are a little crooked.
It's all good, honey. We'll make sure.
These are the
Let me
things that
first
we're
cleanse
to understand
this.
before
And then as soon as these two are like more of a good shape, we're not gonna like make it them perfect, but like so we have no extras. That's when we're gonna start building everything out. And then we'll be able to, once that's buffed and ready, go right into the design. And then I can also kind of show you the abstract one to kind of see like if you like the way it looks on your nail, and then everything else be the French that we were talking about.
And I wonder where she learned it from.
again, it sounds like someone else we know. We always go
Okay,
back
so
to our
during this
guys that
filing
have names.
process, if there's anything that hurts, anything that feels uncomfortable, just let me know right away.
Deny.
And then there's always like a reason, like, oh no, I didn't actually say my wife died. I said I lost her.
Yep, 1000%.
So, after
What are you? Where did you
high
come
school
from?
experiment,
You're not
Casey
welcome
continued
here.
living with her parents rent-free with no responsibilities
The
or
little
expectations.
flaps.
And in June of 2004, she began working for Event Imaging Studios. And her job
I
was to
love the
work
clear,
Kodak
getting to
picture
see the like
kiosks
tip
at
looks so
Universal
cool.
Studios. So essentially,
There's
she'd
certain
walk around the
designs
park,
that like
take
really work
pictures of
well
park
with like a
visitors, and then
long
try to
clear
sell
tip
them
where
these
you can like
pictures
make
as
it look like
souvenirs.
icicles
And
underneath and
people
like some
accosted
really
by
fun
one or
stuff.
two of these people.
That was the
In
one
the
nail
past, and I'm
I
over
did
here
on
like,
myself,
I have a cell phone,
which
dude.
was like
Am I
kind
right?
of
Icicles?
Go ahead, Vic.
No,
I was trying to sell you
but
these pictures
clear
for
on the tip.
$35.
Oh yeah.
And I put little
she was
like
actually good at her job.
stars
She
and
liked
stuff in it,
photography, so
and had it kind of
nobody
like
had any complaints. She
look
did a
like
good job. She
jelly
seemed
on
to be
top, you know, like
selling
thin
pictures, but it was
color.
here in January of 2005 that she met a
And I
man
did
who
have
would become very pivotal in her life for several
like
years to come.
extended
His
fake
name was Jesse
nails, like they
Grant.
were long.
Jesse
But
was
it-
working as an
I only did
undercover
one
security
hand, and
guard
it
for
took
the
me like
loss prevention
3
department at
days.
Universal Studios.
I feel
Casey
you on
caught his
that.
eye. Jesse said,
I've had
"He saw
nails
this
that have
young woman,
taken
short, very beautiful,
longer
very
than they
self-confident,
should have.
professionally,
Especially because I
working
didn't
on
know
But
what I was
stores.
doing
also,
fully,
like,
so
even when you do know what you're doing, like, a lot of this stuff is very precise, and you don't want to rush through it, because then you're curing something that's not perfect,
The
you know what I
relationship
mean?
moved quickly, and it was very intense from very early on.
I don't know how
Within
they do
2
that
weeks, Casey
salon
had
where
told
it's
Jesse
like,
that she
an
loved him
hour.
and
Do you want to
Jesse
know?
felt
It's
it was
also
early
because
to
they've
say
been
this,
doing it for
he was
years and
feeling the
years
same,
and
like,
years, but
passionate
some of those
emotions. He was
places,
like,
like when I've went
never
to
really,
really
say
high
out loud.
quality, you're
He
not in and
also
out in an
felt that
hour.
deep
It's
connection
not.
immediately, and
You're
Casey
like,
knew
especially
how to
because like I
make a guy
usually
feel
got a
special.
lot of like
Jesse said,
super
quote,
fancy
"He said
things
it
like
was different
artwork,
than
hand
everyone
painted
else. There was
stuff.
a
You
definitive
can't, like, there's certain
history
things you can
there.
do
And I had,
fast, but there's certain
dated other
things you
people before I
can't.
felt something
Like
very
you
different
can't
with Casey the I did with anyone
Crap
else.
out on that.
End
First time
quote.
I ever got my
But as
nails
most
done
things
at a
that start
salon,
out so intense,
it
they
was
couldn't
very
last.
uncomfortable
By
because
March, Jessie was
Mhm.
feeling
my guy
a bit
was
smothered
very
by
like
Casey. She
strong-handed
called
and
him all the
pinched
time. She
my
texted
fingers
him all the time.
and like
She
would
wanted to know where
turn
he
them.
was.
Because like the thing is like yeah, like you have to have a certain amount of strength because like if you're holding a certain tool, you can just and cut them, right? That's the dangerous part. But you're never supposed to squeeze so much that you're
And then like
hurting them.
twisting and like
Yeah.
you need to come this way, but no communication.
There has to be communication. That's why I'm trying to talk as much of this out with you as possible.
Went there in June of 2005 to help Jesse's little
You
brother
see
fill
how
out
I
job
meant like
applications.
this area
And at
here?
that point,
If we didn't have
Jesse's
that,
father,
then
Richard
when I do the full,
this on a side.
you're gonna have a
He
gap
was like,
here.
Yeah.
And it so at first it's like, why the heck is there all that extra? But
Who's the father?
there's a reason.
The father? And Jesse was
So
confused.
see how
He was
we're
like, what?
we're getting
What
the
are you
nail?
talking about? You know, he'd seen that Casey had been putting on some weight, but she told him that she was retaining water. So
And then obviously when we go
by
through our
June,
final buffing and
several
stuff,
people
we'll
are
we'll
going to
fix certain
notice
stuff.
that
But I just
Casey
want it as close to your
is
natural shape
pregnant
as
when
possible.
she's telling everyone that she's not pregnant. So on June 4th, Casey's uncle
I cleansed
Brad,
this, right? No,
Cindy's
this is
brother, he was
still.
getting married in
I was
South
like, I
Carolina.
feel
Both Cindy
tacky.
and Casey
That's
arrived
why I
late
said
for
like
the
this alcohol is
ceremony,
alcohol,
at which
alcohol,
point
alcohol,
Casey's
alcohol.
uncle Rick noticed
Because
that
there's
his
so many
19-year-old
little
niece was
things. You can't
clearly
buff it when it
pregnant.
has that
On the
tacky
topic's
inhibition
bridal
layer.
page, Rick
But
Plessy
that
said,
layer
quote,
acts as like a
"Casey was
slip
wearing
when
a
you're
tight
using
fitting
other
top.
things.
Her
So
belly
it's
was
it's
visibly
interesting. You
extended,
definitely need it, but
being
it can also
protruding of
hinder
blood
things.
package. I asked Cindy and George when we were alone, "Do you have some news
It's
to tell
like
me about Casey?"
I was like, I
They
haven't
said,
even checked to
"What are you
see if
talking
we're in
about?"
frame, if
I
they
said,
can even
"You
see
know,
what we're
she's
doing.
pregnant." They looked at me like this was crazy.
Or
They
like
say, "No,
working for an hour, I
she
look
is
up.
pregnant."
Oh, we're not even in the shot.
They said that they had asked
No, we're
why
good.
Casey
Everyone
told
had a
them
good view
she
of
would
your
have to
blue
have had
gloves.
sex
Right?
to
They're
be
just like, oh, look at
pregnant.
those
They believed
sexy
her.
blue
Everyone on
gloves.
my wife's side of the family said, "Who is the pregnant girl?" Even my wife's sons and her daughter asked. It was ridiculous. I told them to take her to a doctor. They finally did in July. She was nearly 8 months then. Talk about telling a lie. That is when I saw the first evidence of
Wow.
what a liar Casey was. End quote.
Not only a
First
liar
time
that
she
Casey
got
was.
any
Yeah,
medical help for
parents,
her
but
pregnancy was
but
already
again,
8 months.
it's like,
Right?
you know, I'm looking
Who?
at it and I'm
Because she was
wondering to
clearly
myself,
keeping it a
were
secret.
they just part of
Lying
the
to
lie,
people.
or were they just that ignorant, where they believed
Also,
that
how
they looked
wouldn't
Casey in
you
the eyes
see
and she
her
said,
body
"Mom,
changing
Dad,
and everything else?
I've
Like,
never even had
that's
sex
what
before."
gets
She said she
me.
was
Like,
a virgin. They told,
That's what
how
I'm
she
wouldn't
told
you
them
see
she was
that?
a virgin, and they believed her.
I truly
Her parents
believe at this
are
point,
enablers.
I don't think,
That
well,
is
like the
the
graduation
way
thing,
of
right?
it.
To
They are.
They knew she wasn't graduating.
Yeah.
They were part of the lie.
Yeah.
This sounds like a
Moving along with her
situation where
lives.
really they were just. Hey,
Sorry,
you
I
guys
need
are
you to-
engaged.
yeah.
Your daughter is a pathological liar, and she's lying to you. Let your eyes tell you what's going on here. She's pregnant. And I think when Rick went to them and said, "Hey, you know, Casey's pregnant," I truly believe that for some reason they wanted to believe her, even though their eyes were telling them something different. I don't know if they were in on it at that point.
That's what I
gets
said
me.
earlier, though. It's like willful ignorance. It's like you see what's in front of you, but you don't.
And
want
something
to
a
see
lot
it.
of
You
people
don't
try
want
to
it be
do
a
is
part of your
instantly go
reality,
like
so you're
this.
it's not.
When you're
It's not
doing
part of
like
it.
your
There's no way she-
sides, you
this
always
girl's
have to like
8 months
parallel and
pregnant.
go to the side here.
That's insane.
Because if you go like this, you're gonna start bringing the nail
It's like,
in.
okay, I'm not gonna
Where
tell
like
you
you're
what
cutting
happened.
too
That's
much.
her end game when she brings the cops
Yeah.
to Universal Studios to bring him
So
into
that
her
was
office.
something that I
She knows there's
definitely
no
learned.
office. She has no plans.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, if she was going to have like an abortion, something like that,
No.
she's well past that.
Yeah.
You know, so I could see if you didn't want
Yeah,
to tell
8
you when you were
months.
pregnant.
Oh my
early on in
God.
the pregnancy,
I'm 8
because you were
months,
planning on
so-
aborting the
Oh,
pregnancy.
that's
8 months
crazy.
pregnant.
That'd be like if
And you've already done one more month than I even got to experience in the womb. I was out at 7 months.
Now listen,
3
I,
pounds,
like,
4
I
ounces.
remember there used to be a show
Very
on.
premature.
I was
and
very
it was like,
premature.
they were pregnant
And I
they
actually
had to
came
do-
out with
but
my
these girls
umbilical
were, like,
cord
hiding
wrapped
their
around my
pregnancy.
neck.
They
That
were
happened to
baggy
me.
clothes, right? They
But
would
luckily
do
it was
everything to
the
stay out of
shape
sight.
of a
Whenever
spaghetti.
people see them,
It
they
was
had
so
baggy
thin. They're
clothes
like,
on.
how did
Casey's
she
over
even
here
get
flocking her
nutrients? But she
stomach
looks
and
good.
telling
They're like,
everyone
because
she's
it's
not
the
pregnant,
other
but there's
trimesters,
literally
like right
baby
now,
kicking inside
that
her.
you're
Like, you know
beefing
you're
up,
pregnant. You can feel
right?
it.
So
Yeah.
I was still so
Thinking,
small. Could I see your
heartburn,
other
all
thumb,
sorts of
honey?
things. Do not tell me that Casey did not know she was pregnant.
No, she definitely did.
And it's very odd to
Because
me,
I'm
right?
just doing this by
He's
eye,
saying
so
that
now we
you've
gotta
seen
actually look at
pictures of her. She's
these.
a very petite girl.
Okay,
She's
so we
short,
can
she's
lose
very
some of
slender.
that base there.
She could have been growing this
Bring
baby
that
inside of her
down.
for over half a year, and no one who lived with her in
Look,
her
could I
house
see a
noticed.
notch?
Her mother wasn't a nurse, for God's sake. Her mother
I
was a
actually
nurse.
have
Yeah,
looks
this is,
amazing. Yeah, just keep that there.
This is not normal.
I'm going
I've
to.
definitely
I have a
seen
little acrylic
situations where
pen
parents
that
will
works
enable their
really
child
well.
by covering up their lies or making justifications for things that they did that we all know are wrong. This is some next level stuff. This is not the norm, and it's when we put it in context of who we're talking about here, why we're talking about them, it is par for the course though.
I think they knew.
You think they knew deep down she was pregnant, but they wanted to believe she wasn't? Maybe?
Yeah, I
Or do
think
you
they knew deep down. And then they asked her, and she said no, and they were like, all right, good enough.
So
for
this
us."
is from the company I work with, Madam Glam, and these are little like acrylic pens.
Oh, we still haven't told anybody yet, and we're just, we're still
No,
lying
he said
about it.
they looked at him like he was crazy.
Yeah, I think either are they're good liars, but
What does it do?
that's an odd.
So I'm actually just using this as a guide.
Everyone is who's the pregnant girl?
Yeah.
And then even, Jesse's father noticed.
Since I haven't
Jesse's
used
like,
it,
she's
it's
just
like
retaining water. Like, are you stupid, Jesse?
deciding to,
Yeah, only in her belly.
What's
Yeah, pump it
happening?
out.
right?
So apparently Casey
Come
had this
on.
this effect on people. Where
What I
she
was
would
gonna
just
do
gaslight
is
the
just
shit
kind
out
of
of them,
get
but they'd
this
become,
corner
like,
here.
willing,
I can see it enough.
willfully ignorant, obedient servants.
Just so I know
This
like
happens
where
a
not
lot
to go.
with her.
Well, there is
Because
like
I'm gonna have to,
a courtesy to
if
you,
these
but you
are
don't wanna be
more
that person
similar,
that
right?
says,
This
"Oh,
is too long,
congratulations, we're
this
assuming
thumb.
someone's
Okay, you could
pregnant."
take her
And
away
come
for
to
a little
find out
while.
they're not, 'cause that's an insult, right? It's like they might have put on a few
Yeah,
pounds.
my
so-
dad does that to people all the time.
Oh, shit.
It's so awkward.
Hey, congratulations.
He does. Once he even touched someone's belly.
Oh,
I had to explain to him because he's a foreigner. He wasn't born here. I'm like, listen, in America, you don't do that shit, man. You don't do it. He's like, I'm just gonna. You can't touch people's bellies whether they're pregnant. He's like, I thought she was pregnant. I was like,
it doesn't matter.
That's a
That's what I asked you. I said, is it okay if I touch your belly? Because it doesn't matter if we're friends or anything. You can't just take the consent away there. What if you don't want to be touched? Then you have the right to say, do not touch me. Sorry guys, I just realized that was really out of shot.
Also the comments,
True, when
too.
you have, I forget what it's called,
When people
but
just go up to you and
it's
they're like,
something
oh,
that women
like,
have, and you can get
how
a very
come- are you gonna
disgusted
pop
habit.
soon or something like that?
Some of the some of the comments are just absolutely horrible. Or you're really big. It's like no matter what, that doesn't feel good to anybody, even if you know you're pregnant,
Yeah.
right? And also, I feel like an alien in my body right now. So like, you saying that does not help. Like,
Two separate people at the hospital tell me I look too small.
yeah, that's also not okay.
Where they'd be like, how far along
Also,
are
getting
you?
it gets you worried too, because you're thinking like, am I not okay?
So they say that, and I'm thinking, like, oh, that's like, we're bonding, right? I'm 32 weeks, and they're like, oh, really? You don't look that big, or you're pretty small for 32 weeks. And it's like, why would you say that?
Thanks for the insecurities, ma'am. Sorry, could you loosen up here? Yeah.
I told my doctor, and she was like, don't listen to what people say. Unfortunately, that people are going to make comments and they shouldn't. But she said I was fully normal.
Kaylee is born, they continue to do it.
Sorry, normally we would have been so much further, but like when we do have to build these out, it does take a little bit of extra time. But I also don't want to rush through these because I don't want to work like so hard on these beautiful nails for you and then just have them break on you. Like we definitely don't want that. We want that enhancement to be as good as possible.
Especially if I'm away and I don't have, I need to be like, hey,
Hey, could
can
I,
you fix it?
right? Exactly. Like all of that.
It gets real.
Isn't that crazy though how real that looks? Like that's starting to look just like your nail. Like it's pretty crazy. That's why I do like these enhancements. I find that they look so much more natural.
As far as our format, we just spend, close to an hour.
Could I
and a
have your
half,
thumb
maybe a
back?
little less than that, talking about
Okay,
Casey
we
and her
still have a
family.
little
We
bit
haven't
extra on
mentioned-
here.
We're not even up to the birth of Kaylee yet. And I really do think that's the difference when you want to understand a story in its entirety, when you're going to come to a conclusion. Whatever
I never like to go too much because you can always take away, but you can't get it back.
That's very true.
You can, but I mean, that's just like a whole other process. So we're gonna leave this for now, and then I can go back in and finalize, but I definitely don't want to take away too much.
It's foundational.
When you
Okay, can I
file and
see
ship the rest of them, you'll get it.
that part, because I just don't want to overdo it and then we have an issue.
These organizations got involved.
It's already looking like so very natural though to your.
The media sector decided to start covering this story. They didn't go far. They didn't go this
Like they
far.
never broke.
And it's
Right?
kind of unfortunate that people are making those opinions
Okay,
off
so
a very limited amount of information. You want to make an
gotta
opinion on
get this
something,
tip here
get as much
gone.
information as you can about the case, about the person that you're making these opinions about, and then go from there. And I think that's what we're doing.
It's like it looks so good. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do it, but I know that we've got to, because then you're just gonna have this long fella just sitting out here, and also like as your nails grow, we can work on it. You know what I mean? Like your length and
irrelevant. Like, oh, I just want to hear about the case.
we just want something that looks as natural as possible. And even if it's like, we want it as perfect as possible, but we also want it to aim for that natural.
You can't just
Let's look at these now.
You gotta go back to when she was a child and how she viewed family.
Yeah,
and how
we're
she
almost
viewed
there, so I'm not going to
parents and
do
how they
this
treated
yet.
their
We're going to wait, because I don't want to go too deep here and have that same issue happen.
down the road. So, you know,
So we just repaired it. We don't want to have to do all this stuff again. So let me cleanse, right? And so, you know how you felt like there was too much? That's where we had to go in and kind of fix that.
really interesting stuff.
Yeah, and I don't
It's
think
interesting a lot tonight.
and that's interesting.
That's it. It did.
I think that obviously
Sure.
everyone knows. I mean, if anybody's been following me for a while, I crack Casey Anthony jokes all the time because I truly do not like her, and I truly do believe that she did this and she knows what happened because
Yep.
she says she doesn't know what happened.
You
but I
see,
think
like
she
that,
does.
that's pretty seamless. So I'm really happy that we did that. I was pooping my pants the whole time, but I'm glad it worked well.
Before she was a monster, you know, nothing's gonna stop or change the fact that now she's a monster to me. But
So when you
before
said that,
she was
oh, we're
a
like
little
so
girl, she
out
was a
of
kid, man. She was a
frame, it's not even funny.
that
There we go.
people
I
around
just,
her decided to
we were
just
all
shit
zoomed
all
in.
over on essentially, like, and
I don't
see
have my
something
normal
like
crew in
kids,
here, so
you
usually
ask
they
how
would
do you
just
feel
tell me,
about
hey,
that? How do you feel about
Raven.
her? Raise your kids good.
I can't
treat them
see.
with kindness. Treat them with love. Show them how to treat others with kindness and love.
But it's
treat
all
them,
good.
show
The
them
most
their moral
important
life. Like,
person in
I
the
know
room right now
cheating's
is you. So
you know,
as long as you're
super
having a
simple
good time, that's all that
on
matters.
paper, but it is complicated as a parent to do all the things. You
We're
never know if you're doing the right
bonding,
thing.
we're
But what
listening
you
to
don't
true
do
crime.
is
Oh,
the
you
shit
need this one?
that Cindy and George
We're
did.
bonding,
They
doing
pretty
all that.
much
Yeah, because I think we
taught
just
her
cleansed
how
this
to
girl
lie.
too. We
Like,
can
it's
cleanse her again.
privileged
Have a
her
cleanse
from the
party.
moment she was
So
born
during this
how to
cleansing,
lie,
is there
how
any
to
parts that are
conceal.
stinging you or anything
They
like
just
that?
completely escape
Just
all
a little bit on
repercussions.
Just a
this
little bit
one.
on here.
That's
Okay,
not
so
her
fault,
we probably
but
just
it's
have a little
something we should be keeping
sensitivity.
it
So
up.
at the end of the service, I'm going to put a teeny bit of
She had the
polysporin right
decision
there,
to make
just so
hers.
if there's the teeniest nick or anything like that.
Yeah.
I was doing all that chores today. I probably nicked
Oh.
it or something.
But we'll just make sure. So right now, if you guys see, I didn't take a before picture, and I want to hit myself right now. Let me see if I can just take one before we start. Because that's a big no-no. I wish we could have showed the broken nails and all of that too. It's okay. So we could just have you have the tight fingies here and tight. Yep, you can still go on the side. That's gorgeous. There we go. I'll just help you.
Or set healthy boundaries,
Hand pose.
right? Yeah.
Right.
Maybe, you know, listen, if it's your sister, your brother who's kind of
And then bring your thumb in a little bit. Yeah.
or Cindy, maybe hearing this story and realizing that it didn't just start off this bad, it got to that point over time. Maybe this is the point where you say to them, not
I'm
using
bring
this as
my
reference, but
pinky
just
in
say,
and then
listen,
go in.
this is
Oh, it's perfect, honey.
you sure you want
It's just your other pinky wanted to do a whole dance, and I was like, wait a minute.
Or what?
Wait a minute, Mrs. Post Girl.
You could try to call them out, but
So I'm going to do a little reel out of this. So I was like, you know what? Let's captivate. Because it's not going to look like this for very much longer.
cut them
Okay.
off. It's okay. It doesn't
At least we
matter.
have some of the start
You're
here,
allowed to
so
set healthy boundaries
we can
for
see.
yourself.
You
You're
have the
allowed to
base
be-
now.
you're allowed to
Yes, so now we
feel
have your
like
base. So
people
now perfect apex. So I don't want to build too much. I want to work thin. And even if we have to go back in with another thin layer, we will. But this is so perfect that I don't want to. Yeah, right? She's.
Is this one? I don't think this one is as good.
So this one is almost perfect, but this is the product that needs here. So we're going to work on that and make sure that we have. So this is going to be the fun part. Guys, ready, ladies and gentlemen?
Well said.
This is the main event.
All right, guys. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for being here. Remember to follow us on social
You're
media,
like, already?
Instagram and
Oh my
Twitter
goodness.
at Crime Weekly Podcasts.
One day we're a hero.
Part
We're a
two.
hero. One day
Yeah.
you're going to say that, and you're going to say it with conviction.
What would your life be like if you were a rapid transformational therapist?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Crime Weekly. I'm Stephanie Harlow.
And I'm Derek Labasso.
Before we dive into today's video, let's have
That's honestly the biggest thing I would suggest if you're ever doing your nails as well is invest in a cleanup brush. The cleanup brush will be your best friend, and you'll be surprised what you can do. But without that cleanup brush,
The set I got came with some little brushes and the detail brush. They got like little dotting tools on the other
Oh,
side.
yes.
Others are straightforward.
I just need
and
to
all are compelling in their own right.
learn how to use them, and then also I don't have acetone, so I need to get that so I can clean them.
that's the thing. That's the big. You can use alcohol, but if you do, be very careful and make sure you're constantly cleaning that brush, so you don't have a lot of product. Then you can just also clean up with alcohol, but you don't want to have too much mixing of that gel and the.
Also, I like how you poke holes in your like bottles so that you don't just dump a whole bunch. You get like a proper.
That's I do it with all of my stuff because then you have a free flow versus the. And then you're like, oh, that's too much product.
Bitch, please. All fragrances are vegan.
Bitch,
cruelty-free.
please.
Personally, my favorite is
She's great.
the Morning After. So it's Confessions of a Rebel Morning After. It's got a very citrusy smell, which I love in fragrances. So they use vibrant Italian lemon, and that mingles with herbaceous notes like cardamom and lavender with geranium.
Right, you're like, you're making me hungry.
Coconut wood. I don't know what all of these things are or where they are in
Baby
the fragrance.
wood.
All I can
Oh,
tell you
really?
Yeah.
is that it's so
Hi,
good. It's
baby girl.
rich,
And if
it's
you need
light,
to, or baby
citrusy,
boy,
it smells very,
if you
very good.
need
And I like that Confessions
to
of a
get
Rebel
up
is,
at any point and take a
one or the
break,
other,
a
like
movement,
traditionally
anything, you just let me know
masculine, but women love it too.
instantly.
So this scent
On
is
my
traditionally
feet all the
masculine.
time.
Okay,
I'm
good.
enjoying sitting.
I'm happy
Derek's
you're
actually gonna
enjoying it.
tell
I'm
you
just
what he's
making
received
sure
too.
I'm
We'll
not
see how
like.
he's liking them.
I'm not
I've
hurting
actually got
you
three
or-
items from Confessions of a
Thank
Rebel.
you for being
Really liking
considerate.
all of it. I have the
Of course,
deodorant
sweetheart. I
right
want to
here.
make
We
sure
have
you and
Mondays.
baby are perfect.
And we're not saying the
And as
whole
happy
name.
as
We don't wanna
possible.
be demonetized. But we also have the body wash, and then we have the what you've been talking about, which is the Morning After. It really does smell amazing. If you guys want to
I was
check
like,
it out,
this
all
was
you have
worked
to do
on
is
you,
click
so
the
that's
description
okay.
below.
If this was on anybody else, it would not be okay.
20% off the Confessions of a Rebel fragrance. We want to thank Confessions of a Rebel for sponsoring this week's episode. Let's get into the case.
So today we are jumping into part
Hey,
2
hot stuff.
of the Kaylee Anthony series. Couple quick announcements before we get started. Derek, take it away.
I like how you said announcements, like they're like big things. First off, reading all the comments, I totally forgot to address it after doing it. It's kind of funny, but as you can see, there's a picture in the background, and it's like me in like a Spartan outfit. Stephanie bought me that as a Christmas gift, a gag Christmas gift. She's got her stuff coming. I'm just
Come
waiting on
see.
one item, but basically that's all it is. I don't want you guys out there thinking I had that painted of myself, because everyone's been super nice in the comments. Some people said it looks like Iron Man. Some people got what it was. But I'm like, holy shit, that's been up in like the last 2 or 3 episodes. And I put it up to show you, and then totally forgot it was back there.
It was not a gag gift. It was completely serious.
Like, you like commissioned.
Okay, so I can just gently have you turn your hand here.
It was Da Vinci.
The only reason why I always say gentle is it's inevitable. There can be things in the air, and we just never want things to stick during this
I
time.
got my Simpsons character over here.
And the faster we move, the chances we have of hitting things and stuff like that is also very large.
You know, from obvious
Washing your big
situations.
mitts
This
to
guy
there
over
like a
here-
fly
That's
trap.
why I try not to, because I talk with my
Yeah,
hands.
that's what it is. Second thing, really quick as
So you can
well.
pop that in.
You see, if you don't know what I'm talking about.
Now, are you experiencing any
I'm
burning?
not saying this right now.
Okay, on to the next hand, my love.
Some
Right,
stuff
Burning?
that I put
A little bit
together in a
bad.
kit. I I said that I was going to
Got it on the 90. I'm also going to make sure we got a 90-second on here too. And I just went over there. So these are both under 90 seconds now.
It went in fine, and then it started to get a little
And
toasty.
that can happen. So
It's not like supposed to be like this business thing. It was just something I was doing because I thought a few people.
this builder gel is actually my favorite. This is how I feel like I've gotten my nails so long and strong.
Yeah, I mean that's.
So that's also why I try to be very like delicate during these moments, because this is really your foundation. And if I don't do a good job here, your nails won't be strong. And then you go through all of this for what, right? Like, there's inevitable. We can do things, crack nails, all this stuff, but you want it to be as strong as possible.
Maybe I'll do like a pre-order to kind of preemptively plan for how many I need to have these guys make. Because we were saying like one of the items is made on like a 3D printer. This guy's got like a small 3D printer that he's making them with. So it's an involved process, and so I appreciate everyone who bought them. If you're one of the people that got them, I have the cards that are going in.
I've become so ambidextrous, it's not even funny, because I have to do like my other hand as well. And sometimes I'll see myself doing something and I'm like, okay, you've learned how to use your hands to the best of their ability. That's not a bad thing.
That's all I have. That's my announcements.
Yeah, you know, while they last.
Yep,
'cause I don't think he's
definitely,
getting
especially
rid
when
of
you're doing
it.
this. You don't realize all the damn angles. You gotta be an angle queen. You gotta try this angle and this angle, and to get everything good. That's why, like, if you don't have a good relationship with the person that you're doing their nails, communication's gonna break down, and you're not gonna give them the best service, because you're not gonna know to tell them to turn this way or to do this, or right. So it's like communication is so huge during nails. I think that's what also happens at the salon. You're afraid to upset somebody. You don't want to. You might not be able to articulate what you want, and then they're doing something, and then you just leave not happy because you weren't able to really get what you wanted in the first place.
I've seen a lot of that online with nail salons and hair salons where people don't speak up and they don't like what the service they got, and then they just leave. They pay, tip, and leave unhappy.
And that's why, like, throughout the service, I'm constantly asking questions, because I don't want to find out that an hour and a half into the chair, you didn't like something I did in the first 5 minutes. Like, that's not gonna wage for a good working relationship or anything like that, right? So I really do like to ask, and that's why I love you. You've been so expressive of what you need and want, and
Make you so comfortable.
I want you to feel comfortable, because again, if we both are on edge, the stuff that's going to come out of here isn't going to be beautiful. It's going to be stress. And I want us both to feel at ease, and that's why I was asking in the beginning, like, is it painful? How is it for you? All of those questions, because isn't it super shiny?
But mainly in our purposes here, she was
I'm
9
gonna get a
months
suntan
pregnant.
just on my
By the
hands.
time her parents, Cindy, George,
It can happen. If you find that if it's happening too much, I can get out the gloves,
8 months pregnant.
but it shouldn't be
Those of you
anything
who don't
crazy.
know,
But you
she
will
was
notice a
pregnant
little
for,
bit of that.
Yeah.
roughly 9 months.
That's the Madam Glam. They harness this in.
2 to 10 months.
I got to plug this in a second. She's gonna die on
She's
us.
very far along at this point. And apparently the fact that their teenage daughter was pregnant and had lied about it for months, that was not a problem for them. Nor was the fact that she didn't seem to know who the baby's father was.
So,
or she
like,
didn't
again,
want
like
to
this
say.
cleanup
There's going to be
part,
a lot
I
of
really
talk
find this is the
about
difference
how
of
the
making
dynamic
something
between
look
Casey
professional,
and her
and
parents is very
where it
toxic.
just looks like
The
you've
dynamic that would develop between
done it at
Casey's daughter,
home.
Kaylee,
Which there's nothing
and
wrong
her
with doing it at
parents.
home, but
It was
you
more of a
gotta make sure you have those little
parent-child
nuances so that you.
grandchild and grandparent relationship. And from the moment George and Cindy found out that Casey was pregnant, it seemed that they already felt a bit possessive of her child. George Anthony said that when he found out he was going to be a grandpa, he was off the charts happy, higher than the clouds, and he and Cindy began going with Casey to her doctor's appointments and sonograms. And allegedly, when Casey finally told them she was in fact expecting a baby, her parents didn't even ask who the father was. And as far as they knew, Casey wasn't even seeing anyone at that time. They'd never even heard the name Jesse Grund before. And if you remember from part 1, Jesse was actually the guy that Casey was dating at the time that she was 8 months pregnant. They didn't even know he existed. So George Anthony claims that they
So
didn't
most
address
of
the
all of your
question
nails are
of
longer than
Casey's
this one. Do
paternity.
you want to
2
stick
days
to
later,
like the
Casey told
majority
her
of the
parents
length here?
that she thought
Or did
her
you
child's
want some
father
of that
may have
down
been
so
this
they're all
one
this
guy
length?
she was seeing on and off, but she didn't really want to think
Because
about
it
that
won't,
at the
it
time.
won't
She
look
just
so
wanted to focus
drastic,
on
but I
having
don't
her
know
baby,
how you
and her
feel.
parents didn't
Is that
want
one?
to put
Sometimes
Is that one
pressure
shorter?
on
this
her.
one's just by a
George Anthony
fraction
said,
shorter than
quote,
all the
"I
rest.
know one thing
Are you
about
able to
pregnancy with
lengthen
a
it just a
woman.
little
If you
bit?
put a lot of pressure on them, that can
I
affect
can
the
see
child.
because
With
we
sending
have one in
nurse
with
and
the
stuff
I've
that she
began to
is,
start
with different
building
things we
here.
talked about,
But
he
I
just
can
said,
try
let's just
to
get her through
grab
this
the
thing and we'll eventually get into knowing who
the
the
dual,
father is.
not the dual
End
form, the
quote.
paper form, and see
Now, there's a lot of
if we
people,
can build
including mental
something out
health
for you.
professionals,
That
who
one,
believe that the reason
I
they didn't
did
ask,
break
the
at
reason
one
they didn't push
point,
her,
so
was because
can I
the
show you
Anthony's
more?
didn't really care who
So
Casey's
if
father
you
was.
look,
Just
sorry if you
that
can turn
one
this
more
here.
person who would get in the way
If you
of
look,
their
those two
relationship
are
with Casey's daughter.
repairs.
But
Like they
Casey
cracked
Anthony
the
would tell
thumb
many
and
different stories,
the middle
many
finger.
different lies about
So
who
we
her
repaired
dad
those
was,
at.
depending on who she was talking to.
You know, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm gonna get
Good
killed
help
for this in the
again?
comments. But I try to like put myself to like.
Did we win?
Because my kids are so young.
Must be
But
like
if
halftime
my
or
daughter
something.
came to me and
You
told
can
me she
pop
was
her in.
pregnant, I'd probably ask once, like, you know, do you know
I
who
put
your
it on the
father is?
90, so that should be
If
better.
she was like, no, I don't, you know,
Okay,
I
so
really don't want to get into that right now. We're not together. I wouldn't really care either. Because either way, now, like, this is my daughter. She's having a child, and I'm going to love that child either way. So if the father doesn't want to be involved and she doesn't want him involved, then I'm going to be there for her. Now, with this family, I get what you're saying. It's
this is
probably a
almost
lot
like
different,
so
but just looking
perfect
at it,
because of your
surface
curvature,
level,
which I'm like
before you talk
obsessed
about
with.
it,
Thank you. I've never
doesn't
had
sound
anyone tell
like
me
a
that
terrible
before.
thing to me.
Oh my
Like,
god, you give good
I'm not
curves,
like
but I'm just checking here because I
blown
want to
away
make
by
sure.
maybe that would be the case for
Because
some
this
other
is the
fathers.
area
Maybe
that
I was
we
the
patched
one.
at.
I don't know. Give me a look a little bit.
I think that
And that's why
I
if you
really
see,
don't
like I
know what
didn't
you would do
file
in
there
that
because I
situation.
wanted to
Like,
keep
it
building
would be
and
one
then
thing,
make
right, if
sure.
Casey's like, I don't know who the father is.
Yeah,
Like, I
so
just don't.
darn
Yes,
pretty.
you know,
I'm
just
very
watching these where she was
impressed.
telling her parents you have to
Thank
be,
you.
you know, having sex to get pregnant, and now
You're
she's telling
welcome.
them I don't even know who the father is, which means you must have been with, you know, enough people to be confused.
So like once we have
about
this
it.
ironed
So,
out, I
you know,
will
here's
do a
already,
buff
like,
because we want to make
complete
sure if there's
curveball
any
in the
areas
story.
of
They just thought
seepage,
their
like
daughter had immaculate
sometimes
conception,
it's
and all of a sudden
inevitable,
she's saying, I don't know who the
but you
father
just
is.
want to make sure
And it
that
would be
that's
one
like
thing
as
if she
clean
said,
as
he
possible
does not
before
want
you
to be
go
involved. But she didn't
go in
say
with the
any of
design.
that. So what if he does want to be involved and he just doesn't
And
know?
then that's
As
when
a
we can play
father,
with like building
tell
up the
your daughter,
abalone
like,
and
I
stuff and
get it if
seeing
you
what
don't
really
like this
works.
person, but if this
I'm
is his
excited for
child,
that.
And
he has the
also
right
like
to know.
nothing's
He
set in
has the
stone,
right
so
to
we
be
can
a
also
father.
wipe
Does he
off
know?
the
And
foil if you
holding
don't
her
like the way
definitely needs
it's
to be a
turning
conversation. Or
out.
maybe why does she not want to tell the father? Has he been abusive? Is she scared of him? Like, there's all these factors that you have to
I
find
do
out
see
and
it now.
wonder
That one is shorter.
why this
Yeah, I
girl
could
who's
see it
pregnant
right
and
away
alone
when I was.
doesn't
It's just I
even
would have
wanna, you know,
preferred to
have the
build it
father
out like before I
involved, or even
started
tell her parents
Yeah.
who this person is.
building all the
Yeah, it's
other.
good, some good points.
I'm
But
attached now. It's
who knows
hard
what
to
they're saying
file the
behind
rest
closed doors. I
down,
don't
you
think
know.
it
That's
would
what I was
be
saying. I was
the
like,
right
did you want to
way. I
leave
just try to put
her
myself
or
in
I've
their
done it
shoes.
before and it makes me
I probably have all
sad.
those conversations.
OCD?
Said, okay, listen,
Oh, you mean you've cut them before
this
and
guy
Like,
wants any
I
part of
broke
this, he
one
has
and
the
I
right
was
to
just
know,
like, you know
but,
what? I'll
at
just
the
cut
end of
them
the day,
all
I
off and
also
start
really
all
want to
over.
yeah, we don't want to do that. That's what I was saying. Like sometimes with natural nails, people will like opt to leave like that one a little bit shorter just so that they don't have to like commit the genocide on their nail.
Yes, true. You don't want to
Love you,
stress someone
baby.
out when they're pregnant. You know, it could affect her and the baby. I see both
Okay, so
sides.
slowly
I'm trying
turn.
to be impartial here.
I didn't roll my eyes. I tilted my head
Perfect.
and lifted my eyes in a
Oh my gosh, Policious Nails. Hi, sweetheart. I'm so sorry I didn't see you. How are you doing, beautiful?
Okay, well, we're looking at it's Casey.
We are we're rocking out some nails for
She's an adult.
Miss
Like,
Des.
you're not gonna put her under this
She has a
disordered
wedding to attend with her
pressure
partner,
by
so we
asking
want to
her
make
a
sure
question that she
there's
just
some
hasn't
heartfelt
answered. Women
jewelry
have
that she's going to
these
be,
words not gonna break.
you can place that in,
It's
that she's going to be wearing, so we want to try to patch it. I just got here. I'm good. Okay, happy. And actually, that was a good indicator. Let's plug this in so we don't lose anybody.
Sit. paint. Sorry,
I
go
can,
ahead.
I can see it.
Oh, Policia said that you are a wonderful canvas. Trust me, these are some of the most beautiful natural nails I've ever seen.
So sweet. Thank
We might
you.
have others. We might have
Pop
others.
this in here.
Pushing away. They spent 5 minutes on whether or not they
There we go.
You know how much I cared. Okay, so In July, after she got confirmation from the doctor that she was pregnant, Casey called her ex-boyfriend Jesse Groom.
I'm like, can I
He
make
was in a
this tighter? Because
seminar
this thing is
where
going
he
to be
had
taking
to
me
start,
out.
so obviously, I
Right?
can't hug right
Don't
now.
worry, I'm used to this thing trying to
So she texted
fall
Jesse,
all
quote,
over the
"I'm
place.
pregnant and
Think
you
that's
are the
gonna work.
father," end
You have a
quote.
system.
Initially,
Oh
Jesse
yeah,
believed
nothing
that
scares
he
me at
was
this
the
point because
father of
we've done so
Casey's
many
child,
lives where
but he told
I had
her
wax
that
fall one time and spill everywhere, and I was like, you know what? Everybody that's on here is usually very kind, so it don't matter. So as that's going, we'll go back in with these girls.
It wasn't even an
She
option.
wanna
She wasn't
love.
going to consider it. Now there is some question about
I
the whole
have
adoption
gunk
situation.
on here.
According to legal
I
court
started
documents,
sticking to the
Casey's
table, and I was like,
Kiyomari Torres
Miss Ma'am,
claimed that Casey was
you
considered
had
adoption.
one job.
And Kiyomara, who was unable to have children of her own, she
Okay, so
offered
these
to
are almost
adopt
completely
Casey's baby.
perfect,
And
but I
Casey
do want
apparently
to put
thought
a
it was a
little
good
bit
idea.
more
And she was
here,
like, yeah,
just a
I'm gonna
little bit
consider
around
that.
there.
You know, I'll get back to you.
So we're
But then
gonna.
she called Kiyomara back, and she said that even though she really
Are you wearing Nightmare Before Christmas leggings? Yes, I
told
am.
her there was
I sure
definitely
am. That's
not
one of my
going to be an
favorite
adoption in Casey needed to keep her baby.
favorite
So
movies.
it's really
I love Tim
unclear
Burton.
where Casey actually stood on that topic, and she could have just been lying to
Yes.
Kiyomara and been like, "Oh yeah, that sounds good." You know, she
I
doesn't
want
look
to work on a
conflict,
set of
so
press-ons
she may
that
not have
are
wanted to say no
Emily,
outright, and then she calls back and
Emily
she has
and
like a
Victor.
scapegoat, like, "I want to do it. I want to do it for you," but my mom says no. You know, so we don't really know if it's Casey Anthony, but she's a wild card.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it could be all of the above. Any one of those things are plausible.
And when Casey told Jesse that the baby was his, they didn't get back together right away, but he promised.
Okay, so
that he
one thing you
would
don't want, I don't know if you can
her
see
and their
this,
child.
but when you're
Even though
looking
the
at it,
same
right,
thing was doing the math in his
you
head,
don't
it
want
was
to
like,
dip here.
how is
You
it
want it to be a
Yes.
complete. So there was a small dip, so I added a bit more product, but we don't want to add so much that we have like
with the numbers and
a bulking.
pregnancy being a
I've
certain
had
amount of
someone do
time,
my
like,
nails
she
before,
clearly had
and there was
conceived
dips in all
before
of
we even
them.
met. So Jesse claimed what
So that's what I want to try to avoid. That's why I said I'm really scared to do this on you because I didn't want to have that happen. But as well, you said you'd work with me, so if we had to do a little bit of filing and stuff like that, you were okay with that. So that's what made me feel a lot more comfortable to do this because I knew you're not going to be. Some people are scary because this is a lot of work that you're putting in, and people can make you feel like anxious, like you're shaking all over the place because they're like, oh, I don't like this or this. So that's why I try to be really communicative and like, you tell me you don't like something, we'll change that right away. But once I cure it, we can't. So it's like, tell me beforehand. So that's the one thing that aggravates me is like, I'll be like, is this okay? Is this okay? Yes, 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 cured. Well, I'd prefer if you did this. It's like, communicate with me, please.
Speak now,
Because
forever
hold your
peace.
pieces, right?
Yeah, I think this one probably needs to work.
Oh, just for safety reasons, we can't say where the wedding is, but it's definitely in BC, so it's going to be beautiful. Oh, is it New Brunswick? Okay, so we can say that. It's not near our homes. It's in New Brunswick, so they're going to be traveling. Oh, you're going to have to get on a plane and everything.
8-hour flight.
Oh, so you had to get special clearance with the Bubba?
Yep.
Oh my
I get a note from
goodness.
the doctor.
I was
Even
going
though
to say.
I have a healthy pregnancy and I'm at early enough weeks that I should be fine. Sometimes the airline will just see you're pregnant and be like, nope.
Oh, wow. No, I know you can get turned away, so I was happy that you did the extra mile
So I
there.
went
to-
ahead, I got the doctor to write a note out with their number in case the airline needs to contact them with proof of how far along I am and that everything's healthy and as it should be.
I'm here for my
Yes.
daughter. I'm here for my granddaughter and grandson, and you're saying now like, yeah, that's an option, but it also could be based on what we're learning that maybe George knew who the father
I'm
of the
just
baby
going to
was.
ask you to flip
That's
in
why
just
he
a
was
second.
kind of like very passive about it.
Yeah, so you were thinking like as a non-dysfunctional person, as a
Yep, flip.
non-toxic person in a completely normal family dynamic, you would be like asking but not pushing.
I have never
because
been to New
you just wanna
Brunswick.
know
I'm glad she got a plane approved. Congratulations to you. She also said she's sorry before she typed it. She didn't think about safety concerns, but that thank you for sharing that and she hopes you have a safe flight. You're sweet, Pelicious. We're sending you all of the love. She has a YouTube channel as well, and her art is gorgeous. If anybody's watching the replay, check out Pelicious Nails Studio. You will not be disappointed.
Not that she has said. And personally, I will say that
Put her in. She's too perfect. We want to cure her. Okay, so yes, now let's look at this girl.
it's so
Okay, so I have a bit of product. We've got to take away from the side
later
here.
on. But
Okay, this needs a little bit more TLC.
young age, you're constantly
So that's why I said your nails are so perfect. Yeah, I'm gonna, and then we'll start working on this girl. There's not much that I've got to do, but there is, like, we still want to make sure we build that out as perfect as possible. There is some area here that doesn't have enough product.
Yeah.
The sidewalls are one of the hardest areas because you don't want it to pool, but also it will completely frig up the shape if you don't have enough product there.
This hand is the not as good hand.
Your problem, child. Okay, so try to aim downwards. Yes.
That is why 2 of the nails were broken.
Oh,
Or 3 actually.
oh no. Let me.
I'm not left-handed, but I tend to break the nails on my left hand more.
Case is a wild card. Like,
Oh my gosh, she's like, you're so sweet. I'm nowhere near the talent that you have. And I don't know if I ever told you. My actual name is Lisa. You have not, Lisa. Thank you so much. And stop this. We all have different strengths, but it doesn't make anybody more talented. Just more versed in something. And you can always strengthen your skills. So you don't have to ever feel. There's always something we can all learn as artists.
I don't know.
So I said this is going to be a freestyle. We're going to find out what works for us because we're trying to build out some abalone shells for our queen here.
Was born on August 9th, 2005.
And I'm going to go in here in a second and,
She had told her parents
sorry,
that
I do
Jesse
have to
Braun
apply
was
pressure
Kaylee's
just to
mother.
take that
And
tiny
so
bit of
obviously
spillage.
Jesse shows up in the hospital because he also
Sorry, I know that
thinks he's
doesn't
Kaylee's
feel
father,
good.
and the baby's born now.
I just want to make sure, right? I just want to make sure that that area is perfect. I never realized how much of a perfectionist I was until I started doing nails, but it's also a good thing because you have to have your attention to detail, or it just doesn't look good. You're curing things, right? So you got to make sure.
They could be the ones to step in and help her, and that meant they wouldn't lose Casey or Kaylee. And I really think that's important. It's my theory, but it's also the theory of many mental health professionals, people who know these things. So
just remind me, I'm going to go back into the side here, but I just want to apply this girl here so you can just place her down.
Was born full term, and later in an interview he said, quote, "Well, I'm not a doctor, but I know you have to be pregnant for 9 months to have a baby full term, as far as I understand. And we were not together until the end of January, and the baby was born full term in August. It would be tough for the math to add up for me to biologically be her father." End quote. Now,
Oh, she's been a nail tech for over 10 years, and when I saw your skill, I just fell in love with you. Oh, stop this, honey. Thank you so very much. I love the art, the nail art factor. That's why this is going to be really fun as soon as we get this foundation. But you can't skip the foundation process because then you got gorgeous nails on a gross foundation and everything is just going to pop off. I'm going to be really interested because Des does a lot of household, cleaning and all sorts of stuff, so I'm going to find out how much these stay to the test.
Right at the business end of things, at the center of reaction, like watching the baby come out. Okay, I think it's real weird. Where are you on this? You gonna be in the room down there when your girls are having babies?
I personally wouldn't. But I don't feel as strong about it as you do. I'll say that. Like, I think there are definitely
Personally,
relationships
I would
between,
not, but
I'm not gonna ever say names, but between fathers and daughters who are like in their 20s, and I see them on social media and they're like very kissy huggy, and it's like some people are more like that.
That's different.
Well, there's things I'm not giving too many details here because it may connect to some people that I know people who connect the
In
dots.
some cultures, grown men
So
still
I
kiss their
personally
fathers
wouldn't
on
do
their lips.
that either.
Yes.
I wouldn't in the room is
And it's fully normal.
I'm glad that you said that because that's true.
I'm the Anthony defender here, but maybe because there wasn't a father figure present at that point, he felt an obligation to be that for not only her but for the baby. I don't know.
Yeah, dude. He can do that holding her hand out by her head, not
Yeah.
sitting there staring between her legs. It's weird, man. It's
Oh my
weird.
I wouldn't personally do that. I would feel uncomfortable.
I feel like
I-
I would want my father.
I agree with that. I love that I get to see you work. Oh, she's like a good foundation's everything. It's true. You don't have a good
That's what they
foundation.
say when they're
You're gonna
when they're
have
going through
breakdown.
the gender and the sex of the baby, and they say like, oh, the hamburger, that means the girl, it's a girl, the baby's a girl, and they refer to that as like the genitalia. They call it like that, the
The
hamburger.
hamburger? That's gross. I've never heard that.
He was super pumped about it. He was like, hey, it was so cool, and like just to see like he's a
Oh,
weird dude, man.
she's like, the foundation is perfection before you cover it with all the magical things. I love that.
If George Anthony
We are
tried
going to
walking
try
into
to
the
do
living
all
room,
the magical
I would
things.
get-
I am
get
so
scared
happy
either
with how
way.
seamless that is. I don't even have to clean it up on the inside. I'm really happy with that.
Uncomfortable topic right now.
Exactly. You feel uncomfortable about it because it is uncomfortable,
It's uncomfortable,
and it's
yeah.
unnatural, and it shouldn't happen. And now I know there's some people out there who'll be like, "Yeah, my dad was right there."
You have such a
Me and my
nice
kids watched the
curve,
baby
but this
come
is
out."
like
That's cool if that's
bulky and
your
a little
thing,
bit,
man.
so I'm like,
Maybe you
No,
have a
we don't
relationship
need
with
all
your
that.
dad. Maybe it's like super close.
So good.
right?
No, I just don't like
Gotta
it.
be
But
in all the
anyways,
right places.
Some people may disagree. with
Okay,
me.
so you can pop that over again.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
You're entitled to your opinion. That's the whole point of this, right? Like, you're speaking your mind. And that's what I'm saying. Like, you and I are uncomfortable with
Just
it.
for
but
individuals with like more flat nails, you really gotta.
You really have to work on that
build.
apex, but you do not. So that's why I wanted to actually go in with thinner coats instead of just going so thick and then
I didn't have backlash for it because I think for
it
the
just
most
won't be
part
good.
people understand,
And as
like,
well, because your nails are naturally long, but they're also not so long that you need an apex like this. You know what I mean? You definitely don't need all of that.
Before I was pregnant, so he helped me bathe, and so it wasn't
Yeah.
like weird. Like that was one thing
You're
that
perfect.
somebody said, like, you know, I had gotten into a car accident.
Okay, so let me just finalize this and make sure. And then you were saying that you wanted this a little longer.
Well, like, I don't know if you can see from this angle.
Yes.
There's like a notch.
Yes,
So that needs
I can definitely see that. Let me first deal with that magic.
Yeah.
There was a special that he did a while back, and there was this big topic that was covered in the special because it was a look behind the scenes into his personal life. And he has
Because I'm
like,
gonna
a son, I
technically
wanna
be
say his
buffing and
son's, like,
adding so much more
8,
if we're
9
gonna
years
be
old, maybe even 10.
adding a little
And there was a
extra
quick
to
scene
that.
where like he was saying goodbye to his son and he gave him a kiss on the lips and he said goodbye, and that's kind of like what they do. And like social media was in an uproar.
No,
Like,
that's
this-
ridiculous. That's completely different.
Yeah, and they were like, this is super. I had no issue with that. I was like,
No.
listen, dude, like that's why are we really focusing on that? Like clearly there's nothing. it's
Okay,
just-
do you still feel the
that's-
same
he's
notch?
The same way with his father.
Because I'm gonna be building her.
I think that's great. I think that's great. That's showing affection. That's teaching
Like
your son
right
to be
here?
like a loving person.
But again, like to the point you were making earlier.
Oh no, that notch I'm gonna have to actually physically build it out. Like I won't be able to fix it here. Like I'll have to add because you're basically saying you're missing this section of the nail, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to. I have to build that.
Okay.
So let me just see.
By Casey, it makes it that much more weird.
Yep, you can just pop that in the cooker there, and then I'm gonna get this out and quickly try to fix that for you.
If it's true what Casey had said,
I just hope because we've already built out so much that we're
Exactly,
still
man. And I can tell you what,
good.
giving birth, you're in an
I
incredibly
messed up. My brain.
That's
was
okay.
like,
Pop her back in.
This one was done, and then my brain was like, oh yeah, take both hands out.
have the ability to be like, oh, I would like you to leave respectfully, please. You know, you're kind of just focused on doing this incredible thing that's very difficult.
maybe a little pain too.
Yeah, it hurts like hell, man. And so
So maybe focused on that a little
it's
bit.
awful. You can't even think. Like, there's no
And then once we
there's-
get like your
there's
thumbs done, then we'll quickly buff everything, and then we'll be able to just go straight in with the art.
Was like an abusive trust, and I don't like it. And
Don't worry,
this
I'll
time it's
cleanse
like,
that before.
my dad still kisses me.
But yeah, we'll just buff everything and then go in right with the
Perfect
nude
strangers when I
and
say,
then
"Look,
the
I'm not giving
design.
a kiss on the cheek." It's how I was raised.
That was the joy of
My dad will
animals.
never become a
Right? That's why I said
Even
that we
the
needed this because I was like,
Scarlet
it's
Don Draper, right?
always something with
So
these
this is
fur
another thing
babies.
I have a problem with. The first person to hold Kaylee once she was born was not her mother, but
You
her
happy?
grandmother,
Yes.
Cindy. George Anthony
It's best
said,
to have
quote,
like
when Kaylee
the shape
first
back
came
on
out
that
of
one
Casey,
after breaking them. I was kind of like,
And that's why I didn't want to go crazy on your shaping as well, because then once everything's buffed, I can finalize things. But if I go too far, then we have that problem where that little girl needs a little assistance.
I've broken that one and grown it out, and
because
then
Casey was getting stitched up and stuff like that, the doctor said no,
it was in a
that
odd
wasn't
shape
appropriate at
after
the
the
moment
fact.
because she needed to be
Mm,
still
that's
and
okay.
stuff
It
like
actually
that.
gives me really good
Kaylee
practice
was
because,
handed
like,
to Cindy.
nails,
Naturally,
everything with
Cindy's
nails
not
are
going to birth a
customized.
child away,
Because
neither
you
am
could
I.
do a French
She
on
opened
one
up her
person and
arms.
it
She
be
says,
one way,
"Oh
and
my
then you
gosh,
do a
yeah,
French on
I'll
another
look like
person,
my
it's
daughter."
completely
And I
different
remember Casey did
because
say,
of
"Jeez,
their
you
nail
think
shape,
handsome with my daughter
everything.
before I do?" End
Okay, so if I
quote.
could just have
So
you,
his mother
try
agreed.
to
This-
aim as
this all
down
makes
as
me so
possible just so
uncomfortable
I
because
could
it doesn't
see it.
check out. But the doctor
So,
said that Casey
right?
holding her
So if you
child
could just try to,
directly after Kaylee's
aim
birth would not
down.
have been appropriate.
Raptor claws.
In fact, the American Association of Pediatrics has been recommending it for years.
Okay, so
Skin to
let's
skin
try.
contact with
I'm
the
gonna have
mother
to.
and child
I tried to
right
avoid
after
taking this
birth.
off, but it
And
just
since
doesn't.
Casey did not give
Sticky
birth to
things,
Kaylee
it's
via
not it.
C-section, there should have been no reason why she could not have held her child while they continued to work on her, like I've done and a million other mothers have done for years. And she was bothered by this, understandably.
So I'm really
and in
getting
the future,
to, like,
she would
know your
throw it in
nails.
her
So I
mother's face
actually
during
cut that
arguments. So they
beforehand.
would arguing,
And I think I did it
after
almost darn
Kaylee was born,
perfect.
Cindy and
So
Casey
we're just
were
gonna hold
time
her
and
because
she
I'm not
would say,
having this
"You were the first, you
itch
stole my kid from me,
pop
but you were
out.
the first person to hold my baby."
Okay, so we needed a little
getting
bit
in
of
the way
extra length.
of me and my
So
daughter's
we do that,
relationship
and then we
since
need
day
this
one.
side here.
So this was clearly an issue for her,
So
and it's not
extra
just me.
product.
So as Kaylee Anthony grew, Cindy Anthony
It's seriously,
kind of
nails
assigned
are
herself
witchcraft.
to the role of
Like,
mother,
the
and she was
magic that you
often
can do,
known
the
to
fact that
refer
you
to
can
Kaylee as
build
her
out
child,
a
such as when she
nail, that
said,
you can
quote,
do all this
"Once
stuff.
in a
It's
great
pretty
while,
magical.
I might have to ask what
It
she's
is.
talking about, but you learn your child's speech." End quote. And sometimes George Anthony would even slip up and refer to Cindy, his wife, as mommy when he was talking to Kaylee. I kind of find this to be completely normal as far as George Anthony goes, but I do
It just
understand that it
sometimes
would
it's
have been
like,
very annoying for Casey to hear her mother refer to Kaylee as her child. I can see how that would be very annoying. Lauren remembered that Casey had not been happy with this
Yeah, I
dynamic.
wouldn't have been
She
happy
would
with
often
that
comment
either.
on how it hurt her that Kaylee would always run to George and Cindy first, as if they were her mother and father. It was almost as if Casey had been a surrogate for her parents, and now that she had delivered the baby to them, they had no more need for her. After the birth of Kaylee, Jesse Grund and Casey got back together, but he did ask for a DNA test to prove his paternity, and after 6 weeks, the result returned, showing that there was a 0% chance Jesse Grund was the father of Kaylee Anthony.
Not
But
surprised.
Jesse and Casey decided to give it a go anyway, because by that time, he'd grown very attached to little Kaylee, and he wanted to be her father. He felt he could easily continue to be her father, even if he wasn't related to her by blood. After Kaylee's birth, she and Casey spent a lot of time at Jesse's house with his family. Jesse's father, Richard Grund, said that they all loved Kaylee. She was innocent and perfect and pure joy. Jesse said that Kaylee, even from the time she was a baby,
Because we have to, like, file, I do try to work as clean as possible because the excess product you do, like, it's still going to, like, you're gonna have to file that anyway, so.
could just light up your life, and he loved her very much. On New Year's Eve of 2005,
So-
Jesse Grund proposed to Casey, and she said yes. And things seemed to be going really well. Jesse claimed that Casey was a good mother. a
Try to
person
just
who,
softly
quote,
turn it.
geared her life strictly
I hate
around
using
how she
gloves so
wanted to be
much.
mother first,
You have the most
wife
perfect
second,
natural
and
nails ribbon.
everything
Oh,
else
thank
third.
you!
That was her
Oh my god, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. Gloves are a necessity for, like, especially when you're doing things that, thank you, that have the potential. I think you're,
stopped being
pop
the
her
person
back over
that was
for a second.
dedicated to these things and started
Uh-oh.
concerning herself
Okay,
more
one
with the
second. We
parties
had
and
a-
the friends and the hanging out, and not so much about the responsibility of being a
I
mother
might have
to
to
a
just
beautiful,
hold this
joyous young
and then
girl.
hear her.
End quote. The question is, though,
'Cause we don't
what
wanna
changed?
lose
Because
all of
Jesse
that.
isn't the only person who reported that Casey was a good mother for a good part of Kaylee's early life. She and Kaylee lived in
Okay,
the
let's
Anthony
just
home,
try to
and
cure.
Kaylee was the center of attention on a daily basis because it was
Because
very
we
hard
don't, like, that
not
was
to fall in
almost
love with her. You
perfectly
look at these
placed, so
pictures
we
of
don't
her.
want to
She's
lose that. That's
like
the
a
one not fun thing
beautiful
about
child.
forms
She's
sometimes.
got this
But honestly, with nails, you have to be prepared. There might be some things that don't go your way, but you just keep on trucking and.
Personality. She was a ham, you know. She loved wearing
No, but you
these
do
huge
definitely
sunglasses
have
and big
goals
sun hats and making
on, like,
everyone
your
laugh.
Oh,
She was
thank you.
incredibly friendly.
It's honestly, I never used to be able to grow my nails at all, and when I started this stuff with Madame Glam, actually being able to use their rubber base coat, and then, okay, I think you can softly put that in the cooker, and then we'll go back in and build that out. But getting to use the base coat builder gel, like this builder gel I'm using on you, this stuff, Pure Serenity, it is like so amazing for that extra strength. And so I don't have like the amazing ones you do, but I build out the apex, so then I make sure that they're strong enough so that I don't risk breaking and. Oh, thank you. That's what we're aiming for. We're gonna give you some sexy almonds. MG has the best rubber base coat. Yes, the Philippines. Mine just arrived. Oh, did we get a?
Yeah, it's on again, but
Okay, let me just. We were on for 90, but you're saying it's not burning, so I just put you over to 60. So I think these ones. Let me just have a look at her. Yeah, thank you from this side. Okay, so I have to do a teeny bit on here. Do you see that small bit?
Yep.
Just right there.
Her friends,
So,
Casey's friends. Kaylee had a little book with
A
her.
little bit
She was always
there.
reading.
That would
even
be
though I
fine
don't know,
once I
was she
shape
reading
it.
too? I don't know, but she always had a book.
So let me see this.
Quiet, respectful.
You see how like all the
Casey would
angles
get
is what really
over. The
matters?
first thing she would do was to run and
That
find
makes a
Kaylee
big
to tell her how
difference.
much she had missed her and how much she loved her.
All right, so I have a question for you because this is something that I've definitely seen both as a police officer and in my personal life. And again, I'll qualify it by saying I know that based on what George has been accused of by Casey, he's not a good guy, right? That we'll just put that right up.
Based on that, like
Based on that, and we know Casey's a pathological liar, so take it with
So
a grain of
based
salt.
on that, we don't really
Right.
know.
So we don't really know. So
Yeah.
let's
Oh my
assume
God.
for a second, just for a second, that Casey was lying about it. Okay, and she was doing it to garner sympathy from the court and all these other things. Okay, just let's say for a second that he did not do those things. Okay, and that him being in the emergency room when she had the baby was weird, but in his mind it was innocent. Let's just agree to that for the second.
Okay.
Is it possible, based on what we may have seen in our own life, I know I have, this could have been a situation where the parent is not a good parent, is more selfish and caring about themselves and how they look and going out to parties, and you see the grandparents, even though they know their kid is a 14-karat F-up, allowing them to still play
that
parent
was a
when they
good
want to,
one.
but in reality, they're playing parents.
Oh,
And they're taking
yeah,
care
that
of
was
the
a
kid.
14
They're
karat
making sure that
F up.
there's
I've
no
never
structure
heard that
going on.
before.
Even though they're
That
still
is
telling their
great
daughter
for a
that,
spoiled,
hey,
privileged
she's your
piece of
child.
shit
You know,
Mhm.
nobody's taking her from
I've
you.
never heard
But in
that
reality,
before.
the real examples for Kaylee are her grandparents. I know I've seen it personally. I have someone in my life that's
Yeah,
going
that's a
on
lot
with right
better.
now.
So obviously when we do a little bit of buffet, we'll fix any like small notches, but you don't want anything that's like a huge
They
dip.
get bad parents when in reality,
And then I'm gonna actually go in there with the buff
trying to
girl.
be there for Kaylee in spite of the fact that their daughter was not the best parent, based on what Jesse has.
Try to see if you can flip her.
Well, you've seen a lot there. So,
I did.
And then we'll try to continue to fix that girl there.
But that was the situation.
Oh no, you're okay. Sometimes I do that angle when you want, where what I don't want is too much of it to run to the tip. So trying to be as flat as possible, because your nails do a lot of the hard work
Could it be
for me.
possible that Anthony's
with your amazing curvature.
not
So
bad parents and just trying to like keep everything afloat? No, I think that it's indisputable that these people were bad parents.
so see that like even started curving like so much that we have like a little
But
bulky
they clearly raised
on
Casey to be a
your
pathological liar.
area
Okay, that
there.
didn't come from nowhere. So right there, we have
Again,
some
these
issues.
little
You can't
fine
raise a
brushes,
monster and then say you
that's
don't want to deal
the
with her
business.
once she's done something
You could
you don't
pop her
like.
in.
And I was a young mother.
That
right?
really
So I
helps
also
when
know
trying
from
to
that
get that
perspective
extra
that
definition.
even though you're completely ready to be a mother,
And then let me see the area we're
sometimes,
trying to
you know,
repair
I
here.
said I'm going to do this, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. There's still going to be people around you who just look at you and think you're not going to be able to do it. So they always try to like take things over from you because they think it's going to be too much for you and you're not going to be able to do it. And it
The
becomes
perspective that
incredibly
she has
frustrating,
for the
especially when you're not
kids,
dropping
too.
the ball anywhere and people are acting like you are.
Stephanie was
So,
a teen mom
and there's
herself.
also going to be things that we talk about going forward where
It's
it
true.
did
She
seem
has like a
that
completely,
Cindy
and
Anthony was
honestly,
considering getting
doesn't
custody,
matter
and
if you're a
used
teen
this
mom or
to
not. The
threaten
stuff that
Casey,
she
to
did,
scare Casey. So
There's no
I don't think
excusing
that's a
it.
super
there's
healthy
no,
dynamic. I don't
like,
think that's a
any
sign
way you look
of
at
a,
it,
of a good
huge
parent
miscarriage.
or grandparent. Like
of
you need to do whatever in
justice.
it is in
Yeah.
your power, especially if the mother.
And more than
she's a
anything,
young
it's
mother,
like, who is
there and
protecting this
willing
little
to try to
defenseless
do
little
her
girl?
best
You
to
could slowly
make
turn,
sure you
honey.
strengthen that relationship between mother and child, not get in the way of that.
Yeah, fair
I
enough.
remember
think
when the
that's two
case was
sides, right? Like, I
popular,
wanted to
I
throw it
didn't
out
know
there
much
because
about it, and I was also
people
young
out there
myself.
don't know the case that
But
well, like
after
myself,
hearing
and
like
hearing
their
things
deep
as we
dive on it,
progress,
I'm like
I
100%
do
like
think it's a
she's
plausible
guilty. She
scenario
did
at
it.
this point. I reserve the right
It's
to
actually
make
really
judgment as I
scary.
hear
Like
you
even her
go.
documentary,
I
me and
just
my
wanted to
partner
throw it out
watched
there
it,
just to
and
show
I
that
was like, wow,
I'm not
I can't
automatically
believe like
going
she
to what I
is
know
a
the story is.
master
I'll take,
manipulator.
you know,
Like there was
paragraph
even
by
one time when
paragraph
she
as
was
we go
speaking,
through.
and I
Alright,
actually
so
felt a
after
well
her
up, and I was like,
maternity leave was
no,
complete,
you
Casey
are
told
manipulating.
everyone
Like,
that she
but
was
it's
going
like
back to work at
somebody with a big
Universal
heart.
Studios, and she would
They're
leave
gonna,
for
their
work every
heartstrings are
day
gonna start going, and that's
And that's
exactly
what
what
she-
she wants.
that's
Pop
what
her
she-
in, pop her in.
So she did with all her friends.
Can I have your thumb?
Did return to her position, and after attempting to unsuccessfully get in touch with her, she was eventually terminated in April
Everything
of
okay?
2006. Now, while Casey was at work, air quotes, she would leave Kaylee with, several different people. Sometimes she would leave her at home with her father, George Anthony. George Anthony usually worked like a later shift. I think he was working like 3 to 11 or something. Or she would leave her with friends, or she would leave her in the home of the Grund family.
So once we have
Sometimes
like
Jesse would watch her,
your
or he was
thumbs done, I
working
do
with
want to
his
take a
parents, or
quick
even his
video of
younger
just like the
brother
structure
would
gel
keep
part,
Kaylee.
and then we'll go right
Casey
into
had
the
even
design. I'll do
guilted
like the
one of her
buff and
friends,
everything,
Lauren
and then
Gibbs, into regularly babysitting Kaylee for free. Lauren and Casey had been friends
So
since
she
middle
lied and
school,
said, "Oh, I have to
and
go to
Lauren
work
said
and can
she
you
wanted
watch
to help
her?"
Casey as much
And
as she
she
could because
didn't
she
even
knew
have a
how
job.
hard it
She
was
was
to
just-
be a single
I also
mother.
can't believe
But
she made up
Casey
that
had
whole
told Lauren
Zanny the
that she was
nanny.
Yep.
working at
and
Universal
everything,
Studios, but
like-
also
oh, yeah.
she was working at this place called Sports Authority.
Yeah,
And I
these were
guess
lies.
Sports
She never
Authority's kinda
worked
like
there.
a
She
dead
even
state
took the police on like a
sporting
whole
equipment.
tour
Oh, yes.
of like Universal Studios
Yeah,
and like
And then was like when she couldn't get into a place, and they're like clearly somebody who works here would be able to get in. Then it's like, oh yeah, I don't actually work here. It's like, yeah, we know.
after taking them on a tour because the police were like, yeah, just let us in, like because people were like, you don't have clearance, and they allowed her in. She walked them through all different hallways, different offices, different places, and then at the end was like, I don't actually work here.
That is actually so creepy.
Well, so Casey says she's working at the Sports Authority, and one day Lauren can't get a hold of Casey on her cell phone, so she calls the Sports
And
Authority
she had
store.
that
She's like, hey,
one
can I talk to Casey? And they're like,
person
who the
she
hell's
was seeing
Casey?
was a club
She's like, this girl
promoter,
works
and she
at
just
Where's
hung
your
out
store,
with him
Casey
all the
Anthony?
time.
They're like,
She's
we never
clubbing.
worked any.
Also,
If
the
she's
messed
not
up part
working,
is during all
so
of that, she got
now
that
Lauren's mad.
tattoo.
She
The
found out
beautiful
Casey
life.
was not going to work at all. She was
What
just
beautiful
dropping her
life
kid off in
can
the
you
morning, and then
possibly be
she was going to
experiencing
hang
when
out
your
with
child's
friends
missing?
and play video games,
I
just
can't
like
think of getting a
being
tattoo and doing all that
a
stuff.
And then
teenager.
there's the web searches when no one was home except her,
Obviously,
the
so she
log
stopped
into the
babysitting
MySpace
Kaylee.
account.
In May of
And
2006,
She
Casey
tried to
broke
ask
off
the
her
neighbors
engagement
if she
to
could borrow a
Jesse Grund,
shovel
and he
right
described
before.
it as a very bitter
And
breakup.
she
Jesse said
rented
Casey
movies with her
accused him of
boyfriends
loving
and
Kaylee
like, you know,
more than he loved her.
they
She
found
told
those
him they
like
could still be
flies
friends
in
and he
the
could still
car
be
that
a part
only
of her
go
life,
for
but not as
bodies.
Yes.
Casey's father.
in her
That
trunk.
that part
Obviously,
got
he's
me.
heartbroken by
That
this.
like creeped me out
And
to
she
no
abandoned
end.
the car by like
because at this
like
point,
a
he was born in
like a
August,
trash
they're
bin in the
breaking up
parking
in
lot.
May.
Mm-hmm.
That's,
I was like, oh.
No offense, but if you still take stocks, real estate.
It's very obvious that she did this.
I'm sorry, you got it wrong. There's a little note sent tracking millions of dollars a day right now called
We're getting there, making me so happy.
a good, 8-9 months that he's been acting as Kaylee's father, that he's falling in love with this little girl.
You can pop her
This
in.
was about the time that he said Casey wants to start going out and she wants to start
Okay, so now we're gonna
stuff.
see if we've done a
And
good
she fell
job
in love
here.
with him and said it was because he loved Kaylee more than he loved her. So that's toxic.
Could it
Yeah,
also be that
This
they
will
were
have patched
together
up anything
because,
that we would have needed.
Jesse was
Thank
trying to be there for
God.
Kaylee, but Casey could tell.
I was a bit nervous starting like
Girl lied to him from the beginning. So
midway
Why'd you say
through the
yes when he
service
proposed her?
doing that,
Yeah,
but
no, I agree.
Thank you
probably saw
for
the writing
doing
on the
it.
wall that
No, no
Not
problem, honey.
suggesting we cut all the other ones down.
Can't blame
I
you.
would never. So what I was asking is if you just wanted to leave that and then leave all the rest, right? And then have that naturally growing because it's just slightly under. But I understand what you said, and I'm like, you know what? This is a great learning experience. Let's just try it. And honestly, if you turn this around, look at how flush that is under there. So we're good. The likelihood of this snapping, this should be your nail. Like we should be good. I know, I'm sorry.
It's
Let's
just
try
the
that.
end angle for the thumb.
Yeah, the thumbs are the hardest, and that's also why I'm doing them separate. Because that's the easiest to mess up. Oh, what are we watching? So this is True Crime and Nails. So we're actually watching the Kaylee Anthony, The Hand That Rocks the Cradle Part 2, Crime Weekly with Stephanie Harlow and Derek Lavasser. I always get his name. Everything okay? Oh, that scared me. I was like, what is that?
Kaylee with whoever she could during the day and with her parents in the evenings. Now, the fake sports authority jab, it seemed to have been uncovered that would give Casey the freedom to start hanging out with her friends at night, not just during the day. Casey would tell people, her friends, her family, that she had to stay late at the store to do inventory.
I'm actually so appreciative.
And so
Like,
she wouldn't be
I didn't
home,
realize
like,
as
2 in the
much
morning
until
for
this
some
year,
inventory.
like
Now,
how
working
very
these
much
two
I
jobs,
have
you would think
learned.
that Casey would have some
Until
money to
like,
show for
especially
it.
even
She's
when I was
living
just
at home, she's
recently
not
doing
paying
Rita's
for it, she got
nails,
no
I was
bills.
like,
But she's
oh
always
wow,
asking her
like
parents
it's
to
actually like a
borrow
really
money,
good feeling to be
pay
like,
them back once
I know
she
how
got
to
paid.
troubleshoot this. I know if this isn't
She
working,
never
like
got paid.
how
She
to
didn't have a
fix
job.
it. Like
And so she
that's
never
a
did
really
have that
nice
payment
feeling.
back, right? And
So at
one
least
day,
you know
George
you
Anthony,
can apply what
he
you've learned.
decides to surprise his
Right?
I remember
daughter
when
at
I
work
met you, you
and
showed
take
me
her
your
to
nails,
lunch.
and I thought,
When
oh,
he
that's really
gets to
cool, you
Sports
do
Authority and he
the
asks for
nails and
Casey,
stuff.
he
But
was
then
home
Karen was
once
like,
again.
oh
She
yeah,
didn't work
Raven's
there.
out
She
there,
never
and
had. These
she
sports people
did
are probably
Rita's
like,
nails.
who
They
the
look
hell is
really
Casey
good, and I
Anthony,
was like,
girl?
really, she does other people's nails? Maybe
You're like,
maybe she'll
oh.
do my nails.
So it's like I'm always so scared due to like my own pain limitations, and like I need whoever to understand that because like luckily I had some pain relief before we started, but normally I couldn't sit for this long. Like there'd be no possible way. But it's like I think it's a little bit empowering knowing that I'm helping you in such like an important event. So like it's like that exciting feeling, you know? That's
And
over.
it will be easier too.
Next time will be so much easier because we'll just be doing a fill and we won't be doing a full because like that's one thing people don't understand. A full set is just that. It's a full set. So that takes its own time. We're not even including the hand painted art, right?
Was causing problems in his marriage. Now later, Cindy Anthony would tell the press that
I
she
am
wished
happy that
she
we
had
did
seen the
repair
signs
this. It's
that
gonna look a
something was
lot
going
better.
on.
Especially after you did all the nice work on
She said,
this one, it didn't make
Casey
sense
was
to have like
good
one
at covering
short
her
middle
tracks,
finger
which
and
we
the
found
next
out
one.
later. There were
really
subtle
nice.
signs
doesn't.
looking back now, but I didn't realize it until the middle of it. End quote. There were not
So,
subtle signs.
can I have
There was
your
glaring
other
signs
middle
that,
finger?
if we believe George Anthony, Cindy
We got the
decided
two repair
to
girls.
look more.
So just loosen her up for me.
He's like,
Yeah.
Casey's a short
Alright,
Okay, so this
I'm
is
also
almost
curious.
perfect. Right? You're like, I want to see. It's actually so cute because I do know that because I used to do the same thing and I didn't realize that I was like turning it up trying to see it. So usually I'll be like, honey, can we have a little angle down here? Because that's the first thing. Like if it's too much like this, you'll have the pooling. So I did try to like keep it as much. I just realized.
Oh yeah, some of them are sticky still.
Yeah, I just realized that. That's why I really asked for that alcohol because this is going to be done and I'm going to be doing my nails tomorrow crying. Like, I have no alcohol.
We can't, even as a police officer, when I show
Glad
you
you
these
could get
calls,
it.
I'm just going to, right? I'm so happy that he ran. Like, that's over and I've never had somebody run to go get something. So I'm like, ooh, feel like a celebrity nail artist. Ooh la la. You're my celebrity right now.
That for us a lot. Very sweet.
You know what? Actually, that's what drew me to him. Is his heart. I was like, this kid actually has a really big heart. And baby, hi, honey. My wifey just joined the chat. You know what I thought about Taryn is I'm like, this kid has such a big heart, and I can't vibe with that. Like, if somebody does not have a good heart, I'm like, I don't want to spend time with you. I don't want to talk with you because you're not going to get anything that I'm about, and vice versa. Because I'm not going to be able to level with you because you clearly are a dirtbag. Like, you don't got no heart.
You don't have the compassion and love for
Thank
other human
you.
beings.
well, and they don't see that what their child is doing is wrong.
Yeah, but do they think that like lying and allowing their child child to be like a non-productive member of society is going to do good things for that child, that young
I was gonna
adult.
say, baby, you're watching this. Do you see what I just did? I repaired this.
Part one. Apple didn't fall
That's
apart.
excitement.
If you have parents
Excitement, baby.
unproductive and not contributing members of society,
The broken nails are no longer broke.
They're no longer broke to dead. They got a whole job and everything.
Go down a similar path. That's what I'm saying. Best case scenario, they're good. Parents that do well for themselves. They're
Aww. Felicia's is like, is this Raven's wife? Sure is.
Best in them, making excuses for them, but they're blinded by the love they have for their son or daughter. Worst case scenario, they're not really contributing members of society themselves, and therefore they don't seem that they're
Yeah, you're like my dream client.
There's a way to avoid
Because your natural nails are just like so heavenly.
That's what we did. And I see that
nice
all the
hearing
time.
all these
I saw it all the
compliments.
time.
No, it's sometimes you don't have something good to work with, and like it's not that they don't have pretty hands or anything like that, but like nail health,
13, 14 years old.
it's real. And sometimes it makes the service more difficult. And it's not like they're a difficult client, but ooh, I almost had a peek through.
When I
Ooh.
brought this to the
I
attention
just
of
saw
the
that. I was
parents,
like, nope.
we get a warrant for them later. This is kind of like an ongoing investigation.
I saw that quick.
The parents were upset, but they were more like, oh, there's no way.
I wish we could talk in lives rather than type. Oh my gosh, I wish that. If you guys could talk, that would be everything. We've actually mentioned that before. That would be really cool.
Like a big conference call.
So like it would pop in and it would be like, Pelicious Nails says, and then you'd hear her voice. Oh, that would be everything. Miss Lisa, what you saying, girl? They gotta loosen. Yeah. I was like, just trust me for a moment, then you can look at it.
I'm getting excited. It's all coming together.
It's all coming together.
It was always an excuse. It was always.
And also, almonds are my love. So the fact that like you and Rita both have wanted almonds, I'm like,
I know this story.
Even in this case, the person he killed was a rival gang member, and it was like, oh, but he was coming after him, so maybe he was self-defense. It's always something.
Did they know
oh my gosh, you can hear my excitement and me seal clapping. Ooh, 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 ooh. I love that.
But we definitely told
Well,
them.
we're very
I
excited
personally
because
told them.
you're also gonna have like amazing nails tomorrow when you're doing all your stuff, and you can just look and be like,
gang member? Is that
and I don't know, it always makes me feel like when I'm doing a work or something, I'm just like,
Things where
I gotta be careful. New personality might come out.
oh,
or something. You know what I
a new
mean?
personality is definitely gonna be coming out. I hope you know that already.
You get nice nails, nice hair, like you get stuff done and you feel good.
You'll have to take a picture with your makeup and your nails for me so that I can do a little posty post. I would love that. Or if you don't feel comfortable showing your face, you can just show your nails, but you do your makeup and your hair so beautiful that like that will be a dream to have a picture of you all done up with the
Especially on the
nails.
day when I'm wearing the outfit and everything's matching.
Yes, all of that.
equally as guilty as Casey is.
That would
And
be
I know it feels
amazing.
like I'm, in these early episodes, I'm over here like just ramming on the parents, like Cindy and Jordan. But let's be honest, right? This all has a ripple effect. Like you can't just take somebody.
I do it all the time.
as a
The
single
seal
person and say,
clapping.
"Why
I
did you
feel
do this?"
you.
You have to figure out what factors in their life.
As soon as I have this shape, I'm gonna also
And I think that the
confer
parents are
both of them, like your index, your middle,
important to that, and
etc.
also,
But I'm just trying to
I think that
define some of this
one person can be
almond for
responsible
you.
for something when it ripples out in this way. And
Pointy.
I just,
Yes.
I don't think that they're innocent of
That-
this.
I
don't think
noticed that
they're
on yours.
blameless,
Yours
but
are
trust
very,
me, I'm
like,
going on cases soon
narrow
enough,
and
guys.
pointy
Don't worry,
looking.
I'm not defending her.
I love that
although I
because
do
like when
think
you
that
look
I
at an almond,
can
it goes
find
big
myself
and then
in
to a
some
tip,
places
but you
and
have
some
that
shared
round
some
tip. So a
experiences.
stiletto is more like,
There's definitely an
right?
element
Mine
to
were
that
a little
coming
bit
up soon.
too round
So
and
trust
stumpy
me.
looking.
So there's nothing wrong with oval nails, but I do understand like my favorite is
Because at
the
the end of the story, right? I'm developing an opinion about my perception of the
delicious.
Anthony's, the parents, and Casey, and how that all contributed to what we'll eventually get to. I'm not saying it's going to stick there, but I have been taking notes, and I do have some opinions.
Shaping is also such an art,
Georgia on Cindy.
like especially depending on like what shape a client wants, and also everyone's fingers are different. Like some fingers can naturally be more. I like to say askewed. I don't like to use the word crooked.
So with her
like
That's
can be
very
more
nice, yeah.
skewed than others, right?
Casey was free
You
to
gotta,
go
like,
out and party
balance
pretty
the
much as
nail.
much as she wanted
And that's
to.
what the
Yeah.
rebalancing is, and that's what I was kind of nervous about doing this for you, is that I'm only used to doing the balancing on like my own hands. But obviously, if you have the skill, you have the skill. You just have to figure out like what movements to get like the best.
I'm just saying it's better
We
than
also
what I
need
could've
to.
done.
I don't think we did this at all, did we?
We will have John put these
No, we
pictures
still
up
have to
for
put some
the video version.
builder
She's
gel on
also
that
Yes.
thumb.
out in some of these pictures. Like,
Okay, let's shape
she's
this.
just literally
And then we'll go
her
over
head
to that
is
thumb
like
and make sure we
there's
give
some
that
pictures
thumb
where she's
some
looking up and
TLC.
giving a thumbs up to the camera and smiling, but she looks wrecked, man. So the girl who didn't like to get drunk or be out of control, all of a sudden, she didn't have an issue with it. And all throughout 2007, Casey was communicating with many people online, most
Too
of them
many.
different men that she knew. One of them was Christopher Stutz, who lived in
She
Tallahassee.
just
but he
seemed
had
like
met
she
Casey
was
at
trying to
Halloween
also
in
find like an
2005.
Insta
He says that they were
daddy or an
initially
Insta
friends,
family
and then they decided
almost,
to
and
start
but
dating,
you already have lost
short-lived due
your
to
bubba.
distance
You know what I
between
mean? Like that.
Orlando and
Any
Tallahassee.
grieving mom isn't going to
Casey
be
would
doing
message
some of
Chris
these
on
things.
Facebook
It
and say
also
things
seemed like she
I miss
just
my lover, and
didn't get
you know me,
to
I'm always up for dressing
have,
like
like,
a hoe.
that,
Can't
you
wait
know,
to see you.
party
And
girl
thanks for making my
phase.
day.
So
Fully-
she did it.
fully
So
finished.
fierce.
It wasn't
Like, the
run
way she
through
talks to
like
these men,
its final
she's
form
laid
yet,
back.
so
Mm-hmm.
she really
She's
wanted to
complimenting
focus
them.
on
She's
that,
basically
and
like,
having a
she
child
says this to so many
her
people at the same
was
time. Oh, you're my lover.
a
I love
burden.
you.
But it's like, and I understand that. It's like, but you can adopt your child. You can do so many things. And I'm sure if she had said to the parents, I can't, that they would have.
and they were trying to, but it made her jealous.
See?
Like, she needed all the
Attention.
His child. Right after this,
But she
Brandon
was
was
always the
employed to
baby
Iraq.
before,
He was in the
and
military,
they
and Casey
always
messaged
like
him to tell him that
catered
she
to
had
her
lost
and
the
lied
baby
for her
on
others, and then
Valentine's Day. And Brandon
when Kaylee
claims
was
he
born,
never
she
believed
just
that
got
Casey was
too
pregnant,
jealous.
but she would continue to message
I
him
just,
on
I
Facebook saying
can't. Like,
things
that
like,
is just so
"Love you,
sad.
it's worth it.
Like,
Don't
so
ever forget
freaking
that."
sad.
She also told him that they should go
Okay,
on a
so see,
cruise.
this is really cool.
There was
You
another
can't even
man
see
named
where that
Mark
break was.
Hawkins. This was a friend of
That
Casey's
tea bag
since
just
high school.
melted in there.
It seemed like
So
Casey
I
was also
really
being
love that. That's one of my favorite techniques. That's how I repair my nails. And I've done videos on it as well because it is so huge.
2007, saying, quote, "You have no idea how much I've missed talking to you. I care about you a lot, and I hope that maybe this could be something." And I
So do you
only
see what I
hope
mean
that
about
you'll be
going
an amazing
under
male role model
versus like just
for your
instantly
daughter."
going like this? Because
End
then you
quote.
curve
She
it
had
in.
an amazing
So
male
like
role
even
model.
if you're
She had
filing
Jesse
your
Brown,
natural nails to
who
go
broke up with
under
him.
to get your corners really nice and flush, then it's fine to
So
do a
Casey
slight
responded
bit
so
of
hard
this.
that she
But
put
if
up
you're
so
constantly
confident
filing
all
this
those
way, it
years
will
they've
just
known each other. She
kind of like,
looked
you know,
at him only
kitten
as a friend.
kitten nails,
They had
like
always
how
been
kitten
warm.
claws. I'll have to show you.
Okay,
They
yeah.
kind of go in,
Can't
and
stop
you
smiling.
don't
I have
you
to be
don't
honest,
want that.
I've always thought of you as something more. I just had to be patient and wait for the right time in my life, and I think that time is now. End quote. So at this time, Mark, he was in the Navy, and he was stationed somewhere outside of Florida. In the early spring of 2007,
I'm sure your nails already
Casey
feel like
told
so much
everyone
stronger.
that she got a
Oh,
big
yeah.
promotion at Universal Studios. Now,
Right? Yes, that is the sound we
this
want.
promotion would allow her to have more freedom when it came to her coming and going as she pleased. Now that she had this big and important position, she would get a call or an email, randomly throughout the day or night, and she'd be like, "Oh, there's an event planning emergency. I have to deal with it immediately," and then she would leave. And she wouldn't be able to tell
So in
anyone
a
when
second,
she'd
I'm
be
just
back
gonna
because
confer
she's
with
this
all of the
super
thingies
important
and make
event
sure, and then
planner.
we're gonna go to that
There's no
thumb
way
that's
to
not
tell
done.
her things that she's
Then we'll do a
needed
full
for when
buff,
she gets
and I
in
can
there.
go in with
She's
a nude
so
and everything else
proficient
and start
at her
actually
job.
doing your design
And
for you.
this just goes on to extreme extents. Her
Sorry, I
making
do have
up
to
this
add some
job,
pressure
this
here. So
promotion.
see, this is
She
what I
even
think
went
is
so
cool.
far as to
The moment
create
you add
fake
pressure, you
email
can see what
profiles
part
and
is
then
not
send
meant,
herself fake emails
and then you
from
can
these
just
fake email
gently
profiles where she would then
Okay,
have
I'm
fake
good.
conversations
take
with
that out.
herself
So then
about events that were being
you don't
planned, and
have
then she
any
would show her
issues.
parents and be like, "Oh, see, like."
So see,
we
like
really
there's
need
just
a
so
bed,
many
like, I'm
little
gonna
things. So it's like
need it.
that's
You
why
know,
you
this
don't
weekend,
freak out too
and
much if you
this
have any
week,
spillage or
yeah,
things like that, but deal with it
you're
right away.
making
And then
something,
that
you're
way,
like-
once
and I
I'm
don't like
finished,
defend the end of
it's
this
gonna
year,
be
but I
so
say that
smooth that you're not
believe
gonna have a
her because
risk
they
of
were
this
already
part
starting
lifting
to
on
cry.
you or things
Believe
like
her,
that.
and she had all of these receipts now. She has like this legitimate, what looks like a legitimate email, and they think maybe she's turned her life around.
I love these things. This one has like a harder, and then this is like a softer buffing.
Mini file.
Oh, they're so good. I love the shoot out of these. My nail sister from Texas sent these over. That's why I also like doing stuff like this because we're all connected. We all help each other. Like it's
Finding new products and stuff.
finding new products, what works, sharing information and knowledge. Like all this is so huge. Like even just feeling that strength there, you know that you can do so much more without worrying that your nail's just gonna snap off. I hate that feeling where it's like a teeter feeling. Your nails teetering on the edge.
She was still of college age when she had Kaylee. She felt like she was missing
Sorry,
out
I know
on
buffing is not the funnest, so if there's anything that does hurt your skin, you let me know. But this is like what's huge. You want the smooth surface like this, or right before I go in with the design and
Otherwise
stuff.
it won't grip properly. and
It'll all slide off, you'll have chipping. Because you can put gel on gel, but like for instance, if this was too smooth, then I would go in with like a base coat or something like that to like grip something nice.
When I put gel polish on myself, that's usually what happens, is that it starts to chip over time.
Also, you're going to realize you're not going to have that much of any kind of chipping or anything like that. The only thing is because we're using a foil, what you might experience is like on the edge here, when it eventually wears down, you might have a slight wearing down, but you won't have any chipping because this gel is going to act as that like grip. So you're going to actually probably find one of the best adhesions you've ever had because of that. Like, do you go get your nails done often at the salon?
Never.
Oh, never. Okay, so
Not
like,
anymore. I have in the past, but lately, no.
so how would you say this experience is for you? Like, are you enjoying the service? Like, oh, okay, you're okay. That
Like I
makes me
told you,
so
the first
happy.
time I got my nails done, the person was like pinching really hard and moving around. They didn't tell me. They just like, what color do you want? I picked a color and they just did it.
It's not meant to be a drive-through, right? Like this is supposed to be customized. That's why I actually am appreciative that some of this broke because though it took us a little longer, this is more of a customization that now your whole manicure is you, right? So like I think that's the important step there. I'm sorry, you're gonna hear this a million times, but I'm so in love with your natural nails. Like they're just like
speaking out now, you know what?
all the chef's kiss.
I
Like
spent a lot of time talking about Casey as a young kid and in high
so,
school.
this is another huge step that's like a little annoying.
That's
But
foundation.
when you go into these sidewall areas and you really perfect them here, when you put the product on, you're not gonna have any lifting. You're not gonna have anything. But if you don't do that step, that's where you can have that risk, and we don't want any
Usually
of
with
that.
lift when I'm in the bath because my nails would like expand a bit and then flatten out, and then that's when the polish was not thick enough or strong enough, and it would just start chipping off.
Yep. And honestly, I want you to do everything normal that you would do. The one thing I'm going to tell you though is don't use these like tools.
Yeah, I
So
don't-
when
I
you're
don't
opening
use my
things,
nails like
thank
that
you.
anyway.
But I want you to use like naturally clean, have your hands in water, do all of those things. But make sure when your hands are out of that water that you quickly just dry underneath your natural nails and let everything dry like naturally. Because what I'm going to show you is when I take these gloves off, you're going to see my nails are almost see-through. And that's because nails are porous and you can get what's like a skin oil almost. And it has to dry to change. Like if you've ever noticed your nails go see-through, that's because they are porous. So you have a little bit of water or oil entering that shaft. But again, that won't affect anything. It just has to dry.
I'm
But
starting to get into the habit of wearing gloves when I do the dishes too.
please, that's a really good thing.
I'm starting to.
Casey's thinking, well, like,
Honestly,
okay, I don't
it was
have to
all,
do this
my
anymore
partners.
because I can't do this.
Oh,
He wears
So
them.
now,
oh really?
Yeah, the gloves when he does the dishes.
And not to go
And then it's been, growing on me. Where I'm like, that's actually a really good idea.
these young adults commit these heinous acts, right? And then you look at the parents.
So sorry if you can have these down. Yeah,
You
perfect.
understand why they are the way they are because at some point the parents have allowed certain behavior to go on for so long. We just saw it in with the shootings in
Yeah, you were one of my most
Oxford,
favorite
where these
models I've
parents
ever
are
worked on.
absolute morons, right?
Just what I like about my own nails is that even if the I guess it's called the free edge is not very long, my nails still look long if I put polish on them because of like
You have a long bed. So
Yeah.
even if you have no natural nail, you already have all of this to work with, which a lot of people don't have. So it's huge.
my sibling did not.
Finally got
Oh,
And also has very flat nails too. So I was lucky I got my mom's
I
nails.
was gonna say you definitely do not have that issue.
with a gun that was purchased by his parents.
yeah, they're being charged, right?
They're absolutely being
Sorry, if I
correct.
could just
They
have
were
your
on the run.
phone.
They were caught in a warehouse. Good for them. Absolutely agree with it. That said,
It's so funny because
kinda
like
see
there's
the
all sorts of
similarities in a lot
different
stories
clients.
we have these young-
Like the one that
just a lot
wants
of
to be your
something in the
like your
house
right hand and help you, and then there's the clients that like literally fall asleep and aren't paying attention to anything. I'm definitely more on your spectrum where I'm like, ooh, I want to see all
I know.
the steps and
Trying not to because I feel like every time I do, I'm like it's making my finger go up. I'm like, focus on the podcast.
it's just so funny because when it inevitably goes, whoop, you're like, yep, I know what you're doing.
But also, I want to pay attention as well to make sure that I'm doing the right positions for you.
Of
Those
course.
issues is usually a mental health issue.
I'm not
I
just like
usually see that in
slumped
those cases,
around
it's
or
usually
I
a
don't know.
mental
You're
health
so
issue that
cute.
parents are
Okay, so let me see. Oh,
it needs professional
beautiful. Okay, let me see your other hand.
education. And you can't blame them with that. If they're trying everything they can.
And then after I have that finalized, I need to take my damn video because I'm just going to get so lost in the sauce. I'm going to forget.
But a lot of the time,
Because your nails are just so beautiful. I'm just like
behaviors of either,
lost in staring at how pretty they are.
enabled by the parents because
I think
they
this
see
one
these
is
things.
Oh, yes, I'm going to actually take an e-file to that one. And just, because there's only so much I can do with my physical hands.
This one looks really good.
We want that swoop-de-swoop. But this one is the one that has the extra product is the one that we fixed. So it's normal, usually happens. So I will take the e-file and just kind of get that little bit of that area. Pardon, honey?
This one was one of the ones you fixed too.
Oh, yes, but that, we seem to not have too much on that guy. It all depends on
She told her parents she
where
was
that
now in a
polish settles.
relationship
That's why I
with
said it's so
Jeffrey
important to do that,
Hopkins,
like,
who
little
also worked at
bump,
Universal
bump, bump.
Studios and whose son Zach was just a year, I think a year younger or a year older than Kaylee. I can't remember, but they were very close in age. And in her phone, Cindy saw that Casey had put this number in her phone, and it used to say Jeffrey Hopkins, but then when they started dating, she changed his name to the word boyfriend. And Casey told some intricate and detailed stories about Jeff. She said he was a wealthy, accomplished man who had moved to North Carolina for a bit, but now he was back in Florida. His mother's name was Jules. She was a lovely woman who was battling cancer. And Jeff also had a nanny for his son, Zach.
Of course,
A
was
really
it
nice
Zany?
woman named Zenaida
Yeah.
Hernandez
Yep, here it
Gonzalez,
is.
who was originally from New York City. Now this is where Zanny the nanny is introduced.
From New York City. I forgot all this
Once again,
stupidness.
spoiler alert, is a real person, but not the person that Casey described. So Casey's parents were just happy that their daughter had seemingly gotten to a relationship with a mature,
Somebody
responsible
healthy.
man. He had his own kid. Maybe this would settle her a bit, bring her back to like family
And while
values.
her
They wanted
daughter
to meet
was
him, so
locked
they
in her
planned a
trunk,
dinner to
she
meet
rented
Jeff and his
movies
mother,
and
Jules.
hung out with them.
Casey was like excited about this dinner. She couldn't wait for her
That just
new
makes me
boyfriend to meet her
cringe,
parents.
like, to
Dinner
no
was all
end.
set. Cindy Anthony even made a pie. 30 minutes before Jeff and his mother were set to arrive, Casey got a call from Jeff. Sadly, she had to tell her parents he was sick and he wasn't
At the
able to
studio, I
dinner.
do it all
Dinner
the
was
time. I'm
canceled.
laughing.
They planned another one, which had to get canceled as well.
We all
Jeff
have
got
little
called into
nuances
work.
that we do, that's
So
for
Casey's
sure.
parents continued to try and make plans to meet Jeff until finally Casey was like, yeah, we're not together anymore. Jeff had to leave Florida for work, and so we broke up.
I
after
also
we
love
were
like how
unsuccessfully,
natural the almond looks.
trying to
Like
make
this
a
was very
long-distance
popular in the
relationship work.
70s,
That was
and
the
like
end
the
of
like I don't know, it just looks
not
like it
the
just
end of
grows
Sandy
and it
the
just like I
Nanny.
don't know, there's
In
something
August of
very like
2007
angelic
to be
I feel about
Casey
this.
I feel like with
second
almond
birthday,
nails, they can
Casey
make
threw
any
Kaylee a
hand look
Mexican
dainty.
themed
That's what I
birthday
yes.
party.
Yes,
So
Even
very
if you
dainty.
have very
Casey was short on
large,
money, so
Mhm.
she stole a
blunt
check from her
fingered
grandmother
looking hands,
Shirley
like you look
to
or
make up for
you
the
work a
difference,
lot
and
and you
Casey
have
made
hands
the
like
check
that,
out to Publix,
a
it's like
nice
a grocery
almond
store.
shape
It was
will
her
make your hands
$54.
look
She got a cake and
feminine
some
if that's
decorations
the
and
look you're
stuff.
going for.
And later,
Yep,
her
that's
grandmother
true.
Shirley commented
I
on this
do.
and saying,
I agree
"Look,
with that.
instead of asking grandma for some more money, she took the check. I would have gladly given her some money." End quote. This would not be the only time Casey stole money from
That's
her
one reason I
grandmother
like them too.
or her
I have
parents,
very large
from
hands,
her
so
friends.
Oh, I can palm a basketball, so like I got big hands too, but I
I
find
love
that it just looks so beautiful.
it just makes them look so like
steal from you if it served her in some way.
feminine.
And this
It does.
caused a great deal of
Okay, so
chaos
now
in
we'll
her
just
family
quickly
home. and amongst
finalize
family
this guy,
members.
Yeah.
and then
One of the
really
things
look
she
at shape,
was
and we'll
was when
quickly
her
debulk that
parents,
one
George and
nail.
Cindy, because Cindy was finding
The
money
tip
missing
area.
from her wallet, and she blamed George because she knew he had a gambling addiction. She's like accusing him of stealing money out of her purse, but even years later, George Anthony denied taking any money from his wife's purse. He said it must have been Casey. He would also mention that Casey had taken money from a savings account that the Anthonys had set up for Kaylee when she was born.
Yeah, this goes back to what we were just talking about earlier, right? This the whole melting
He's a
pot
good
of
boy.
mistakes as far as
Just
parental
waiting for
errors
that
that were
alcohol
made,
to
and
fully
now
dry.
you've created
Because that's
this
another
situation,
thing
you've
too,
created
is like
this
if you're
person
introducing products
who's
and
now a
alcohol
product
hasn't
of your
dried,
parenting.
it will all lift
And
and
again,
chip and
as I
like
said
break
earlier,
off and stuff. Like there's
the person
all sorts of
has
like little
power,
steps.
of what they've been able to accomplish over the years under your watch, it's going to be very difficult to correct that course, especially now that in their eyes, they're an adult, quote unquote. They're an adult, so they can do what they know is right for them and for their child, and you're just going to have to get with the program, which up to this point you've always done. Now that it's, you know, how it's evolving and how it's escalating, right, as far as what she's willing to do and how brazen she is and saying, hey, I can take money right out of their, you know, accounts and cut a check, and you know what? They're gonna let me do
What's
it.
going to happen to me? Exactly.
Yeah, what's worst case scenario?
I've done worse things before.
They're gonna blame each other.
Yeah, they'll yell at each other, they'll get in a fight, and I will come out smelling like roses like every other time.
Terrible.
Alright, we're now in 2008, and by the summer of this year, Kaylee Anthony would be gone. In January of 2008, Casey took Kaylee to a party at the home of Troy Brown. So Troy Brown had met Casey at his birthday party the previous June, and apparently Casey had been brought to this party by Troy's then-girlfriend, Lauren Copel. At this party, Casey also ran into another man she had met once before. His name was Ricardo Morales, and the two would start dating the following month. Once Ricardo started dating, he asked her, like, who's the father of your daughter? And Casey told him that the father of Kaylee was a man named Brad or Brandon, who was a friend of her brother Lee's. She said this guy was in Orlando on vacation around Thanksgiving of 2004, and after some time, he returned to Tennessee, where he was from. And when Casey had told him she was pregnant, he said he didn't want to be in the child's life, and then he ran off the road and died in a car accident just a few days before Kaylee's second birthday.
Do we ever find out who the father of Kaylee actually was?
No, we don't, but listen. There was like a ton of people that she knew.
I just need you to turn that in just one
Who actually
moment.
did, like,
I'm also like, I
tragically in car
hate the
accidents. So
nourishing,
there's several options, like guys she
the
went to high school
nourishing
with.
acetones.
You know,
I like the
people
ultra powerful. You could tip
she
that.
was close with in
Sorry, just
proximity
turn
to
you.
her.
Yeah,
People
you were doing the
who
right
went
thing,
who
but
then went
the
on to,
full
like,
tip.
die in car
Do you see
accidents.
these little
And sometimes,
oil
you know,
bubbles?
people would come up and say,
So I
"Oh,
have to be
what if
so
this guy
careful
you
the
were
way I
dating
use
with,
this
that guy
because
was
oil
mine?"
can help
Either
break
say,
down
"Oh,
a
we've never
service
met
and like
Casey
make
Anthony,
things
we don't know who
lift.
she is,
But this is because
you
it's
know, our son
nourishing.
didn't give
And
her
when
any, or
my
there's even
like
one
baby was getting it,
mother
I was
who
like,
said
is there
she
any other
believed
kind?
her
There wasn't,
son
so I was like, okay, I
was the
have to
father
get
of
it.
Kaylee
But
Anthony.
this
And she said
nourishing means
people
there's
look at
freaking
pictures of
oil
Kaylee,
inside, so you have to
she
be
thought that
so
Kaylee resembled
careful.
her son.
That's why I'm
And
being like
this
very
young man did
delicate
also
about where
die in
we're
a car
placing it
accident,
because I don't want that
right
to
around
break
that
anything
time.
down.
So
Oh, it's the baba.
who
Yeah.
knows?
You can pop that
But
in.
none of their names were Brad or Brandon.
Okay, so let me perfect that area that you said is,
The father was, or do you think she just honestly because
yeah,
of
that
her
little
history,
girl, that little humpback,
honestly,
Notre Dame.
but wasn't exactly sure?
You can
No, I
really
think
see it
she
from
knew
this
who the
angle.
Yep.
mother was. Because
But what I
at
wanted
the
was,
time that
this was actually
Kaylee
where it
was
was the
conceived, that
opposite. It
Casey
was
was
dipping
kind of
under.
as
So we
active
overcorrected.
as she was
So that's
later. I
okay
think she
though.
was still in that, good girl thing, like going to school and I'm
Let's
a really
make
good
sure
girl, I
this
don't
is
drink, I don't smoke, I
close.
don't do drugs. I think she was
It
still
would be
kind of
tragedy
in
if
that
it
gear.
tipped over.
And you would
Like,
think
no,
that she
thank you,
had
please.
been
The one good thing is because it's
sleeping with a bunch
viscous,
of men at that
you can
time.
have a
Some of
little
them
tip,
would
but you have to be
report
careful
that,
on how
actually,
long
I
that
dated
tip is.
Casey Anthony during this time, or I dated Casey Anthony during this time, and that doesn't happen. So I definitely think she knows why she
So
doesn't.
normally
want
I'd be
to
using like a
say
dust
anything to
collector and
anyone,
stuff, but we're
especially
just
now
doing
at
such a
this
little
point
bit
where
of
there's
filing.
you
It's
don't have to
really
worry about
not.
someone coming in and trying to take your kid, etc., because Kaylee's gone. And why she wouldn't say now.
I wasn't paying attention. I was looking now.
I'm like, I don't know if it did too much.
know, but it might just be something that she wants to keep to herself. But I think she knows, definitely.
I wonder.
In April of 2008, Casey stole from her grandmother Shirley again. She took $354 from a bank account.
I do not have a good drill or dust collector as I have. Oh no, you definitely, an e-file is something that will help you so very much. I personally have a lot of nerve damage in my arms, so having to file a lot is really painful for me. It can also increase my condition and cause more flares. So I do try to use this one when I can because it helps so much.
Pursued charges against my granddaughter, but they were like, "Oh, we're just gonna refund you the money, you know, and if you want to call the police, you can do that. That's not really our job." And Shirley never did pursue charges against Casey. Shirley didn't call the police.
Oh
but she
God,
called her
it
daughter
makes things
Cindy
so much better.
and gave her hell. And later she wrote an email to her sister, Mary Lou, in which she said, quote,
You're like, now I know without a shadow of a doubt.
she sounds
Better
depressed.
to
Cindy was
do it
doing
again.
That's
and
why I
not
said
bring
better
it up.
than and not have it cured at all.
Till George put them in debt.
I have a cheap one that I got off of Amazon a couple years ago. It plugs into the computer or wall. Yeah, it, honestly, honey, whatever works does not matter.
Overspending and compulsive gambling could be an indication of that, something that he may be doing while in a manic state. And Shirley also believed that her granddaughter Casey may have also been suffering from the same disorder. When Cindy got the call from her mother about Casey's theft, she apologized and she offered to pay the money back that Casey had taken, which is another example of how Casey was never left to her own devices to face the music for anything that she had done. Because if this is, I have a 20-year-old daughter, okay, and if this was my 20-year-old daughter, I would not be like, oh, I'll pay you back. I'd be like, let me talk to my kid and figure out how she's going to pay you back. Whether she has to work it off, whether she's taking money, you know,
But
whether
that's
she's
why she
selling
became
something
so
of hers. This is
manipulative
a
in the way
lesson
she
that's
was
worth
because her
being
parents
learned.
just
If
fixed
you
all
pay the
her
money
issues.
for her, there's no lesson learned, Cindy. This is the basic. It's so annoying that these people don't seem to understand it.
Yeah, and these things start so small, even as a young kid. Like when my daughters lie or they take something. You know, I had Peyton a while back, maybe a year or so ago, take a pack of gum, and you know,
Delicious. Also, honey, thank you for just being in for this ride as we listen to the true crime podcast and just vibe, because sometimes it's nice just to have moments of silence, but I do apologize because you're just chilling here with us and I'm not really interacting very much, honey, but it's because we're in the zone.
Never happened again because she realized not only that it was wrong, but that dad wasn't going to protect her. I could have easily said, you know what, don't do that again.
Just a pack of gum, don't worry about it.
Don't, just give me the gum. Even that would have been bad.
Yeah, I
because it was
remember in
well, worst
kindergarten
case
I
scenario,
stole 2
this thing
dinosaur
got-
toys from my classroom and my
But
parents
she
made me
realized it was
return them and
tougher being
apologize
dying
to the
inside
teacher.
because
And
I'm
it was
her
embarrassing
protector. She was
and
looking at me
I
like, "Dad,
learned
you're gonna
the
let
hard
her,"
way.
you know, because I was
steal.
like, I don't know what's
Yep,
gonna happen.
I only had one instance,
You know,
and
she was like
this
looking at me
lady
like,
was
"You're
giving
supposed to
away
No wonder she was
stickers
scared. You were like,
to everyone, all the kids.
you know, maybe you'll do 2 to 3
But she
years,
went
no
right
big
past
deal.
me,
I'll
and
wait
I felt like slighted. So I went and took the stickers, and my mom was like, no, if they're given to you, it's one thing. We gotta go back and bring these stickers. And I was like, I understand. And like, I was really happy that my mom used that moment because it's not right. And you should learn. You have to work for everything that you have.
I'm glad I did that because she doesn't do it anymore. And you know, if I had
Okay,
this
I don't want to take away too much because again, this is your strength. I'm gonna have you look at it, and if you want me to take down more, I will.
But I do think these little things add up to something big, and it does create.
Do you want me to take a little bit more off the top?
Common sense and what's right and what's
Like,
wrong in
angle it
life.
up
A hair?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It creates a roadmap.
That's,
Keep your child's
I
brain.
always ask
This is
because we
the
want
road
it
to take
exactly how
if
you
I want
want.
to be a good person. This is the road I don't take. That's it.
Yeah, and the point we're making is Casey didn't just wake
And
up one day
honestly,
and start
that's the
stealing
difference
from her
between
loved
nails
ones.
that
This was
look
an escalation
professional
over
and nails
time.
that don't.
It just didn't happen overnight.
Is
That's
how
why we're heartbroken.
flush
Listen,
like
there's
these
even an
areas
indication
are,
at this point
and you're
that
not having
maybe
bulking
Casey did
happen
want
to
take some
those
accountability because while
those
Cindy was on the
spots.
phone with Shirley, Casey was there and she was like, "Give me the phone. I want to
I'm
talk
so
to my
sorry.
grandmother. I want to like."
That's
you know,
why
be
the
from my
grip is
side.
so
Probably
important
lie.
because
Who
we
knows?
don't want.
Maybe she wanted to apologize. I don't know.
It's important
But
to see
Shirley
that right
refused
away
to talk
too, so
to
you
her.
don't go
So
whoop.
later, Casey sent an email to Shirley
And then the
apologizing
sides
and
that you
offering to
just
go
did
do some
would be
cleaning
ruined.
at her
Right?
grandmother's
And you're
place
like,
to make it up to her.
no.
But Shirley responded and said, basically, like, I don't trust you, I don't want you in my house. And the last words that Shirley Plesia ever said to her granddaughter Casey were, I love you, but I don't like you.
Wow, that cuts deep, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's true. That's why it cuts so deep. You know, she probably genuinely was like, listen, I can love you, but still not like the person you are.
And there might be people who are like, well, she
Okay,
should
I'm
have
just
let her
gonna
come
do
and
a
work it on
tiny,
that
and
or
then
taught
you
her
let
a
me
lesson,
know
but
how
at the
you
same
like it.
time, I can understand not trusting Casey, and maybe the lesson Casey needed to learn was you're losing people, you're hurting relationships.
How do you
Maybe
like
she
that, or do you
didn't
still want a
care.
little bit
Who
more?
knows? Around this time,
Going outside with the ladies, babe. Be home soon. Okay, baby.
You're
Financial
able
troubles, so
to
they set up a
match
meeting
it?
with a financial
Yep, I haven't
advisor
done
they
that
discovered
side
over
yet,
the
so I'll
past
be
2 years,
matching, going
Casey
through
had
all of
stolen
them.
upwards of
Okay.
$40,000 from
So
them.
that one has a
So the
bit more of
financial
a
advisor
pump
did his
compared to
job.
the other
He
ones. The other
advised
ones
the
have like
Anthonys to
more of
cut
like
ties
a
with Casey to stop financially
tapered
supporting
look.
her.
Yes,
They couldn't
that's why
manage
we
it.
want them all
They were
to.
broke. You know, if she keeps stealing from you, you'll be bankrupt. You'll have to lose your house again. All of these things that you've already gone through, you've recovered from, you've got to cut it. You've got to cut it loose now. And he basically said, you know, after you get everything done and Casey's back on her
Oop,
feet,
sorry,
she's
we're
taking care of herself.
completely out of shot there.
Relationship. But
Don't
Cindy
you
Anthony
dare
did
try to
not
fall on
like
us.
this idea, and she asked
Rude.
the financial advisor about potentially seeking custody of Casey's daughter Kaylee. Now, apparently, the advisor told her, you know, this is a viable option since clearly Casey could not financially support Kaylee on her own, and the Anthonys were doing the bulk of the supporting financially, and he was like, you know, you can prove that you're the one buying diapers, you're the one buying clothes, you're the one financially taking care of her. And yeah, this is kind of where the idea started. And then in April of 2008, Cindy Anthony actually started attending therapy. And apparently, one of the things she really liked to talk
Okay,
about
can I
during
see the other
therapy
girl
was
here?
Casey and her bad behavior. After she found out about Casey stealing money from Shirley, Cindy brought it to her therapist. And later, Cindy said, quote, part of it was me handling the financial aspect with Casey. So at some point, I did consider having her come into counseling, but then I nixed that because I wasn't happy with the counselor I had. She was telling me to abandon my daughter and to make her and Kaylee move out of the house, and that was not going to happen. So I just quit her, end quote. Alright, so for anyone who needs clarification about this situation, Cindy went to therapy for help. She was given advice from a mental health professional. This advice was that her grown daughter needed to be out on her own so that she could become responsible for her own life and her own daughter without her parents enabling her every move and paying for her every need. And Cindy was like, forget you, man. I wanted advice, but I didn't want this advice. I didn't want advice I didn't want to hear. And this is bugging me. I hate people like this. They go to therapy and they're hoping to like get validation. They want the therapist to be like, you are doing everything right, Cindy.
Sorry,
You
honey.
are the only good person in your family. You're holding everyone up. How do you do it? Aren't you tired?
We'll
taking
also
that
take a
from my
look at
couch?
that thumb
You
and
can
see
be
if
so
we need to
tired
add
of being
anything more
the
to it.
hero of everyone's story, and then they hear something they don't want to like the therapist saying, you're
We only did
enabling your
one
daughter to be
thinner
this way.
coat on
You have some blame in this, and then they quit. They're like, oh, I don't like this therapist. I'm gonna get a new therapist who tells me exactly what I want to hear.
So this is another way to kind of like make the cuticles flush to also make sure that there's no, it's like called sealing in the cuticles, to make sure there's like no possible seepage or anything around those corners so that it's like the most perfect.
Yeah, and I mean,
I do
I've
need
been
that
in
because
therapy
that is
sessions
always
where
my
this
issue.
happens.
Issue, right?
I'm like,
That's
I
what I
can't do
thought.
this with you because you have no
Licking,
self-awareness. That
peeling,
you have no need
chipping.
or desire to look inside and say,
I think I just have naturally more
contributing to this
oily
negative
nails or
situation.
something.
And
there's
honestly,
no
the fact that you
fixing people
have
like
more
that. So they
naturally oily, I'm really
want to,
excited to see how these last on you.
But taking accountability is not a strong suit in the Anthony family, so why am I surprised?
Oily, and
However,
then I've
the
just been
therapist
taking
did
more
mention something to
baths.
Cindy that
Yes.
Cindy began to seriously
Which there's
consider.
nothing wrong with
The idea
baths,
was
just
that
watch
maybe
how long your
Casey
hands are
should
submerged.
move
You can
out
still
and
be
get
in the
her
bath
life
with
on
having your
track.
hands
Basically,
up.
Cindy should kick Casey out.
That also
Kaylee
helps like a
would
little
stay
bit.
with the Anthonys, and they would then file for legal custody so that they could raise her themselves. Now, according to Rick Plesia, Cindy's brother, Cindy and Casey would often get into these like drag down, knockout fights that even the neighbors could hear. They would scream loudly at each other, and Rick claims that Cindy threatened Casey with this idea, losing custody of Kaylee, at least 3 times that he knows of. Later, a neighbor across the street named Jean Cauty would tell detectives that she heard heated arguments between mother and daughter
So
many
we just
times.
have to tip a
Casey
little
would
bit.
yell things at her mother like, shut up, or she would scream, fuck you, like they're screaming loud, everyone can hear. And Cindy's brother Rick said, quote, Cindy told me a couple of times, but one of these
That's
times she was
crazy.
going to get custody. Cindy would have took that kid in a minute. She would. She wanted to be in charge of Kaylee. End quote.
Yeah, perfect.
Man, I'll tell you what.
Did you know that the best way to make an extra income on Amazon is not by setting up an online store or selling a physical product?
Yeah.
Like, no,
Man,
thank
I'll tell
you.
you what. Again, maybe I'm naive here, and I feel like that's what I'm going to be hearing in the comments. But like, I feel like Casey's parents did not raise Casey right. But it sounds to me up to this point, maybe I'm going to change my mind. But I don't think it was like wanting possession of Kaylee, but it was more so like our kid's not a good parent, and we need to have custody of Kaylee, or she's going to end up just like Casey. And I mean, maybe even there's part of him that's like, we really screwed up with Casey. We're going to try to do right by Kaylee because we
Yeah,
realize now
they
like,
did.
we created this monster. But I don't see it as like a possession thing, like the way that was just quoted, where it's like looking at her as like an item.
So I would agree with the second part of your statement where they said maybe, we screwed up with Kaylee, with Casey, like this is our second shot at getting it right. Although what's going to happen is you're just going to end up screwing Kaylee up too, because you guys don't know how to be normal, man.
Yeah, history's not in your favor.
No, you don't know how to, you should have said, we screwed up, like, let's call it a day,
Kaylee wouldn't have been dead.
Right.
But I'm going to respectfully
Isn't that
disagree
crazy?
with you.
She may have been
It
messed up by the
definitely
grandparents, but she wouldn't have been
a
dead.
possessive thing. I mean, if we believe Casey, this sounds like so stupid to say, but
That's what I'm saying. Like with our
it's hard.
source.
But if we believe the things that Casey had initially said, like she wanted to give Kaylee up for adoption because she knew she wasn't ready, and her mother said, absolutely not. Her mother was calling Kaylee my child, our child. Ugh, I hate it. They took control of this pregnancy and this child from the moment they
Ugh.
knew about it. So when you don't give
Like,
your child, Casey, the opportunity to strike out on her own, stand on her own 2 feet, care for her child on her own, how does she learn to do it? And then after 2 years of doing that, you're like, all right, that's it.
So how do you feel? I'm gonna still have to. Do you want me to add more to here? This looks like this might need a little.
Hand her baby and say, now you're a parent and we're here if you need
I
anything.
mean, they're looking
This has to be you.
The same?
This has to be you.
even that size. I think this one's still a little longer.
Yeah, it is still a little longer. I'll have to take that one down a little
But
bit.
this one, I think naturally, this hen has more curve to it. Whereas
Yes.
This one needed
So we don't have to overcorrect it.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I'll cleanse that in a second and then buff her. She's definitely sticky, so I've got it.
Hang out with people. I don't want me teaching her a lesson to affect Kaylee, because I could kick her out with Kaylee. Then what's that going to be? That Kaylee's at these parties?
It might be a
with
bit.
that random with some crazy,
Pardon, honey?
some
It
random
might be a
band
bit
stuff.
confusing, but I do see a little
That would
dip
be my
right
fear.
there.
Okay, so we can go back into that area for sure. Gotta try to make it as perfect as possible before we go in with the
No,
the
that's
polish.
not your kid, man. No, it's weird and like invasive. However, I will tell you that the first time I thoroughly went through this case, I felt bad for the Anthonys, Cindy and George. I was like, man, this sucks. And I still do feel bad for them because regardless of what they did or what part they had, they lost their granddaughter. They clearly loved very much, whether it was because of a possession thing or an image thing or whatever. They loved her. And they really lost their daughter too, right? So I feel bad regardless for them because I still have sympathy in me for people I don't really like. But as I go deeper into this case, as I learn,
So that one, it's not a filing, right? Like you need more product in an area.
Yeah, I
And
think
I've
so.
read like
Okay, no
every
problem,
book
honey.
that there
I
is
think this one
out there
could,
in this
I don't
case.
know, if it still
I
needs a
can
little bit.
take it down more
I
if you'd
think
like.
that
Or you're saying it needs more product.
Less product.
I can
And
take that
the
down.
one thing they were a big problem, and I
So I
do
just
think that it
noticed
wasn't
it
to help
has a
you. We
little
love
dip
Kaylee
in
and want to take care of her. It
It's
was
not a
we want
problem.
Kaylee. We don't trust you. We don't think you can do this. You're inept, so we're gonna take her.
I agree with that last part you just said. Yeah, I think they didn't trust Casey. They're like, if we leave her with you, you're gonna, something bad's gonna happen, right?
But you made Casey what she is. Like, how dare you at this
So
point?
you're the wrong people to be protecting Kaylee at this point. Yeah, I understand.
You're the wrong people to be protecting Kaylee, and you're the wrong people to be judging Casey for what she's doing because you clearly never taught her how to do the right thing. So it's like, it just, it seems like you like come in and make a mess, and then you yell, and you're like, oh, what's this mess here? But like, you made the mess.
Yeah, no, that I do not disagree with that. I'll be interested to hear what you guys out there, especially if you're watching on YouTube, say
What
in the
we think.
comments, because
I could never. My kids are my world. How could you abuse physically, mentally, emotionally? Yep, and claim mental illness. Yeah, there's so many avenues. Sorry, honey, if we can have you. Yep, and then flip on the side here.
So I wonder how you guys are feeling.
There's
out
so
there.
many
Someone
avenues where
probably
you can ask for help.
knowledgeable about this
Yeah.
case,
So it's like there's
as far as the
really no
background, as Stephanie is,
excuse.
but for those of you who aren't,
And she's a grown adult
what
too.
your feelings right now is because I'm a little torn on it. I'm a little torn on it. So definitely.
It's like you're
sound
meant to
off.
protect
Well,
that
in
child
May of
first and
2008,
foremost.
Casey brought up the idea of moving to Puerto Rico. So she brought this to her parents, and apparently Cindy was not a fan of this idea. Like, I have no idea why Casey would want to move to Puerto Rico. It probably wasn't even something she was seriously considering. She does this a lot. You can see in like messages that she has on Facebook. She's always got these ideas. She's like, let's go on a cruise. She was telling one of her friends like that her parents were moving out of Florida and they were gonna leave her their house, and then she and this friend would move
Okay,
into
so
their
let's
house
try
together. They were making
to
plans.
shape
They
the
were,
other
like, shopping
thumb.
for stuff for the
Take
house.
away some of that
And
length,
there
and
was
then we'll
no
go into
plan
that
for
other one that you said
George
has
to ever leave the
a
house,
little
so
bit of a dip and
she
try to
has
put
these
some more
ideas and
product
she'll
there.
just run with them. But Cindy was
so
furious.
looking
She
at
was furious that
these,
Casey would even consider taking Kaylee
should be
like
just that
out of
tip there.
Florida and make it hard
Thank
for
you.
Kaylee to see Cindy and George. So Casey's newfound desire to move to Puerto Rico, it may have had something to do with her new boyfriend, Tony Lazaro. Now I know I told you Casey was dating a man named Ricardo Morales, and she was. But she met Tony Lazaro on Facebook, and they attended a
One mom who left her child to die for 10 days to go on holiday. Who was that?
It sounds like it is, right? But you have to wear something that's not conventionally
Yeah, I'm looking at a
considered to
few
be
of them now.
close. So like
Who, do you know, Lisa, do you know,
go to
what
this
case
party
that was?
dressed
'Cause
in an
that's
American
crazy.
flag, and she and Tony, they had immediate chemistry. Very similarly to her 0 to 100 behavior with Jesse Grund,
I think it was a
Casey's
recent
relationship
one
with
that
Tony
happened.
very
That's
quickly.
disgusting.
Tony was a
It was
Long
like a
Island
newborn
native.
baby
He
in
was
the
in
crib
Florida
and
studying
just
music
left it.
at Full Sail University in
Oh my
Orlando.
God.
I don't. I say it, but I should say them. I don't know.
Oh no, I
He
understand.
shared an apartment with 2 other guys,
Um,
and at night and on
yeah,
the
they
weekends,
just-
he
she
worked
just
as a
left the
party
baby
promoter
and
for a local
went
nightclub.
off
So
on a
basically,
It
group
was
like
recent.
nightclubs, and
Yeah.
he pushed stuff out through social media.
They had an actual video of the child? What?
Party at Blue Vodka
Oh,
nightclub
that's
this weekend,
horrifying.
And, he tried to get people to go there, and he'd get paid by the
Can I
bar
have
and
your other
nightclub
thumb,
based
honey?
on how many people, showed up.
Actually, I
Now,
don't even
through
think
the
it
months
was
of
like
May
a
and June,
crib. It
Casey
was like
spent
one of
time
those
with
pack and
Tony.
play,
A
like
lot of time,
play
and
yard
she would bring her
things.
daughter Kaylee along because Tony's apartment had a pool, and the 3 of them would hang out there
Yeah,
while
we still
Kaylee
got
played
some
and
extra
swam.
length. It's so funny because this thumb, it's almost like goes this way a little bit, like slightly. So I'm trying not to overcorrect it because it does go over a little bit.
Gotta make it straighter.
And if he did have kids, he wanted them to be boys because boys were less
Ugh.
trouble. Apparently, I don't think that's true, but okay. And a relevant question, Cass, I think,
Yeah, that's
is
messed
did
up.
this affect Casey and her view of being a mother, of having a child, a girl child specifically, in a similar way that many people believe Chris Watts was motivated to kill his pregnant wife and 2 young daughters when he started
The
dating
Chris
her.
Watts thing is messed
Oh,
up.
I
To
know.
be a completely family annihilator like that.
And it's been more popular lately, like more
college
family
lifestyle that made
annihilators.
Casey realize there was so much
really
about her
scary.
youth of her life that she had missed out on. Casey was pregnant young. She was
This
a mother
shows me
before
to,
she was
like,
even old enough to drink.
really
She'd never gone to
support
college,
men
and therefore
as well
she'd
with their
never been
mental
a part of
health and
this
stuff.
lifestyle.
Yep.
And maybe being with
A
me,
lot.
Mental health is
showed
wealth.
her that there was,
Yeah.
a
It's
whole
so
chunk
important.
of stuff happening out there that she was missing. And there is evidence that she was greatly enjoying being young and childless after Kaylee went missing.
Mhm.
During the month of June 2008, Casey was all over the
It's
place.
just so
Hanging out
sad.
with all sorts of people and all sorts of places. And, she even told her mother that she was being sent to Tampa for a few days for work, which is obviously not true because she didn't have a job. But instead, Casey actually stayed in Orlando and she hung out with Tony and his buddies. And she does this a lot going forward while Kaylee is missing. Casey will say like, "Oh, I'm here for work. I'm out of town for work," but the whole time she's still in Orlando. And,
I can't.
not
That's
actually doing
crazy.
anything but hanging out with people. And Casey's friend, Amy Hazinga, told police that Casey was supposed to meet her out one night, and Casey's boyfriend, Ricardo Morales, was going to be there as well. But Casey texted Amy and said, you know, she might not make it out. And when Casey texted Amy, Amy said she thought that Casey was already out, and she was hanging out with Tony. And Casey
You just
told
aim them
Amy,
down.
I really like Tony, even though I know I'm with Ricardo. So this was June.
What do you think? A
1st.
little bit
Casey
more
and
on this
Tony
tip
went to a
here?
barbecue at one of his friend's house, and they spent the night together
I
in
know.
Tony's apartment. The next day, June 2nd,
Let me
Casey
mute
and
this.
Ricardo
We're muted, honey, because she's just on the phone. Hi, sorry guys, we just had to mute for a moment just for privacy concerns. She got a call from her beautiful partner, so we wanted to make sure that he was doing good.
Yeah, nothing sticky that can touch you.
Right? Nothing sticky I can touch you. Yeah, that's the only thing when there's like extra repairs and stuff. Sadly, it does increase the time because we just have to make sure that those are perfect.
He's just checking to make sure I'm okay.
I got the kiss. Thank you, buddy. Ooh, so sorry. We had a whole rumble in the jungle. Let's make sure.
Frame.
Oh, she's like, you're good at that. It's what you should do. Thank you, sweetheart. Nails are definitely my happy place. I just have to find a good medium because I struggle with a lot of chronic pain. So even right now, I'm pushing it. I'm in a lot of pain, but in the same aspect, so excited to see how this is going to all turn out. Very excited.
And hopefully this lasts long, so you don't have to do too much.
Yes, like the next time we do your nails, like we're not gonna have breaks and all these things.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
Yes, fingers crossed.
we'll find out. But it's also like very good to just see like full natural nail care overlay, like how that works on somebody with a little bit more naturally oily hands and stuff like that. That's why I took extra time in your prep and things like that, because I wanted to make sure we were really giving you the best surface, because there's no point in doing all this for it to pop off on you.
I feel like I'm not rough with my nails either.
No, it's not even about being rough, honey. Just some angles.
Yeah. I just find that, sometimes they just break in the inconvenient moments.
I feel you on that.
Like you said, don't use them as tools. I really don't, and I don't do that kind of stuff. I really try to take care of them.
There's always, like, I know I've like tried to open like even like the handle of what's it called, like a washing machine, and I've accidentally like hit it, and it's like you're like, like what did I just do? I know I did something bad. I can feel it.
Like with this index finger that had that little slice when we fixed with the tea bag. I did that today just chopping vegetables, and I accidentally chopped a little bit on the nail.
No. At least now you're going to have some extra strength to work with.
Yeah, I know with extra strength I should not break them at all.
No, you should be good. That's probably what most of your issue was, to be honest.
Just because I like bathe a lot, and then sometimes I get them wet. I feel like that's when they're vulnerable, and that's when they break.
And I still have that issue, right? Because like with my condition, I have to have a lot of showers and stuff like that. And I haven't had any issues. Like this will last me my entire month. If I make a mistake and really hurt myself, like slam my hand into something, like that's not the same thing as a normal break because of like improper application or something like that. Oh, Lisa, I appreciate your healing vibes. I wish you could take it away, honey, but you know what? I always say, like, we're never given too much, like what we can't handle, and it could always be worse. So I'm going to say I'm very appreciative of what I do have and go from there. Okay, so once we finish this part, I just want you to look at it and just let me know if that area is still problematic for you.
Okay.
And then I'll go back in there.
Also, I did notice something on this end.
Yes, sweetheart?
On the underneath, there's like a little lip.
Ooh, okay, yeah. So I can go in there and get that little tiny piece there.
That little lip. So I was feeling something.
Right, you're like, what is that? No, I can go in with it. That's what I was saying about the when you're doing the enhancements. Sometimes there is a possibility of it, like, and isn't that the one that fell out for a second?
Yep, exactly.
That's exactly what happened.
Butterfly tried to pop open.
The butterfly tried to fly away.
Oh yeah. The pod
I was back with Tony. So
We've been able to do 2 episodes of the podcast so far, so we've been very much enjoying ourselves.
They're long episodes
after
as
this
well.
happened, Casey
Which
texted
is
her
really
friend
nice.
Amy,
Yeah, that's why I like
so
this
it's more
channel. They
sad
really
or
go
funny
deep.
that
And there's
Rick
8
decides to
episodes for
spill
this.
his real
Ooh.
feelings for me after hearing that I made out with Tony.
We're not gonna
Stupid,
finish it
so
this
stupid.
No,
And
but
I'd
we
wait
can
forever
definitely go
eventually
more
glad I
into
did.
it the next time you come,
So Casey
or
will
we
tell
can
you
find a different case if
she
you'd
wasn't
like.
really dating
I'm
anymore.
open
Like, they
to
were hanging
whatever
out and
you'd
seeing
like.
each other, and she wanted more, and he never pulled the trigger, so she just like.
Because I'm a huge true crime girly, so being able to like do nails and I've always wanted to do actually like a case of nails.
together, which is why he was so upset with
similar to
them.
like
She was with
makeup
another guy.
and
Because he wouldn't have been if they weren't.
yeah, but with the nails instead, and the nails don't even have to deal with the case, just like doing something and talking
I don't
about
know a lot about Ricardo, but
something
I
else.
feel like there's some truth to what he's probably
It's
saying.
like Casey, everyone else. The gut's always going to tell you to go with everyone else.
Yeah.
And I mean, even Amy was kind of like, okay, Casey, like,
Oh my gosh,
that's not really how it happened because
I
Amy
maybe
was
you
friends
should
with
mute
Ricardo.
that. I don't know why.
and,
Oh, okay, 1 second. And we got to do some fun true crime stuff when we're together, because especially if it's a mutual interest, why not enjoy that, right?
You missed out on
I
it
missed out on a lot, but
because you made a choice.
yeah, but I did like strategically plan things. I'd make, have my mom take my daughter for the
Pretty good. So is this the one that you said you wanted a little bit more?
Put a little, like,
I can
right
put a
there.
little bit of product there. That's
Yeah,
not a
I had to
problem.
miss out on that
I
stuff.
think it might be hard to
And I'm
see
sure there were
from your
times
side.
where
Yep, I can actually see that little
really wanted
piece there. Let's quickly fix that, and then let's look at everything. And if we're liking the way it's looking, then we can move into the nail art.
personally wanted to.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the
one
problem
looks good.
child.
This hand is
I
always
lived
like.
with so long, man, because that was like
Hurry up and pause the live.
too, so everybody was like,
Pause.
that's when Facebook was popping.
Is it okay, baby? Can you hear me? Is it on the other side? Like, cause we just went to the balcony, but we couldn't see them. Oh my goodness. We might have to stop this live for a second and run downstairs and see if it's, that's crazy. I'm gonna call her right now and just find out. Okay, 1 second. Okay, we'll be right back. We're gonna go see Northern Lights.